Top Esports
Let's
were able
go.
to edge out with a 2-1 victory.
Let's
at
go.
MSI. But,
Me
both
tired.
teams
Okay, mic off.
have changed in many ways. They've
But
evolved. They've had
on a
some
real note,
characters the meta
sorry,
has
I'm
showcased.
like
Quite a
sickly
change
tired
from what
right
we've
now.
seen compared to the
The
summer
days have
split,
been
and
rough.
That's going to be the big question.
World's
Now that
coverage
they've
is
got a good
always
number of games
kind of
under
hard.
their belt, one win,
But
four
we
losses
got
for
a
both sides.
TS.
What have they been able to adapt? What have they been able to bring
We
into
got
their
TS
toolkits to
Fnatic.
give them an advantage in today's best of one?
T1 BLG. FlyQuest.
Of course, you are rooting for Fnatic, in which case you're really hoping
something
Yone is
and
bad, because it's been what Humanoids used in both games, and it's bailed them out of a lot of very precarious situations, no doubt in my mind. But you make a good point, Betty.
Team
While it
Liquid
feels
something.
like maybe Gen G has an overall pretty solid read with some of their scaling utility, a lot of other reads,
I know.
especially coming into the LPL in terms of what they want to prioritize. So we now get to our first
And FlyQuest
fan
something.
of the day. Reminder: winner.
I forgot
Moves up to
FlyQuest
2 and 1
what.
bracket. Already tough
But
competition up there. Loser down to 1 and 2, which is a very scary prospect.
yeah,
of
mashallah.
terrifying teams going to be on the lower side of that.
I'll mic off.
Think about some of the high prios. Aurora,
The games will play, but you
Orianna,
won't hear
immediately
much.
those are gonna be the first taken off the board. Junglers, where are they on the priority list? Well, the
I'm
Ziggs
recording
getting
this
added
for
to the list
myself.
makes a lot of sense,
But mic off.
especially directed towards Jackie Love. LeBlanc taken away from Humanoid. Top Esports really showing that respect to Humanoids. Yone, though, of course, still available. Are Fnatic going to give it over? The Vi taken away from Razork. The Skarner still available. Sejuani we saw from Tian. To honestly good success in the early game. But Fnatic still pondering over
Good
the
luck,
final
good
ban.
luck.
Will it be the Yone?
This is
Will
not
they
good.
allow it to
I don't
go?
like this, man.
I promise you, Cream is going to lock it in.
Oh,
As the Zaraban. Well, here we go. The
This
test
is-
now for Top Esports.
Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Wheel. In this series, me and
Bro, Sam, shut up. I'm gonna take over from you. In this little deck building series, Sam and I will spin a wheel from a tier category to determine which deck we're...
He only needs really a single item before it becomes a massive threat, and while yes, he will fall
Apologies
behind in a lot
for
of
that.
lane matchups early on, we've
My
almost
headphones just
never
decided
really
to
seen
play a
a
YouTube
situation
video
where
while
Yone
I had a
hasn't
Twitch
come
stream
back
up.
to be a relevant threat,
Don't
but it
know
seems
why.
like Fnatic say, hey, we're willing to give you that Yone. We believe the Smolder is more powerful, or they're just happy to take either side of the matchup.
I mean, it was... I mean, HLE probably gave us the best example of what a Smolder can do into the Yone matchup, where Yone isolated can shut down a Smolder. In the context of a team fight, when Smolder has a proper team built around him, it becomes very difficult for Yone to have that same level of team fight impact, giving you so much late game control around the neutral objectives, especially Dragon and Baron. Now, 369, we saw his Rumble yesterday, and I thought it was, well, it wasn't yesterday, day before yesterday,
Yeah,
sorry.
of course, against Gen G.
But it was, honestly, it was incredible. We saw Tian playing through 369, which is something we don't typically see. Usually it's a bot side focused team, but they got him off to a very early lead, but they couldn't really convert those later game team fights into successes. But we've seen that Rumble is still very impactful in the meta, and with Yone being so important in the mid lane, I love this combination that we're seeing. The Sejuani plus the Rumble plus the Yone, it's a trifecta with the Sejuani combination alongside the Yone, Rumble providing that great AP damage later into the game.
If you look back, right, on LNG and their big upset over BLG, a huge portion of that is the power of that duo that you're highlighting there. It is the Yone Rumble. Jhin was a great pairing with it as well. You could see TS debating if they needed to pick it this early in draft, but obviously the utility Jhin brings to the table is only further amplified when you have such great dive potential, such long-range threat that both the Rumble and Yone can bring in. That said, K'Sante, a safe, more conservative option from the side of Fnatic, as we now look to the 80 carry bans, Ashe, the Kai'Sa as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see an Ezreal taken off the board here too, as Noah's used it to pretty good effect in the past.
Surprised to actually see Top Esports banning the Kai'Sa away. I guess when you look at Fnatic's composition, they don't have a lot of AP, and Kai'Sa can bring some of that extra AP damage.
Yeah.
It's something that we often see in this Yone Rumble composition. If you do want a little bit more AP, Kai'Sa is the go-to. So perhaps Top Esports is saying, you guys are very much lacking in the AP department. We'll remove one of those AP AD carries and limit your mixed damage profile. The pool has now been pinched significantly, likely leading towards the Jhin, and that is what Fnatic is going to lock in.
Jhin and Smolder, obviously decent carry potential. They work well together. You have a lot of long-range poke with a little snap bubble from Smolder or the Mom to set up for the Jhin. Not ideal when you don't have range anywhere else in the draft so far, but you highlighted, Vetty, really no magic damage to speak of, which could leave them vulnerable to some of the defensive itemization choices, especially for Tian on the Sejuani.
If Top go for a Rel now, just look at this engage. I mean, MF, Sejuani, Rumble, Yone, That is a wombo combo I've ever seen. They sat there and said, okay, so you want to scale, you want a team fight? Sure, we'll team fight you. Let's see how things pan out.
And the thing that makes it so terrifying, to bring it back to that duo we talked about earlier, is you can just throw your Yone in or your Rumble in, see if something hits, and then use all your big cooldowns, right? That's what makes it scary. Normally when you have these shotgun-style compositions, it's pray for the group up, throw it all in, Malphite ult style, but they have a little bit of flexibility here about picking those angles. The Rel, as you highlighted, Fnatic now looking for that option. It's tough, though, at this stage of the draft to really stop TES from getting anything powerful here. Rel does beat out Alistar in a lot of the early lane phase. Maybe we are in a situation with K'Sante already locked in that Fnatic really feel like they can out-pressure in a swap, but Jhin, you know, notoriously pretty bad at getting any tower plays down and punishing teams for swapping.
Well, I am a little concerned with Fnatic's damage profile. They have two main damage threats, in contrast to Top Esports, who have a lot of team fighting power. In terms of their early game, I expect them to be able to get pushed on the top side of the map. They're going to concede some of that pressure in the mid lane, potentially opening up Humanoid for a few ganks when you think about Sejuani and Yone as a combo. But the bot side of the map, I expect a lot of back and forth, a lot of trading. We'll see who's able to get that early prio, because I think it's going to be important. But then the question comes back to, are we actually going to see a swap come through? Is this something that Fnatic actually want to try and put some pressure onto the Rumble early on? But remember that Jhin not that fast when it comes to taking turret plates, but then Fnatic might be the ones to initiate that swap to, again, try and put some pressure on the Rumble.
That will be the big thing to track, at least in the level 1. In the first few levels of the game is how the lane assignments are going to shake up. But Fnatic, I think it's safe to say, a narrower composition in terms of what it can accomplish through the stages of the game. Smolder, obviously, in the simplest terms, is that late game scaling, kind of get out of jail free card, but getting there, always tricky against the Yone. Even if you put this champion behind, we've seen it in the hands of Humanoid, in the hands of just about every other mid laner at this tournament, it will always find those big team fight moments to come back. Will that be the story for TES today?
When I was looking at the stats last night, Yone is 9-2 at Worlds so far. And bear in mind, one of those losses was Caps against HLE, that incredibly close where he did end up losing to a Smolder. And Yone was the only reason, well, a large part of the reason, I should say, that that game ended up being as close as it was.
Just all I'll say is, because I don't want to discredit everyone for playing this champion, it's very powerful and the best pro players in the world clearly are leveraging it to its most extreme, but I think every single game Yone is involved in, around level 13, 1 to 1.5 items, there is an insane team fight where Yone kills like 4 people. Like clockwork. We'll see if it happens this game too, if this will be a different story. But this is probably one of the most consistent team fighting champions we have seen on the world stage thus far. Certainly safe as well. And hopefully something that Fnatic are ready and prepared to deal with, because again, this is the first time that Humanoid hasn't been on the pick himself. Smolder has looked strong, but does require a level of discipline around picking your fights that hasn't been the most consistent for Fnatic this year. Much better usually when they're finding those early leads, snowballing them through, but are, of course, domestically at least, a very strong team fighting team. So if anyone can make it work in the LEC, hopefully it is Fnatic.
Now, when we watched Fnatic partake in the lane swap against GAM, the dive bot lane really hurt Oscar, to put it lightly. He was very far behind on the Gnar. With the swap coming through from Fnatic, it'll be them initiating the swap. 369 is going to see the play, immediately moves over towards the mid lane, and it becomes this back and forth of quickly, we need to get as many people with level 2 as quickly as possible so that we can be ready to set up for the plays. Now, as 369 makes his way towards bot, his primary goal, along with the supports being in mid, again, is to get that level 2 so they can try and catch the wave that's going to be stacking on the bot side of the map. Oscar doing the same thing on the top side, ready to TP towards the bot lane. So nothing too crazy. The map is going to be split, very much as we expect. Vision going to spot out Tian moving into the bottom side of the map, along with Jhin heading up towards the top lane. So everything kind of going as expected. It feels like that this version of the lane swap, I'd say it's one of the easier iterations compared to many of the variant lane swaps that we've seen throughout the years. Here comes the TP through.
Are we playing tic-tac-toe, or is that just a very small bingo board? That's what was not clear to me about that.
Well, see, now this is a situation where you'd normally see the dive set up. But, I mean, given the state of the waves weren't massively stacked. There's no 4-man dive on the bot side of the map. Oscar's going to tick over to level 3. And it looks like Rumble's in a similar position where I think, given the state of the waves, they weren't too concerned. As I say that, Russell gets hovering around.
369, forced to flash out. paying that respect over the side of Fnatic. You talked about it on the bottom side, they'd opt not to go with the draft. Maybe this is the reason that Fnatic did offer the lane swap in the first place. K'Sante generally much more comfortable in those dive situations than a Rumble ever will be, at least for the first few levels.
I mean, he was able to get that level 3. This wave still isn't massive. He should expect Tian to try and force the dive from happening. Here we go.
Bit of poke. It's all about the W. The sooner they get it out, the easier the dive is. 4 stacks still marked up. Tian not able to get close enough to proc it quite yet. Permafrost falling away is big for Oscar. Ignite now ticking. Mako trying to take that aggro, excuse me. They do force the flash. Good survive from Oscar. A bit awkward overall from the side of TES. Clearly trying to weigh out the W cooldown on K'Sante to get the permafrost, but angle and positioning just wasn't quite right.
I mean, Oscar navigated that about as well as he could have, right? He saved his skills for the right moments. He didn't burn his flash too quickly. And the tower aggro, I mean, you can see the difference between the 4-man dive versus the 3-man, and then with the support is there to try and out-execute and all this crazy stuff. But ultimately, neither side finds a kill. You could say a small advantage gain for Oscar, particularly in the experience department. 369 was denied an extra wave because he was actually zoned away from the tower once he lost his flash. But ultimately, both top laners sitting fairly comfortably for the time being, and in terms of gold, they don't find themselves at too much of a deficit, as now the swaps come back. The good news for Oscar is that the wave will be pushing in towards him, so he'll be able to catch that. Meanwhile, on the bot side of the map, it's Fnatic's wave who will be moving towards JackeyLove and Mako.
Maybe Oscar can find a bit more of an advantage on the top side as he does catch that wave and should be able to hold on to that experience lead. Early level 6 could be crucial in the matchup. For now, focusing in on the bot lane 2v2, both sides avoiding those first few levels. Mako only being level 2 is a bit awkward if Fnatic are able to find the angle for more aggressive trades. Overall, though, pretty quiet early game. Lane swaps outside of those initial dives usually don't have quite the same opportunity for ganks or activity.
Meanwhile, the mid-lane matchup going very much as we expect. Just a lot of farming. Usually, the CS is not the biggest indicator of how well the lane is going. The stacks are.
Yep.
I think that Zeka gave us the best demonstration where he was at like 200 stacks in 20 minutes, which is egregiously fast. that was like, oh no, that's a problem.
You say egregious because someone on the enemy team did something wrong that the Smolder has that many stacks.
Yeah, exactly. Normally, I would say that something like 170, 180 around 20 minutes is usually pretty good. And then if you're at about like 150, 160, something's probably gone wrong somewhere where you're a little bit behind. In terms
You really
of
cannot feed the baby dragon. Bad idea. Don't know if you've ever seen the movie Gremlins, but it's a very similar concept. You're gonna have a bad time if you give this man too many stacks. Azor getting aggressive here. And this is one of the most frustrating things about the Skarner matchup if you're not familiar. His hitbox is so big that when he uses that E, even though you saw Tian try to Q to interrupt, Skarner actually hits first and stops the Sejuani Q in its tracks, which is a really annoying but very niche interaction.
Humanoid going to use the ultimate to push out the wave. Meanwhile, in top, here comes the Skarner.
And Oscar immediately hitting level 6. Perfectly timed for Fnatic. 369, still no flash from the earlier play. Well punished. Nice proactive look from Fnatic.
So the experience ends up paying off wonders for Fnatic. Remember we said earlier that one wave that was lost for 369 put him about a level down. If he'd been able to catch that top wave, it could have been fine for him. But Razork sees the window, leverages the strength of Skarner to go through the wall, catch him off guard.
JackeyLove trying to play ring around the rosy there. Doesn't see Jun. Flashing over the wall. A little bit awkward. As Jun does commit his flash over, but JackeyLove will be able to walk away at the very least. And Vetty, I think it's important to look back at the play-in stage of MSI and remember that while TES did beat Fnatic, the one game that Fnatic won, it was Oscar on Camille having a carry performance that I would argue is probably his best
MSI,
of the year
right?
from MSI, yeah. And so that's something that I'm wondering if Fnatic can try and replicate. You know, K'Sante is not Camille in terms of target access, etc., but still a powerful pick, and with a lead like this, you really can make a difference on the map.
I mean, Fnatic, with a composition like this with Smolder, the important thing is restraint, right? And I think what's really crucial is that any advantages you find in the early game, you don't try and go over the board, overforce. You just leverage them to give you a comfortable weak side and then play towards your strong side. You constantly look to trade objectives. You look to continue to funnel resources and gold into Humanoid. And the fact that Oscar has this lead just makes him harder to dive in the side lane, right? It makes it more difficult for top esports to find those opportunities in the early game. And that's not to say that top esports don't have late game of their own. Yone split pushing is always going to be lethal. They're team fighting. You already look at the wombo combo that they have. That's a big thing. That's a big advantage I think Top Esports is going to have. But for the time being, Fnatic, I think taking the right approach, being very calm, respectful, and just kind of looking to trade on the map where they can.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. Noah setting up with the curtain call. Bit of poke onto JackeyLove. Razork on the way, but he will be a little bit late. Jun only level 4. Razork now spotted. Maybe they're going to be able to turn this play around. Immediate ultimate coming in. The Impale, a bit of work there, but the follow-up not. JackeyLove over the wall. Huge damage and a massive punish onto Fnatic, who thought they had the angle on the bot lane play.
Bit of a misplay there from Fnatic, and JackeyLove comfortably punishes it. A fantastic MF ultimate from across the wall. Is way more damage than Fnatic is prepared for. They thought that they'd caught Mako out, but crucially, Noah misses his W thinking that Mako is going to get hit into the wall, but then that's not actually what happens. Razork actually brings him past the wall, the CC doesn't connect, and that's 2 early game objectives now for Top Esports.
That person's a very big fan of JackeyLove, and you can understand why. Sitting on the other side of the wall, pushing R. He's a hero we can all get behind, and of course, the early BF sword makes this matchup very difficult, because while Noah is fast with those Swifties, he is not winning any trades.
Keep an eye here, see. So the sun comes through, but then the ultimate from Razork drags him out of range of the wall, so the W doesn't connect from Noah, which means that chain CC doesn't follow through. Mako gets the knock-up. The combination with the MF ultimate as well means that they absolutely decimate the Fnatic trio. Well played there by Top Esports to equalize the kills.
Definitely a very strong start, at least a counterpunch to give them an edge on the bottom side of the map to balance out Oscarinnen's lead, which is just holding at about that kill worth of gold. Obviously, some early MR will make the matchup much easier, but to your point earlier, Fnatic, I think, happy to trade even as long as it gets more time and more space for Humanoid to continue to stack up. Looking at the next objectives, second grub spawn in 1 minute. Keep in mind, TES already got the first Drake, already got both the grubs, so in terms of objectives, they're significantly ahead, and if they're able to get that 4 grub buff, or even 6, I think it's going to get a lot more difficult for Fnatic. For now, though, 369, the one in trouble. Again, so many resources used by Fnatic to try and take this Rumble out of the game.
Well, I mean, 369 is also just walking through the river. That was an easy opportunity, especially with Tian hovering around the top side of the map. Bit of a misplay from him, as now Top Esports threaten the dive. Yone on his way as well.
Tough for Noah to do much. They get the TP out at the very least. JackeyLove very far forward. Second TP now coming in. Oscarinnen waiting behind. JackeyLove should just be a dead man walking. Quick kill pickup. Mako is already out of there, taking their time to make sure they donate it to Noah. Just in time for second grub spawn. 15 seconds away. Fnatic priority on the objective. Able to get that top push. Might need to answer mid, but should not have to concede these grubs.
We'll say perhaps a bit of an overcommitment as Oscar now is in danger.
Unstoppable though, K'Sante able to pull through the wall. The perfect angle as well. Takes his time to line it up. Knock up there from Cream, but forced back now as Razork tries to follow. Mako potentially going to be in trouble. Q3 comes in from Oscar, still doing good damage with the ulti response going out. Shun now following up, but Cream is right into the midst. Fate sealed for Oscarinnen as Fnatic forced for at least a moment to back away. Q3 ready for Cream if they do want to re-engage. Objective, not the name of the game here for Fnatic, but sadly this entire sequence of play, while they did win out in kills at least a little bit, they're going to lose the grubs.
It's a situation once again where we talk about Fnatic overforcing. They got out. Oscar was in a good spot, and then they sat there and thought, wait, we can punish this. We can actually chase for more kills. And Cream's like, I feel like you guys forgot that I'm playing Yone. And then immediately turns that around and they give a kill over. Look at the farm advantage that he now has because Humanoid committed the TP up to top. There's now a full level advantage in favor of Cream. And now, once he goes back to base, I imagine he's going to be sitting on enough gold to be able to even buy the Blade of the Ruined King as well, forcing Oscar back. A 2-level lead over him. All of this farm is going to be denied. Top Esports, off a single play, now gaining a sizable lead.
And of course, building up on some of their early objective control. Having 6 grubs with this Yone on a sideline. Yone is going to be so tough to answer. Makes this really difficult for Fnatic. 369, again, if it first you succeed, just do it again, I guess is the mantra for Fnatic. They really just want to focus down 369. This is their only avenue to play. Humanoid stacking up a lot here, but I don't know if he has the damage to finish these kills. TP now coming in. Cream on the way down. This Yone should be able to do a lot of work. Humanoid now needs to get the hell out. Razork trying to buy a bit more space, but Humanoid just determined to get this kill. This is so greedy from Fnatic. Blood in their eyes, blinded by the potential of what could be in the bottom lane, but it all falls apart.
Top Esports happily pick up 2 kills, and crucially, another one goes over to Cream. He's able to TP down. They turn it into a 4 versus 2, and Fnatic over-forcing again. They were so desperate to turn that into something more. They'd realized that once they'd gone for the play under 369, it was already too deep. And they thought to themselves, if we can get another kill, make it a 2 for 2, then maybe it'll be fine. I think the play in and of itself is okay. You can see they're spotting out JackeyLove in the river, but he's still able to rotate down. He doesn't get interrupted. Jun is making his way down as quickly as he can, but at this point, like, Humanoid's even gonna flash in to try and have enough damage. And it just results in 2 kills. Nice chain. CC Tian gets out with barely, he levels up to Top Esports happy after picking those 2 kills up.
Happy to punish there, and I think the thing that we talked about with Smolder is not happening, Betty.
I mean,
we talked about you have to be able to lose gracefully. You have to wait for your time, knowing that when you're a big dragon, you're gonna kill everybody. He didn't have an item completed. He went in there with a Kindle Gem and a Caulfield's Warhammer like, I'm gonna kill this boar. That's not enough.
Yesterday, we saw D plus Kia drafting the scaling comp, and first thing I thought of was like, this doesn't feel like a comp for D plus Kia, right? Because they only know how to fight.
I agree.
And I'm looking at Fnatic, and they're like
This doesn't feel like a comp for Fnatic. Because if we look at Humanoid's identity, like farming on a side lane, finding those leads, that's great for him. But that's why the Yone work, because he can still make those team fight plays. As JackeyLove is going to be forced to flash out. Small summoner picked up there by Fnatic, so good look to catch him overextending. But Fnatic certainly going to have to show a lot of growth, even in the context of this game. They can't afford to make any more greedy plays like this because they're already falling so far behind. 3K lead just about for TES. Fnatic now trying to get set up on the Drake. Make sure that Soul is not an option too early. They have decent control, but
Oscar's got a TP.
Cream level 11. Nerf some of that CC. 369 pushing on the side lane. So good pickup from Fnatic, knowing they forced out some of Jackie's sums, taking that advantage, using it to secure Drake.
I just think Cream is so strong. He is such a serious problem for Fnatic right now. Yone typically tough laning phase as a champion.
Sure,
That's what he does. Like he really doesn't do much. He doesn't have that much damage. He's very limited as a champion. He's very reliant on getting items.
Yeah.
So once he gets this item is really when he comes online, and now he's more than happy to look for fights, and the damage should show that.
You can just go right back. Yeah, it's important to understand. While when you go to the store and you buy attack speed, you just get attack speed. Yone also gets cooldown reduction on 2 of his abilities. Also, if he hits you with enough of those abilities, it's also a knock-up. So when you think about the synergistic scaling of this kit, it's like Yasuo, but you don't have to die 10 times to be good, you know? No one talks about the Yone power spike. He doesn't have to die at all to be powerful, which seems pretty strong.
Anyway, I feel like everyone knows how strong Yone is, so I won't keep hammering on about it.
I will resist. Yeah. It's my #1 favorite thing to complain about right now. But Cream will need to find a way to navigate out of this. Immediate ulti. Razork, perfect angle to catch him. Impact there. Chain CC. Q3 almost gets him. They have to use everything they've got in terms of cooldown. But that Yone is dead. Shutdown acquired. 500 gold over to Oscar.
K'Sante says, get over here as they drag him back into the lane. Cream doesn't get an opportunity to flash away. And a crucial pick for Fnatic. We talked about how much of a problem Cream is going to be on a side lane. The good news for Fnatic is that Top Esports really weren't able to punish anywhere else on the map, meaning that Fnatic find themselves a kill and a crucial shutdown. Does go over to the K'Sante, means that Smolder is just going to continue to farm towards the bot side of the map, close that experience gap just a little bit, as they now set their sights on the bot lane.
369, once again, the center of attention here. Fnatic like the paparazzi descend. Easy peasy pickup, the 3rd time this game. Rumble's been taken off the board. TES now trying to respond in the mid lane. Noah not in a great position. Looks like they will have to concede the mid lane tier 1, but at least they get a bit of gold from the bot lane kill.
I mean, it is a nice pick, but I still think it's worth it for Top Esports. They get mid and top. That's all out of towers now. They move into the top side jungle, and I mean, just look at the vision control that they have right now. Wards are littered across the top side of this map. There is this one potential flank ward, but there's no TPs that can use it.
Herald charges there. Oscar trying to defend. 2nd tower, not going to fall.
Humanoid
Maybe
TP
is going to fall, actually. There's a lot of grubbies there. Cream flashing back. Humanoid off to the side. Mon called in. Initial slow is good. Quick use of the locket there to mitigate some of that damage. Jun now into the backside. Noah ready over the wall. Perhaps could just go for the curtain call, but Mako now going for the re-engage, and JackeyLove is there right in the nick of the time. The equalizer coming down. It doesn't do a lot, but they don't need it. TES tearing through this fight. Lock up onto Jun is flawless. Another kill going to the side of Top Esports.
How many times have we got to tell this tale? Fnatic once again try to force a play. Top Esports had control over the top wave. They were going to concede that top tower after dropping the Herald, but Fnatic say, hey, I think there's a play here. They tried to force the fight, and Top Esports very smartly immediately punish it. Humanoid gets engaged on thanks to a nice ultimate from Tian, and it's at this point where you realize it's too overforced. Such a nice TP flank going to come in as well. They're disconnected, and look at this engage. Nicely done from Mako. Locks up the two members. The bullet time over the top. And the Wombo combo is there. We talked about it coming into the draft. We're seeing it now in the fight. If you overforce these fights, in the mid-game especially, Top Esports are more than happily going to take them.
You can see frustration, perhaps resignation on the face of the Fnatic staff there, because, look, this is a game where Fnatic are finding some plays, some angles of attack, some kills. 369 has 3 deaths, right? Those came from somewhere, but the downside is almost every single time TES are trading up somewhere else on the map, and then when Fnatic do finally force a group play, like you said, it's an overforce. It ends up costing them much, much more. Cream, the target here, but it's just going to go all in. Snaps right back when he sees somebody.
It's so easy for Cream to solo kill pretty much anyone he wants now with these items. And he can do it so safely as well, thanks to his E. Humanoid needs this cover on a side lane to be able to ramp up. Stack-wise, Humanoid's still doing relatively well. 180, 19 minutes in is definitely a good pace. But you just kind of look at the map state and it's just in tatters for Fnatic. It's so difficult really for them to set up on an objective. They don't have their TPs available. They should just look to concede this dragon. Top Esports have done a great job of, if we think about the punishes that we've been seeing, every time Fnatic overstep, Top Esports is there to punish. Yeah. Every single time. And even though Fnatic have been able to find these picks, Top Esports have been making smart cross maps on the map. And they've just been slowly, methodically been picking apart of these weaknesses from Fnatic and converting it into bigger and bigger gold leads. Now, both JackeyLove and Cream with basically a 2K lead between the both of them, well, independently, giving them a full item advantage over their lane counterparts.
Which is completely massive as we get closer and closer to Baron, spawning 3 seconds away. With Yone on your team as well as a Rumble, you can burn through it quite quickly. No reason for TES to risk cover. They're ahead in Dragon stacking. They've got more side lane pressure with the 6 scrub buff. And it's a situation where you highlighted early on, Fnatic doing okay in terms of trading kills, but TES were the ones to get the objectives, and now they're trading up in about every single skirmish. Cream.
He almost solo killed him. If Jun wasn't there, I think he would have died. I mean, he lost his flash.
They force out the ulti from Humanoid. He needs the health. He's afraid of Mako going in and just igniting to finish the job.
You just, I mean, Tails all the time. People sit there and believe that Smolder is a good counter pick into the Yone, and like to a degree it can be. But if the Yone ever gets to a point where he can just demolish you on a side lane and you're forced to go and match him, then you have a problem. I think the crucial thing that teams are kind of forgetting about the HLE draft is that they had the Jax that could be used to answer into the Yone on a side, which meant that you just had more time for the Smolder to sit elsewhere away from the Yone and safely farm up.
Cream now farming, solo and bound leverage. Ulti coming out once again, combo there. JackeyLove right where it needs to be, and a beautiful equalizer over the top. Cream now just snaps back to safety. Team is there to body block, and once again, baby, Yone walks away. TES in complete and total control of this game. Fnatic already retreating back into their own bases. TES just continue to pull further and further ahead.
Why not? They have such a health advantage. Razork is down, the Smite is gone. Top Esports just dismantling Fnatic, leveraging the strength of their mid-game. There's nothing on the map that Fnatic can really do. They're TPing bot to try and get some form of cross-map, but with the Baron, they're going to get a quick recall. TP answer is going to come through from 369 to deny Fnatic any opportunity of getting anything back.
Humanoid, 211 stacks, kind of what they're preying on, but this is not the Smolder of old. This has been nerfed. You need either more stacks or more items if you really want to have that same level of impact. And I mean, look at Cream. He's almost on a third completed item. You've got armor penetration coming through for JackeyLove, and in the context of this fight, Fnatic really don't get to fight on their terms whatsoever. It's so easy for TES to just kick this off without getting punished.
I mean, Razork just gets melted. He's supposed to be the front line, and you're just seeing how much damage Cream is able to do alone. A simple pick converts into a Baron. Fnatic now find themselves 6k gold down. And the problem is, yeah, you can always make the argument of they've got the scaling. However, Top Esports just have such a powerful teamfight comp at this point in the game.
And I think one of the big things is you can always threaten this Smolder. We've seen Smolder take over against comps that lack long-range engage, but Sejuani ult, the Rumble ult, Yone, it's easy when Top Esports already have control, when they already are going to have set up first round these objectives, to be able to threaten Humor and make sure he can't play the game. They don't even need to wait for the objective. Cream that was just very casual. Just walked up to Razork and took 80% of his health.
Yep. Just another day in the office for him. Cream.
Now Humanoid's
That's
dead.
a solo kill.
Yeah, Mom's coming in, but that's not enough. Mom will not save you. What else are we going to say? Curtains? Flash. Nothing to stack Q on. Surely he's dead. He's not.
Oh,
Interrupt comes in from Mako. Mako, the great savior. Body blocks the bullet for the president. They know where it's coming in. Bullet time there from JackeyLove to finish the job. 369 are slaughtering Fnatic in this game.
I mean, Fnatic found picks. There were nice plays at moments, but this has just been a stomp from Top Esports. Commanding performance, looking to put themselves at 2-1.
TES finishing it up. Cool, calm, collected from start to finish. Might have traded even once or twice. The rest of the game, they have just been dominating. One more Wombo combo to send us out with a bit of confidence. Fnatic's base in tatters now. Cream with Q. Gonna get caught out. Can they hold the line? Fnatic still going forward. Oscar backing off. Tien wants to finish it here. Oscar stunned up, and this should just be it. If they auto the Nexus, it's over. 369 goes in, he goes gold, and he has a bit more time with the Seekers. JackeyLove getting pushed away from the objective. They need to kill the Rumble, but 369 has the last laugh. They hit him, but he took their Nexus.
24 minutes is all it took for Top Esports to start off our Swiss Day 4. Commanding performance as Fnatic. They tried to overforce, and a lot of credit needs to be given to Tian. 2-0-9. The only kill he was involved in was the solo kill that Cream got in mid.
Incredible stuff. We've said enough. Let's send it over to the AD to break down that absolute stomp.
Speaking of breakdown,
Lore?
are you okay, Laura?
With us?
No! Okay.
That was a tough one.
That was rough.
Yeah.
That was rough. Yeah.
Draco's like, hey, look.
No, but I mean, you guys were talking about the draft, the approaches, and the power picks, and what can condition Yone here in the favor of Top
I mean,
Esports.
we've seen that core see a lot of play and success, and I'm talking about Yone, Rumble, Rel.
Yes.
With other things that fly on top of it. The Sejuani enables the two solo laners extremely well, and the Misfortune can just add to the Wombo combo. It was a very aggressive comp, and my biggest concern going into that game, and I said it right after the draft, is that Fnatic's comp was going to be a bit too slow. They were going to be extremely low damage before the Smolder gets to 225. Vetty has pointed out in the cast, I would have loved to see like a Jax or a Gnar pretty early there for Oscar, but that's also like trying to change a tire after a car crash.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to fix the whole picture.
The thing is, too, is that it worked out well, at least in the lane swap. Really early on, where K'Sante gets the early EXP lead because they couldn't dive him with the three-man that they had, the Sejuani and Jhin. We're like, okay, like, it's working out. They end up getting a kill topside, too, based off the experience lead that K'Sante has. So everything's working out until they had a double TP top lane play that I thought was just not worthwhile. Because Rumble has TP, pushing bot, so you're going to lose a wave, you're going to lose plates, Grubs is coming up, you're going to have to go back bot to catch it, and you're going to lose Grubs. So it's like, that's a lot expended for one champion where the map is being taken away from you.
And it's crazy how easily Top Esports has managed to accelerate the game, I feel. But we're going to talk about this a bit later because we see that Shox is ready on stage for an interview with JackeyLove.
You just had the counterpunch. How much did you feel? I need to pause for a second because I need to wait for the cue from the world feed so that everybody gets the interview.
TS has been able to accelerate the game.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing for me is they ended that game very quickly.
Yes.
Here's the interview.
Jackie Love, congratulations on a very convincing victory versus Fnatic, where it seemed that whatever Fnatic tried, you had the counterpunch. How much did you feel like you were completely in Fnatic's heads and could predict their next moves?
那首先恭喜你们赢下的这场比赛，这一场对阵到 Fnatic 的比赛，队伍展现出了非常稳健的表现，感觉好像在峡谷内的每一个 Fnatic 的动向都被你们所掌握。所以呢，杰克觉得这局比赛你们是要怎么样做到的，可以几乎是预测到他们在地图上的动向，并且能够赢得这么稳健。
这把我就觉得我们野辅的指挥非常的好吧，因为每个资源我们都 按照我们的想法拿到了，然后我们的阵容，我觉得就是发育到后面，我们打团就很好赢，然后我们小规模团战也打得非常好。
So first of all, I would like to give the credit to our jungle and the support because they made so many crucial shot calls in this game, and we managed to grab, a lot of crucial resources in this map. And also, speaking of our draft we think that coming to the very late game, we have a better chance to show our draft strengths. Also, in some skirmishes, we also perform pretty good.
You did not even need to get to the late game because the game was finished quite quickly. Now, overall, we find ourselves in a meta still where lane swaps are very, very important, and the meta is being figured out by a lot of teams. How much impact and influence do you think you have out of the role of ADC in this current lane swap state?
那在现在的最近的比赛当中，这个版本好像看起来还是一个比较偏向于换线的版本。那你觉得这个版本对于下路 ADC 选手这个位置会有哪些影响呢？
对于 AD 的话，可能就是没有那种，就相比那种厉害点的英雄对线上的压力了吧？因为换线的话，可能会让一些劣势英雄前面会就是正常发育，然后到后面正常打团，所以我觉得 有换线来说的话 ，AD 的压力可能对线压力会相对小很多，但是可能跟就是上路的配合要多一点。
So in this laning swap meta, I will say that for AD carry players, there will be less pressure, especially in laning phase. But in lane swap meta, I think that you maybe focus on the top lane. For the top lane, maybe they will have more pressure on it, and you should have the better synergy with your top lane and the whole team to handle it.
Okay, thank you very much, Sheshe. Congratulations, Jackie Love, and thank you, Christina. And Top Esports moves on to 2-1.
Red Bull gives you wings.
在抵达那一刻之前，
你能做的只有等待。
如果故事再重来一次，我想 Jackie Love 还会做出相同的选择。
等待比分失衡，企图从中看清胜负的端倪。
等待一切安静，好听清自己脑海里的声音，直到抓住那一刻。
他们可能会因为激进而失误，但是不会因为胆怯而畏惧。
Here we go again, man, I'm on another one. Don't wait up for me, man, I'm on another run. Yeah, I hear the streets calling. I cannot ignore it. Walking to self-destruction. Never been this close to me erupting. I'm on the ledge, I'm seeing red. Don't think they heard what I said. Mr. Goody Two Shoes, but the pew-pew. Kill him in a new suit, man, I'm too smooth. From the light to the dark, from the truth to the lies, play a part. I'm a renegade, renegade, renegade. Better run away, run away, run away. I'm a renegade, renegade, renegade. Better run away, run away, run away. I'm a renegade, 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 renegade. You better run away. I'm a renegade, renegade, renegade. Better run away, run away, run away. I'm a renegade, renegade, renegade. Better run away, run away. Yeah, yeah. I threw away the halo, never gonna be an angel. I'm more keen and able. I've been a since the cradle. Build different, homie. You could go and check the label. I'm 100% raw, underrated. I'm related, I'm the greatest. I'm the hero and the villain. You can pick a favorite. I'm the one that everybody said he couldn't make it. Now I'm on a mission. I'ma try to win my enemies and they gon' hate. Hate is just the love when it's intensive. Dark is just the light without the sense. And loneliness is you without the friends. Click giving up for me is too expensive. Renegade. I'm a renegade, renegade, renegade. Better run away, run away, run away. I'm a renegade, renegade, renegade. Better run away, run away, run away. I'm a renegade, 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 renegade. You better run away. I'm a renegade, renegade, renegade. Better run away, run away, run away. I'm a renegade, renegade, renegade. Better run away, run away. I tell the world, never label me the same. I feel nobody could relate. You can't box me in the day. I'm breaking chains, I'm in the raid. And that's just me, just me, just me. Don't box me in, it'll get interesting. Cause you don't know the pain that I'm wrestling. I'm a renegade when I ain't resting. That means all day. You don't wanna test me, this ain't all play. I could be the warm breeze on a cold day. Or the one you gambling with after a parlay. Yeah, but that's just me, just me, just me. Don't push me unless you're feeling lucky. Or you gonna turn this into a must-see. And I don't wanna go there, trust me. Renegade. I'm a renegade, renegade, renegade. Better run away, run away, run away. I'm a renegade, 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 renegade. You better run away.
To the desk ahead of our second series of the day. Before we move on, guys, quick take, a few words, 5 words to describe the first game we had.
Take the first 3.
Yes, and Fnatic, Judge, you go.
That escalated quick.
Oh my God.
Lore sad.
I can't even be sad, that's amazing, honestly.
There we go,
What do you
thank God,
with?
thank goodness. Oh man, and they're still posing.
Still posing, yeah. TS in a good form, and hopefully their sister team from the LPL, BLG, is looking to find the same success in the second game that we're going to have here. It's going to be BLG versus T1. I don't feel like either team has been living to the expectations around them, especially for BLG.
No, definitely not. I thought BLG, there were going to be a lot of people's pick for a 3-0 team coming out of this. And I think BLG and Gen G were both some of the favorites in the tournament. Just to have them at 1-1 and then get the bad draw of the defending world champions is tough for them.
It's a tough one, but I think they've had at least an awakening with the LNG game. So I feel like they're going to be a little bit more prepared, especially when it comes to the meta, because they got Yone. So that's like a slap in the face, basically.
There is a matchup that we're all looking forward to, though. When it comes to these two teams, it's our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, and it is Knight versus Faker.
We have the Old Kings facing off against the contenders for the crown in today's featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. Despite coming back and winning Worlds last year, T1 has not looked like that legendary team we have come to expect. Just barely getting into Worlds by the skin of their teeth.
Away, Glacial Prison still connects, and Zeus can put down the equalizer, carry a flash, hostile takeover hits onto 2, she turns one of them! And Pain Gaming can only watch from the fountain as T1 rip them apart.
BLG will be one of their biggest challenges to maintaining their throne, having been knocked out of 2023 Worlds by T1 last year.
T1! They're on their way to the quarterfinals!
This is an opportunity for BLG to show they are ready to take that final step towards winning the World Championship.
Frescowi getting lower and lower, just trying to 1v1 Bin, but not doing a whole hell of a lot. Bin still standing. BLG, again, just wiped the fight. Last desperate moves, but the Flash Charm coming in from Knight is enough. The ace there for BLG.
BLG may have faltered early, but a win against the defending champions T1 would prove they are not just here to compete, but to win.
And I'm so excited about this matchup because we just think about the accolades that these two players have stocked up. From Faker's side, he's got 4 World Championships, 2 MSI Championships, 10 LCK Championships. That guy has medals, by the way. He's got a lot on his for himself. But for Knight, by the way, 5 LPL Championships tied with Clearlove, the GOAT, and Xiaohu as well. And a lot of it has been super recently. 6 finals back to back in the LPL. The LPL has been Knight's show. So like for both of these players to be going up against each other, while also I can't forget about the fact that he has the MSI Championship from last year, Knight. So they both are stacking accolades, and now they're going up against each other. They're in each other's way, and it's going to be fun to see these two players go up against each other.
What is it going to come down to? Because the expectation around this matchup is always high, but what do we think of the form of both teams? BLG, for me, they could have won the first game they played against LNG. It came down to silly little micro mistakes, actually, that came down to fights on their side.
Yeah.
Fully executed here.
I put BLG as pretty heavy favorites into this one. Especially because of the teams that they've played against. The win that T1 had, as dominant as it was against the CB LOL, whereas we've had BLG just falling to LNG, who then advanced as a 3-0 team. And I think they were a little bit outdrafted. Like we've seen now, I think Yone's 10-2.
Yeah.
The Yone Rumble team compositions, I think, are swinging a lot of these games that are up against pretty even matched teams.
Yeah, and I mean, for BLG, when they went up against LNG, they had like a 3K goal lead at 11 minutes before they threw it, right?
Yeah.
So that happened. Same could be said for T1 when they went up against Top Esports. They had a 3K goal lead before the Jin quadra kill incident. So they'll be pretty upset that the matchup that they were looking forward to, the biggest one that they, like both respective teams had, they had control at a certain moment until they lost at a key point in team fight.
Yeah, I would also just say though, these teams are too good at pulling off Rumble Yone combos with any setup CC they have, whether it's the darkness from the Nocturne or an engage like the Rel. So I think they're going to learn that lesson pretty fast, and the coordination from all of these teams is extremely high. So I do actually have BLG as a pretty big favorite.
Same.
Draft dependent.
All right, Sam, Caster take it away for this one. I guess the analysts think the same. What do you guys think for this one?
I think it is fair to peg BLG as the favorites. While the history and the aura will always favor T1, the road to get here certainly favors BLG, but it all comes down to a single best of one, and in a best of one, really anything is possible. So we're just going to have to see how the draft shapes up.
I mean, let's not forget, it was only at MSI not that long ago where BLG didn't beat T1 once, but twice. And people saw T1 at a higher level going into that tournament. This one, right now, T1, they struggled their way into here. And I feel like it's tough to judge the level of T1 right now, because we saw some promising things where they kind of got out-team fought by Top Esports. There was, as Ryan said, the unfortunate quadra kill situation from JackeyLove, and then against Pain Gaming, they were extremely dominant.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's really hard to tell what level T1 is at right now.
One, I think it's a bit of a reset for both teams, potentially, right? We saw, obviously, LNG mount a pretty impressive comeback. We saw T1, I think, get caught off guard a little bit by what Aurora could bring to the table in some of those fights. Certainly, both teams probably have a better sense of what they want to prioritize in this meta, but with T1, tons of leads early on. It was a similar story for BLG against LNG, and we'll have to see if either team can take that strong early game and leverage it again against their opposition today.
And what I will say is that, historically, T1 is a team that don't start Worlds off incredibly strong, right? They have this incredible record, right? Where their worst group stage record was 5-1. They've only ever lost one, and this was true last year as well.
Well, they lost to they beat TL, they lost to Gen G, and they beat Cloud9, and then
they
to start their
BLG.
Yeah, and then to start their great run where they beat literally every LPL representative, they beat BLG, and you know it had to feel good. It had to feel sweet at MSI for BLG to get that revenge, but Worlds is a different beast.
And all I'm saying is that, on the one hand, totally makes sense to have BLG as the favorites. On the other hand, T1 has already lost a game. And, you know,
there's no more losses left.
Yeah, they've already given that one up. So,
until best of fives.
Yeah, so it's a scary thing because that pedigree really does follow them. It's always mind-blowing when people ask me, like, why is Faker so popular? Well, most people have one World Championship, maybe two at best. He's got 4.
Yeah, but then you zoom out and you're like, actually, most people don't have a World Championship.
Yes. And it's just, it's really crazy to realize that, like, regardless of their form, T1 have a way of performing. And so that's why we're excited for this matchup. Yep. Many people believe it's too early in the tournament, and I totally understand that sentiment. But the good news is that there's still room for both of them to be able to make it out still.
Just shout out to EasyHoon there on the support staff on the side of BLG. Legendary SKT Azir back in the day, 2015 run, now supporting BLG. I think they're too far away in years for me to be like, he's got all the secrets. I can't imagine that a lot of 2015 transfers over, but you never know.
Now, I was looking back at their best of 5s when they met at MSI. There was a lot of focus on Faker back then. It was Azir Orianna every game.
Yeah.
The idea was to try and pinch his pool and put him on something that he couldn't have the same level of impact on. Back then as well, Senna was a very high value champion in terms of both sides were actually really looking to contest it. And I'm curious as to what the priority is going to be in this match, because if it hasn't been obvious enough, Yone is clearly important. My opinion, I think we share this opinion, is it should just be a permanent red side ban. Because we were cooking, I say I was throwing randoms. I was like, Rammus and Lissandra, probably 2 champions that I think you could throw into Yone.
All I'm saying is,
but I don't think they're going to do it.
If you walk into a draft meeting with any pro player ever and you say the words Rammus or Lissandra, you're getting fired. So, you know, let's just, it's banned. Yay! Yone banned!
Okay,
Love watching it. It's just a little too strong. Shout out to T1 for that one.
The Aurora going to follow that one up. Okay, so T1 are just removing some of the really powerful champions on the meta. Makes a ton of sense. Orianna, obviously, also very strong in the meta. And the Nocturne, the thing that's kind of, I think, surprised many with how impactful it's been so far at the tournament. The utilization of his ultimate to set up for these other teamfight tools. The Sejuani removed as well. Does leave things up like the Ashe, the Skarner, the Vi. We've only seen Wei on Vi so far in this tournament, and I would be surprised if we didn't see him on it again.
Ahri? Knight's Ahri.
I don't think they would first pick it though, would they?
I mean, probably easier to first pick the Vi, as you suggested. I can't imagine the immediate response would be a blind pick Ahri, but with Smolder and Yone off the board, as well as Orianna, obviously the mid lane pool, and technically Aurora as well, the mid lane pool is pretty heavily pinched.
I mean, obviously, Knight's Ahri is world-renowned. It's one of his best champions. He has an unbelievable win rate on it. And so, with the confidence, and as you said, with the pool being narrowed down, Knight is saying, this is a champion that I want to play. Makes complete sense for him. So now with the Vi and Gnar being taken away on the side of T1, what's the pairing going to be? Oh, they're pairing up Skarner. A little bit surprising. Typically, you'd expect something like a Jarvan or a Viego, something with a little bit more damage and setup, because if an Ahri Charm connects, you want to make sure that you have good follow-up. But it looks like the Sylas... Oh, Faker's Sylas!
Also, Sylas with a Skarner on the other side of it is not something I've seen yet, and I'm really curious to see how impactful that can be. But Sylas, a champion who's just really come back to the meta. He's been changed repeatedly. People have talked about him in solo queue for a very long time, but only at this tournament has he really come back to the forefront of professional play. Taking away the Ahri ult, obviously very solid. The tankiness you get from a Jax ult as well is something to consider. And it's going to really affect BLG's considerations as we go into the second ban phase in terms of what they feel comfortable grabbing. Because let me tell you, Alistar is no longer an option.
It's a really fun skill matchup too, because the Charm determines everything, right? Yeah. Charm can use to interrupt some of the dashes of the Sylas trying to get to you. On top of that, like if the Charm is ever gone, Sylas just always wins a trade, just because of the additional healing they'll get on his W. So, super interesting. Right now, I would say that he doesn't have the best ultimates to steal.
Yeah.
And like BLG's like, maybe we don't play Alistar. But we'll see how the rest of the draft pans out, as the Kai'Sa and the Ziggs going to be removed from the bot side of BLG. The Renata going to be taken away from Keria, and the Ashe to follow.
Will be interesting to see, of course, if we do see an early swap here.
That's what I was thinking.
With Kalista putting a little bit of pressure on BLG, certainly. Obviously, Kalista highly mobile. A little bit tough for a lot of these champions to lock down, tough for something like a Jax or a Skarner to stick to that pick. They can't burst her out immediately.
Okay. I was wondering, what do they even go here? I thought maybe Ezreal.
Jin, an interesting choice, of course, to follow up on the Ahri charms. It's easy to land that long-range CC.
This is good. I like the Poppy a lot, especially when you think about the dash from Vi, the Sylas mobility, and then just Kalista. Poppy's just great into Kalista in general. I don't know how I feel about the Jhin just because of the dive, but I guess BLG is saying Poppy should provide a lot of peel, enough for the Jhin to be able to play pretty comfortably.
So far in the tournament, LPL teams have an abnormally high priority on Jhin. It seems to be a pick that they're super comfortable with. They are good at leveraging that long range, and of course, when you have a Jax, when you have an Ahri who are willing to dive in, the Jhin follow-up is something very powerful. Keria, please. I would, please. You
Don't
won't?
get baited by pigs.
No,
You know the
yeah,
rules.
I know. I'm saying please. I'm not saying it's real. I'm saying please, sir. One time.
Begging you. Please just lock and pike.
Thank you, Betty. All right, well, this would be a mix-up. This is a classic combo, brainstormed, theory-crafted, scrimmed for years. Hasn't seen the international stage as much, but it is obviously the combination of the Kalista and the Neeko, very, very powerful. Neeko can go in, get right back out. So much setup CC, so much chain CC, and kind of a return to some of what made Keria so successful in our previous year, which was a lot of these really aggressive counter-pick supports.
What I like about this, the comps, is that there's just a lot of comfort across the board. You've got Bin on Jax. Like, obviously he's known well for his Camille, but his Jax, like, is just as terrifying on the top side. And that's paired along Knight's Ahri, one of his all-time greatest champions, an unbelievable win rate on it. I think this year alone, he's only lost, like, one game.
Career long, I got 58 games, courtesy of our friends at Games of Legends, 86.2% win rate. I'm not going to do the quick math there, but it's very much in favor of the win column.
And in contrast, Zeus, one of his best champions throughout his career, has been his Gnar. And then you contrast that, like, it's hard to say for Faker specifically because he's played for so long.
Yeah.
He has so many champions. But I always think back to that 2019
When
Faker,
he stole the Gnar.
Yeah, and like,
destroyed
also
an entire region in a moment.
Jensen 1v1 matchup he had, like, he's just, yeah, he's a good Sylas player, and it's going to be a fun one. These solo lane matchups are going to be exciting. I'm hopeful we'll get standard lanes, but I'm not going to promise anything as we jump in for our best of one matchup between BLG and T1.
Neither team will be eliminated, but obviously both teams hungry for that 2-1 bracket, looking to get out of Swiss as quick as possible. Don't want to risk a single thing. Remember, it was last year, T1 beat BLG to make it out, to qualify for top 8 in the bracket stage of Worlds. So Keria sneaking his way in, pretending to be owner. A bit of mind games here. And the second game we've seen T1 really go for one of these compositions that's very heavily focused around some of these team fighting ultimates, right? We saw a similar thing when Faker was playing Neeko mid in their first matchup. Ultimately didn't quite work out. The Aurora disrupted it, but there's no Aurora this time. Should be able to find a few more effective engages.
We're seeing the Grasp Ahri again, by the way. Like, we've just been seeing...
Flash out from Keria. Do they know it's Keria? Otherwise, they might not have tracked the flash. If they do, his lane phase is going to get a little bit tougher against this Poppy.
So the problem with Knight starting E is you do concede a lot of control in the mid lane.
Yeah.
W gives you just a lot of trading power just because it's a short cooldown, easy to last hit, helps you control the wave. E, long cooldown, single target, doesn't offer a lot. Now, we talked about the possibility of a lane swap, but it looks like BLG is going to be the ones to initiate it. And T1 naturally ready as the split map has begun.
Makes a lot of sense in the context of T1's bot lane. Obviously, you really do not want to be against Kalista Neeko for the first few levels. That's a picture of Faker. You throw that up on your phone, we're putting it up every time. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a theme to how we promote Worlds, and it always involves cut the music, Faker. Doesn't matter what he's doing. He can play piano, he can sit on a throne, he could take your order at a fast food restaurant. We would all love it. It's what keeps us going. And I think it's a big part of the reason why we're always giving T1 the benefit of the doubt here. Of course, in the 2v2 lane swap, though, LCK team's a little bit more experienced, popularized in that league initially as Knight doing a pretty good job, getting a lot of grass procs. Of course, you highlighted it takes away from some of that burst damage, but does offer a bit of sustain, a bit of additional damage, and does give you that permanent health stacking, 4 per proc.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense to me. Well, it doesn't really. It's more.
That's an Ahri enthusiast. You hate it because you want to do damage.
Yeah. It's understandable in the context of melee matchups, right? Because it's very easy to generate the grass procs. You can just keep hitting your opponent, gives you a bit of extra sustain. that part makes sense. It's just that in the mid game, I feel like you lose a lot of damage.
Kind of like when you can proc electrocute on somebody.
Yeah. Now, this is the part of the lane swap that we all know and love, because this is the skill part of the matchup.
Can you pull off the dive? Bin, level 2. Level 3 now is great. Counter-Strike crucial to survive the dive. On here as well, I think the second you see the Poppy, if you don't know what abilities have been taken, you have to assume Steadfast Presence is there, and it really stops any potential of the dive.
Notice how respectful Bin is being as well. But definitely the winner of this situation. Zeus will be able to catch this last part of the wave, but Bin having access to a nice stacked wave on the bot side is going to be more than happy to pick this one up. Overall though, nothing too crazy happening either side. The initiation of the swap is now concluded, as both laners will now look to return to their respective lanes.
Of course, pretty calm, all things considered. We talked about it in the previous game, but once the initial dives kind of fade away, might see the reset to standard lanes now that the first few levels have been kind of survived, now that both bot lanes have been able to get a little bit more experience. But remember, in the context of this year, BLG have certainly had T1's number. Last year, T1, well, they had all of the LPL locked down, but this year at MSI, of course, we saw across 2 best of 5s, BLG were able to come out in both of them, knocking T1 down to the losers bracket, meeting them there, beating them again to face Gen G in the finals. So history right now, at least, favoring BLG as we head into this best of 1.
It was at Worlds last year where they met in the qualification stage. It would have been in the 2-1 bracket, if I remember correctly, where T1 actually got a 2-0 to the surprise of many. And were able to qualify there for the quarterfinals, where they then, in fact, made their miracle run all the way through to the finals. And coming into this one, again, understandable that BLG are expected to be the heavy favorites. They're a team that, ever since Wei has joined the roster in summer, they've become very complete, very well-rounded. Their ability to generate early game leads is off the back of they'll leverage their prio, and then Wei is hovering. And just as I say it, the observers highlight it for us. They're pushing mid, pushing bot, and they're working now together. Wei sets his sights on the bot side of the map, doesn't want to get spotted out by that little phantom. And they're all just kind of coordinating, providing that safety. He can look for a bit of a gank hit, and here it comes.
Wei coming in. On can go in as well and try to interrupt some of the escape tools, but they're just hitting the clone. Keria able to shapeshifter out to safety. Crucial to get away from that gank, but well highlighted, Betty. Good use of the line pressure from BLG to Fish, and you can see, meanwhile, T1 not really able to make a play of their own anywhere else.
So this is exactly what has made BLG so effective in their early games. And sometimes we've seen some of their inconsistencies in the early games at times, one of the things that they were criticized for early on in summer. But Wei has just kind of allowed that, to kind of allow these very talented laners to thrive in the way in which he enables them. And he doesn't tend to showcase a preference. We've seen him play through top lane as well.
Ooh, nice route. On getting chunked out here in the 2v2. You know
Flashing.
T1 are stronger, forcing the flash out from Elk 2. Incredibly clutch from the T1 bottom lane to just instantly leverage their 2v2 advantage.
And this is the thing, we can't talk about individual talent without talking about the T1 members. This bot lane are typically very aggressive, and they find a successful 2 versus 2 to get that summoner spell out from Elk.
And this is why the lane swap probably came out. You want to avoid this 2v2 at all costs. They thought the first 3 levels, if they just got level 3 without needing to fight, it might be a bit easier, and it certainly is, but still very much favoring T1 as they're still grabbing these plates. You've also got pressure on the top side from Zeus as he just continues to push these waves in against Bin. Owner grabbing the grubs in the meantime, will only be able to grab 2, but T1 across the board getting a lot.
They do have a 1k gold lead now, just off the back of the lanes kind of returning to normal. Really objective advantage in favor of T1, just as you highlighted. Now, BLG set their sights on Faker.
Very nice initial movement. Obviously, Charm does connect. Faker not going to try to extend the trade at all. Uncertain where On is. Good presence of mind, good awareness. If he commits anything there, very likely will have to burn Flash to escape. In the end, though, some gold has been picked up, so gold lead leveraging to about 600, really balancing out. Grubs will feel good on the next spawn, though. T1, they can get 2. We'll be able to grab the 4 grub buff with pressure Zeus is putting down right now. Will make it that much easier for him to take some of these early plates.
Keep my eyes on the minimap just to see what potential options Wei once again sets his sights on the bot side of the map. Nice bit of trading there from Knight to put pressure down to Faker, but he's sitting pretty with his farm. I like how Wei consistently plays around the fact that, like, oh, his bot lane has push, he's there to leverage. Maybe they can go for an objective, maybe they can set up for a dive or a kill. He's going to start off the Drake, but I think T1 want to contest this. They're going to be able to clear out this bot wave pretty quickly. Level 6 has come through from Gumayusi.
Oner on the way down. On with a knockback into the wall, but there's no immediate fall. They just now spot Oner. Knight is going to get the first move, however. This could be disastrous. Perfect CC layering. Oner can't even push the ult. He barely manages to get it all the time. Faker has stolen away the ultimate. What else can he get with the dashes? Can he chase down Knight? One more now coming through. Has stolen the ult, now using it. Wants to chase, Wade ready to go over the wall. T1 zoning him off. Faker goes in again anyway. Flash away from the charm. It's perfect. The pop on the Q2 coming through. Faker gets another dash. Should be fine to escape. Bin coming in. He should go down. Knight gets the kill in return.
Faker doesn't quite have the mana or the damage to be able to get another, but it ends up being a 2-for-2. Knight with the quicker collapse, but T1 with their bot lane having more damage to be able to convert the kill. The Dragon stays alive, and as Oner makes his way back out onto the map, he's already pinging the objective.
And great CC, frankly, from the side of BLG to recognize they had the opportunity to kill Oner. Could have been a massive threat in the fight, and certainly could have made Knight vulnerable. They weren't able to spot him out first. Messy back and forth, T1 still ahead in gold. Now T1 first on the objective. They're spotted. BLG, a lot of pressure mid, currently denying some creeps away from Faker, so there is a gold price that T1 are paying to take this objective. Have to respect on the flank, but BLG clearly willing to give it up, and well played to T1, coming ahead in objectives across the board.
While all that was happening, we'll get to that in a second, but notice here, it's Oner that's isolated because Knight gets the rotation first, connects the charm, they have the damage, Oner does what he can to get what damage down he can, but then the fight becomes split, as Wei has to flash away to avoid the CC from T1's bot lane. Oner's just kind of awkward in this position, left isolated as the Jhin ultimate doesn't really offer much, while Faker finds himself in a 2 versus 1, gets that initial pick, gets the reset on the Ahri ult as well, allowing him to create some space, and then here he thinks, oh, maybe I have the damage if I can get the passive off, but the 4th shot from Elk is enough to shut Faker down. A very close affair. And the thing I wanted to highlight before we went into the replay was Bin actually moved from top into mid to push that wave underneath the tower because Zeus had set up a bit of a mini freeze. Then though, as the freeze was unbroken, Zeus was forced to push out that wave top and Bin could catch all of it. So you look at that CS discrepancy that had developed in the top lane, but Bin actually fixed it by being able to get this big wave in mid, move up to top, then catch that wave as well, and ultimately kind of equalizing what was a bit of a deficit at the start.
Important to put him in that beneficial position. Wei gets a little aggressive on the top side. But obviously in that previous fight, just a reminder why our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz is the mid lane. Faker and Knight both in a position to make so many plays for their teams. They're legends in any draft, but in the context of this draft, 2 huge catalysts to find kills, to set up plays on the map. And right now, BLG using Knight, they gain a bit of control around the grubs. However, top wave needs answering. They don't quite know where Zeus is, so they don't feel confident to initially force the objective as T1 showing up in force, ready to fight for this.
Ideally, Zeus wants to catch this bot wave before he's in a position to TP. Bin is already making the rotation up though, so it's BLG that have Purges on the objective. Bin is collapsing very quickly. I'm expecting a big fight.
Bin first move is big. Zeus does have TP and he has Mininar stacked. Are they willing to commit Zeus's TP?
Looks like they don't want to. Instead, they'll just say, you know what, we'll concede the grubs. We'll give Zeus first access onto the tower. Bin was able to catch that wave in mid lane, but ultimately just a lot of time spent wandering around the map. But ultimately, it did pay off for BLG. But Zeus getting some good work done on this bot tower.
Definitely. Unlikely he'll be able to grab that last plate, at least on this wave, as Faker and Oner trying to defend on. Well placed, well positioned. Ulti from Skarner is about to be traded here. It looks like his T1 are being caught out by the curtain call. Lockup coming in from Oner, but he might just have to give his life. Flashing out to safety. Where's the last bullet going to go? One more shot from Elk. Will not finish the job. Quick kill pickup underway from T1 on the top side.
In the 3v3, it's T1 that come out ahead once more on not level 6, meaning he can't remove one of those T1 members from the equation. BLG don't have the damage. And it means the T1 find themselves another kill. Elk with the push, has the 4th shot, looking to get that tower plate, will secure it. As resets start to come through. Meanwhile, Gumayusi, sitting in mid, takes the mid wave, actually rotates now down towards bots to try and help secure that tower. They're gonna secure it. Nice map movements there coming out from the T180 carry. It's Elk spending a lot of time to push in this wave. Yeah, resetting makes a lot of sense.
And a bit frustrating, right? Because you just get that 4-grub buff. You would love to be able to get some pressure down on top side. But Faker and the rest of T1 in the area means the play kind of fizzles. Elk doesn't have any mana or any biscuits, so this is a little bit
This is crucial because notice Zeus, the reason why this is crucial is Faker still has TP available to him, but notice Zeus already back out onto the map. He's been able to go back to base, spend that money. He can now go top, catch that wave. Gumayusi continues to push in mid. He can now reset, get his itemization, and now Jin's recall is delayed. So the rest of BLG are already back out on the map, while Elk needs to commit that reset.
And this means they're in a position to contest Vision, to get pressure top, to get pressure mid, and start to set up for that Herald. They do not want to give this away when BLG have hit that 4-grub threshold. But on hovering, maybe hoping to catch Zeus out if he overcommits here. Malignus completed for Knight. Will make the ult more accessible, but not necessarily the biggest damage spike.
A lot of members hovering around the top side for BLG. Way there to cover once more.
Fakerbot has the TP. Not sure how he fares in the 1v1 matchup, but with a completed item, he should be all right. Way looking to make the dive happen. Owner here as well. Bounce in from Zeus, trying to get away from the Skarner, knowing that CC is lethal. And Pale is there, but the knockback is close. They push him away, but Zeus is still holding on. It's a 3v1, and Zeus is happy to take it. The power of Mega Gnar keeping him standing. Beautiful from T1, and now here comes Keria. It looks like Faker. They're uncertain the charm going to hit. Now they realize it's an eco.
I love your response there, because I'm like, Faker's coming, Faker's coming. Like, it's not Faker, it's Keria.
I'll be honest. Design team, I have one request. Please, for us, make it the correct picture. Because if that was Faker, people start dying, for sure. Keria does not have the engage range.
Oh, okay. So ultimately, nothing comes off the back of that. BLG, they tried to set up a dive onto Zeus. I love the idea with Knight there right behind them. I felt like that they would have enough damage, but the arrival of Owner really kind of ruined the play setup, bought enough time for Zeus to get the Mega Gnar, and then he was able to make a mega play to buy enough time to force BLG to then disengage.
And when you burn those resources, you don't have enough left to take the fight. As Faker gets aggressive on the bottom side, not sure if they have enough here to make this happen. Poppy ult stolen away. T1, this is bold. They already got one objective. They want to go for two. They forced the flash out from On. T1 pulling incredibly far ahead. That beautiful play on the top side has won them so much. Bin is just now getting that wave into top side, and Zeus here for the play and right back to top to defend. Now Faker TPing as well. They're nervous. They don't want to risk the dive. I think maybe a bit over-eager from the side of T1. But still, they get the Drake, they get the Herald, they get the kills on top side, or the play on top side. Beautiful stuff.
So T1 walk away with the second dragon of the game. The bot wave left completely unattended, because once the TP had come through top, Faker, wanting to be a homie for his top laner, matched the TP and was ready to fight, ready to skirmish, had that Poppy ultimate stolen away to turn it into a 2 versus 1. Now though, because those TPs were invested from the mid laners, they've said, well, we've got to catch this wave now. So both of them stay in the top side of the map. Knight does have a bit of an experience lead, I think largely because Faker has been moving a lot around the map. As Zeus now makes his way towards bot lane. Bin with the TP advantage for now, but there's not really an objective for them, for BLG I should say, to find any real advantage with.
Nope, 4 minutes on both the Baron and the Cloud Drake. T1 obviously 2 Drakes thus far. BLG really not able to leverage the grub buff they secured earlier on. Won't matter too much, Knight taking over to level 11, but Faker not too far behind. First items completed. Just about across the board. I imagine Bin has it once he does get the opportunity to recall, but he has been out on the map for quite some time. So while T1 do have a meaningful gold lead and 2 Drakes, it's nothing insurmountable as Faker about to be caught out here. Pale going in, well-timed, well-positioned. Charm follow-up is there. Did you not want to give him the chance to steal away Knight's ultimate? Not sure about the individual cooldown. Taking his time on this one. Does he have the hijack? The answer is no. Faker going down. Taken out of the equation there. Great pick from BLG.
Nicely done by Knight and Way. They were waiting for that flash to come through from Faker. Only then did Knight actually commit the ultimate. They were cautious of the fact that Faker could heal at any point, but he's got to get in range, and it was that they played around very well.
On knockback, using the clone to try to walk away here. Wait a bit more time. Aftershock already propped. That's one squishy Poppy now. Guma there quick to pick up the kill, but it's Elk who's in trouble. Zeus coming from behind as well. Elk's got nowhere to go. One more bullet, not enough to get the kill. But Bin and Way are here as backup, and it might just be curtains for T1. Guma, the heal coming in. Keria trying to body block as best he can, but Bin already grabbing another kill. Keria now needs to get the hell out. Quick flash. Force shot will not connect. BLG, excellent counterpunch in mid.
My goodness, BLG are locked in right now. The response from Bin leveraging his TP advantage to be able to find that flank and come in from behind. T1 do find that initial pick, but they get the response kill onto Gumayusi. The kills are equalized, but in terms of gold, T1 still find themselves with a lead.
And there's a reason the Bin Jax is scary. Yeah, he was put down early on. They might have had to sacrifice an objective to get him to an even state in this game, but this is a terrifying pick in his hands. We take a look back at this play, you can see the impact that he has.
So again, this play starts with, remember, the top lane already died. We turn our attention onto On, who then gets collapsed. Level 6 doesn't get a chance to use his ultimate, gets chain CC'd, the ultimate comes through from Carrier, and then they turn their attention onto Elk. It's at this point where they've overcommitted, but they don't realize that the TP has already come through. They're trying to set up this tower dive, but Carrier is very low HP. Gumayusi has to ult him, and then Guma has to flash because he knows that the counter-strike is there from Bin, meaning that he now has nowhere left to go. Nice collapse coming through from BLG to equalize the kill score.
In a difficult situation, I like the patience from T1 initially, waiting out the Aftershock, waiting out the Celestial opposition to make sure they can burst down On, but overcommitting a bit in terms of resources, and BLG starting to tie up the gold lead. Again, in League of Legends, gold can be a bit misleading. It's more about the item completions, but you can see Faker still not a second item completed. Similar story for Guma. So in the coming fights, pretty even footing. Flashes, however, on the side of T1, down across the board really on key members other than Zeus, and Knight in a position where he can really take over a fight given that he has access to that flash. Faker maybe going to try and burn it now. He does steal the Ahri ultimate. Won't be able to get anything so far.
Just a bit of trading. Clears out the wave, gets level 12. He is about a half a level behind Knight, just because of that kill that Knight was able to find on the top side. Dragon spawning in 40 seconds. Faker wants to get his reset off. Knight should be able to push one more wave, and then he can either choose to base, maybe complete the Liandry's, or make his way down. That's actually forcing Faker to stick around as Zeus finally catches that bot wave. Bin back out onto the map. Actually already grabbed himself the arm guard. Something that maybe T1 won't be expecting in the fight.
Recall now from Knight. Probably second item completion. Faker in a similar boat, both mid laners with TP. They do want to fight for this objective. You can see Elk and Guma showing on mid-wave. They want to try and get this one shoved in so they can have advantage on the objective.
Knight wants one more wave. That might be enough to get in the Liandry's, but how much time is it going to cost them? He secures it. Faker's going to match for the time being.
Field used. TP bot lane. Going to be matched here. Zeus getting lower and lower. Desperate to get the Mega. Faker gives him a bit more time to stack it up, but it might not be enough in the face of Knight. Flash is available. Can Charm Flash quite easily. Playing this one out a little bit slower. Jack's ulti stolen for a bit of extra resources, a bit extra resistances. Elk waiting off to the side. Curtain Call can come. Recall now from Zeus. T1 bullying, giving space for their top laner to recall and reset for the fight. He might need to use TP, but he'll be ready to go. Rage already stacked. Faker off, isolated.
The problem is, Knight does get the Liandry's, but think about how much time he spent getting it. Because he stayed for that extra wave on top, he wasn't able to get the reset off, he wasn't able to replenish his HP or his mana, so once he then commits the TP bot lane to match the play from Faker, who had just gone back to base, he's now forced to reset, allowing T1 to guarantee themselves numbers advantage, especially given that Zeus was just allowed to back and had the TP available. They wisely concede the Dragon. But I guess you could argue that, like, a bit of a misplay there from Knight. You understand the logic. I only need one more wave for my item. If I get this item, I'm going to be really strong. We just have to stall. But then that play happens on the bot side of the map, and then it's just this cascading series of events, allowing T1 to put themselves on soul point.
It's a difficult position to be in. Every choice comes with a cost, and ultimately that one is going to cost them the Drake, right? Because Faker's TP does double value. It ensures they have bot lane prio. It ensures that they get the Drake. And now T1 are in soul point position. Knight has that second item. Ulti about to come off cooldown, still has the flash, but there's not a lot to fight for right now. Neither side going to be quick to start this Baron.
This top tower doing wonders for Knight right now. He's having so much freedom to just keep pushing out this wave. Faker's hesitant to push up, especially now that that fog of war has been created on the top side of the map. BLG doing a good job of keeping this vision pressure up. The top side of the river fully in their control. Faker now going to match the wave, and T1 have to respond to that pressure. They concede it. This mid tower is getting very low. 4 members strong in the mid lane. They should be able to secure this.
T1 holding on as best they can. Okay wave clear, but really just not enough to stop the pressure coming in here from the side of BLG. The threat of Faker on side, though. Does mean BLG will back off, likely to need one more wave. Bin feeling more confident in the 1v1. Zeus has flash, likely to be forced here. Flash out from Zeus. How long in the leap strike should you be able to finish the job? Goes golden! A freeze frame, baby, as he dunks the top laner of T1. Clean solo coming in for Bin.
A crucial solo kill as BLG secured the mid lane tower as well. I mean, Bin, you already saw how well he was doing in the 1v1 matchup, but the Jack's reaching a point where the Gnar just can't deal with him anymore, and he's going to continue to be a threat in the side lane.
And you got to respect the aggressive use of Seekers. So often just that defensive tool for team fights. Uses it to get to solo. Will get him that much closer if he does want to finish the Hourglass, to have repeated access to that stasis. So much of this game feels like it's going to come down to the team fight, so any edge you can find on a side lane, man advantage, kills, gold to get those item completions through is going to matter.
The problem for T1 now is they can't cross-map. Bin is able to secure this bot tower completely uncontested, and notice as T1 is shifting their control to the top side of the map, BLG is there to match. They don't need to cross-map or anything. They can actually just sit there and say, T1, try and take this tower in front of us. I dare you to, because if you do, Bin is just going to continue to push in bot. Obviously, he needs to get his reset off, does have gold to spend, but BLG now with a much firmer foot in this game. They've finally been able to equalize the gold.
We're going to need to see how well T1 can set up for objectives and find fights. Bin completing the hourglass is big. Again, another access to stasis. We saw in the previous game, Aurora disrupted what T1 could do. It stopped them from leveraging so many of their team fighting strengths. There's no Aurora this time around, but with BLG getting stronger and stronger, if they absorb that initial blow, you saw in mid lane, if Elk is left standing, very easy for this lineup to start cleaning up on the counter engage.
I mean, if nothing else, I think it's fair to say that T1 definitely showcasing a stronger performance so far at Worlds than compared to what we saw them in the regional gauntlet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely much more of a return to form, but BLG are locked in after the upset against LNG. You can see their adaptations that they've made, making sure that they have comfort of their own, and they're finding success with it right now. Wei has found an angle.
Zeus in trouble once again. Faker can TP to try and save him, but it doesn't seem like the right call. Zeus sleeping out. Knockback for the Impale is so crucial. Now forcing the TP, immediately forcing the response, but the man advantage will be decided BLG. Wall up there to initially break the fight. Impale to try to dissuade a little bit more, but now it's going to be Faker in trouble. Zeus getting lower. Bin finding the initial kill. Goes golden once again, buys a brief moment. Curtain call now coming out in the extended fight. It's BLG taking control. Carrier ready to disengage if they need it. Knight finding the angle. BLG with a beautiful play.
BLG set their sights on the Baron. A massive pickup onto both solo laners as BLG is quicker to collapse. They keep their pressure on the mid wave. The TP comes through from Bin. They set their sights on the Baron.
Pressure on Owner. Hell, pressure on Guma. He steals enough. Will they be able to stop this play? Carrier cannot overstep. They don't have the damage to win a fight. The most they can hope for is a steal, but it's so difficult with On. It's so difficult with the pick tools that BLG can bring to bear. 8K getting lower. T1 are here, maybe just hoping for exit kills. Respawn from Zeus, he does have the TP, he will use it. 5K getting lower. Off on the side is the Poppy. On. Ulti, 15-second cooldown. Looking to lock up Elk. Where's the follow-up going to go? Carrier trying to dissuade. Guma knocked back to the wall. The flash forward. Going to try to finish on the first AD carry. Now he's on the hunt for Knight. Guma! Popping off in the clutch moment, but Bin ready to turn it right back. That's the ultimate. Counter-strike is there, but it's Bin versus all of T1, baby, and that is not enough.
In the 4 versus 5, T1 are able to turn the fight around. Incredible target selection from Owner to set up for the team to shut down the bot lane. Wei has an angle to steal.
Clone will spot him. 5K, is he willing to give his life? It'll put them behind on the Soul. He can't afford to die here. Zeus now chasing. Baron gonna fall, Carrier getting lower. Oh, T1 securing the first Baron of the game, cementing the lead. Soul point as well. If BLG cannot take this Drake, they're going to be in dire straits.
But look at the target selection. You can see how T1 is kind of funneled into the blue buff area of BLG's jungle, but that then gives them avenue onto Knight and Elk. Knight doesn't have the ultimate available. Guma smartly flashes in to lock them down alongside Owner. And then with the backline gone, it's really all up to Bin to be able to clean up the fight. He does what he can, but at this point, they're at a numbers disadvantage. And while he does take down Guma, Zeus is able to find a double. And this was all while Faker wasn't even there. Excellent team fight from T1, gets them the Baron, and just like that, they flip the game once more.
And you see frustration on the face of Elk, right? When you're Jhin in that situation, it's so hard to do anything. You need space to work. You need space in the team fights. T1 now setting up for Soul Point. BLG happy to keep them here. The longer they keep T1 interested, even if they don't start the objective, the more of the Baron buff they are burning. But it looks like it might just be the flip.
Remember, you've
Carry
got the Kalista as well.
Knockback from On will be big, trying to zone out. Gets the jungler out of the picture, they instantly get the objective, can they take the fight? Faker now locked up, he's not even gonna have the chance to use the Poppy ult that he so graciously stole. Finally, we'll get it back, trying to burn it through, at least On, carry off on the side. A massive ulti, but now Elk is ready to open up, the curtain's called. 1 shot, 2. Health bar's too high for him to do anything yet. They have to retreat, they have to get out. The lockup on the carry is good. They're trying to take down Guma. Guma locked up for a brief moment, but Zeus is there to body block Elk. Just fast enough to get away, but there's too much. See, now it is Knight. Can he make the difference? Last dash used, Wei likely to fall here. here. The chase down from Oner and Zeus. Top and jungle together, salvaging the fight. Flash forward from Zeus. They're not done. They want more. On trying to body block. Knight with the red buff. How many cooldowns has he got left? Oner locked up. On running, splitting their attention, but he will fall.
The soul is denied from T1, but it's a massive teamfight win once more. These teamfights are absolutely crazy. They're an absolute nail-biter. As we turn our attention once more on with a huge ulti on to the jungle top combo. Faker then goes in. The chain CC is ruthless, but even then he gets the Poppy ultimate. He knocks him up, he gets on incredibly low, and BLG are turning their attention onto him. But on the cross map, on the other side of the fight, I should say, Bin gets locked down. He, just like Faker, doesn't really get an opportunity to impact the fight that much. Carrier gets incredibly low. Guma gets CC'd, which means that Carrier then drops. Knight sees an angle to shut down Gumayusi. But then again, it's that top jungle combo to clean up the fight. They're not focused down. Their consistent damage is enough. I think Wei even messed up going through the wall at the very end there.
And frustrating, such a close fight overall. Almost enough damage to kill Faker before he could get that Poppy ult, that extra burst. And you can see Knight, he's so damn powerful in those extended plays. But eventually he just runs out of resources. You only have so many dashes if you're not going to be able to find the kill.
I mean, he needs his dive buddy of Bin there with him, and Bin was just shut out. He tried to make the TP flank happen, but Zeus would not give him the space. Wow, crazy game. I really think a lot of credit needs to be given to Oner this game. His target selection has been on point in these fights. 2-1-8 scoreline. He's been involved in 10 of the team's 12 kills.
And you can see how close all of these fights are. I feel like if BLG just had a little bit more upfront burst damage, Wei playing team fights well, locking up Guma for moments, consistently forcing his cleanse out early. They have so much CC, but again, the damage not quite enough. So much sustain coming in from the Kalista, now armor as well.
Oner on track to securing the GA. Oh, he actually just got it.
GA, Faker's now got Cosmic. It's going to be impossible to get away from him.
But it's really important to understand the T1 is the LCK 4th seed, and they're that for a reason, right? For them to get a win here, even though it's just a best of one, in the context of the World Championship, when BLG are considered tournament favorites alongside that of Gen G and HLE, for them to get a win here would be massive in terms of upsets.
I mean, to be in the 1-2 bracket for either of these organizations, whether it's current expectations or all-time expectations, it would have been unthinkable coming into this tournament 100%. Short of a truly disastrous draw for T1, which has not been the case.
And I think so many T1 fans are happy to see this team reignited, playing at the 100%. Level that they're expected to play at. Obviously, as an organization and for these players, World Championship is where you often see them turn on. But normally it's that man in the mid lane who is struggling to have impact in this game as Knight continues to flourish on his Ahri, but the rest of his team is stepping up to help provide him the space to still be a threat in these fights.
Definitely. And again, really, across the board, T1 doing great in these fights. Credit to Zeus as well, who died in the solo bot play, has been found at solo kill, but has now rebuilt that gold lead in a decent position.
Now BLG not out of this game just
at
yet.
All, no.
Bin now completed his 3rd major item, going to have a lot more damage off the back of that Wit's End. He's going to be that much more of a threat on the side lane, but really I feel like this game is going to come down to the team fights. Baron spawning in 45 seconds, the Dragon in about a minute, 3 items fully completed for Knight. The Death Cap as well is so much damage for this Ahri. Knight's target focus is going to be crucial. A single charm onto Gumayusi could be the game changer that BLG need.
Luckily for him, he has the cleanse. But it might not be enough, given the sheer amount of CC, the potential follow-up from Elk. We saw the bot side play where BLG were able to set up fine picks, leverage the range advantage they can have with the Ahri dash-in and charms, with the Jhin curtain call. But in the straight 5v5s, it's been T1 coming out on top. Maybe BLG can continue to find those picks. You highlighted it. Knight has to be the center of attention here with Death Cap completed. He needs to be doing the damage, he needs to be setting up the plays. It's a big burden to put on a single player in a game, but he has the tools to do so.
We take a second. Obviously both teams have just been farming for the last few minutes, but 5 seconds, the Dragon will be alive. It's Zeus that enters the river first, clearing out the control wards. Bot wave. Well, the mid wave is what's being contested right now. Oner quickly makes his way over on, maybe looking for a flank, but will be spotted out on the control ward. Has to be careful. I like what Bin's doing. Keep the pressure on bot lane. keep that push in, give you a nice angle to potentially create a flank. Faker now joins the squad.
Steadfast presence down. Initial route on the way is big. Impale not hitting anybody. Way forced to flash out. Knockback is good from On. Knockback into the wall as well, but Faker now getting involved in the fight. No, the Steadfast presence up just in time. Bit on the backside trying to finish off Owner, but I don't think he's strong enough. Can go Golden. GA, burn. But where's the rest of the damage? Where's the rest of the follow-up? It does not matter. T1 are just stronger in the 5v5.
BLG, it looked like that they were going to turn and fight. A great Poppy ultimate came through from On, but once Binner TP'd in, he was committed to the fight. He had to go in.
Knight goes in, but no, Owner secures it. Cloud Soul to T1. I set on the Baron as well.
I mean, there's no reason not to. T1 must feel so strong right now. Ahri's just used the ultimate. Owner on cooldown, but it's going to be up relatively soon. They still have Fakers and Zeus' ulti ready to go.
And Observer's beautifully highlighting. They're going in blind. They'll just now see the health bar. Faker off on the side, looking to lock up Elk, forcing the flash. Protobell flash forward from Keria. The lockup is there. Elk's got nowhere left to go. They don't quite catch Knight. Knight now versus the world, but there is Faker to finish the job alongside Zeus. T1 dominating in this mid to late game.
The turn was so fast. BLG didn't see it coming. Faker came from one flank to then force the flash out from Elk, but the moment it was gone, Keria struck. The team fighting from T1 coming online today as they're now looking to break the base.
T1 at Worlds just continue to impress. Team that seems to never disappoint. Once again, finding a way to topple the LPL champion. It's not done yet. BLG have an angle for a fight. On has ultimate in 10 seconds. Great Impale. Bin in the midst of 3, but is it going to be enough? He just cannot finish the kills. On now getting knocked back. The Nor is there, and T1 will not be denied. T1 1-2-1. On can knock them away, but he cannot knock them out of this game. T1 take down BLG.
An incredible game with some fantastic team fights. Today will not be the day that T1's record is blemished. One loss to their name, and they will not concede another. Incredible.
And that's just the best of one. All right, AD, we had a great time with it. Yeah. What do you have to say about that?
What I have to say is that I wish this was a series. I want to have more games of this.
I mean, we might if BLG can now make it through the lower bracket. They're a 1-2 team. T1 at Worlds is just a different, it's a different beast entirely. It's not the same as what's in the LCK.
Oh my God. Even just saying that one more time, just the fact that BLG are 1-2 and are fighting for their lives, no one would have expected this at all.
And we've talked about what had been going wrong for T1 in the first games that they had in BLG as well. And I feel like while T1 corrected their mistakes, especially in the early game, BLG keep on making the same mistakes.
Yeah, the early game from T1 was so good. Even if you're just looking at and focusing at in the swap, specifically Zeus.
Yeah.
2 plates top lane, shared 3 plates, but gets both plates, 2 plates solo bot lane, including first turret gold. He is rich as hell based off of the assignments they gave him. And there was one time where like Jax was roaming up for grubs early. He was like, free plates for me. Kalista also pushed mid just to help him out. So it's like, it was a team focus on getting gold on him.
And look at the acceleration once they did have the lead. Wow. There was that mild moment before there was a really crucial Baron fight that they clutched up. But Zeus's Gnar for me, as well as Guma's Kalista, were such standouts in this game.
Well, let's check out Guma's Kalista actually in the HyperX Reflex replay that we have, because Raz, it came down to really, really small timing, turning the whole fight.
Yeah, because BLG is the team that made the winning fight bot side, cross-mapped it to Baron, and T1 without Sylas, without Faker, says that they can take the fight. And so they, specifically Owner, ultied in to try and get Elk, and just track Gumayusi here. Because Poppy stuns him, but he cleanse flashes instantly to follow up and get the kill on both Jhin and Knight. So like, for him to be able to immediately follow up and get those kills, one man down on a winning play from BLG, crazy to see.
Incredible. And we actually have Gumayusi on stage for the Verizon post-game interview with Shock, so let's hear what he has to say.
T1 gets another win, and I've got Gumayusi here with me together with Jisun to talk about it. And I've got to ask Gumayusi, last year, the journey of T1 at Worlds was all about beating the LPL, and now you already took down their first seed. Will we see a similar story this year?
승리 정말 축하드립니다. 작년 T1 월드 서사를 보면 LPL 팀을 모두 잡고 우승하셨잖아요. 그리고 오늘 또다시 한번 LPL 1번 시드를 잡으셨습니다. 작년과 비슷한 스토리 기대해봐도 될까요?
저희 지금 경기력이 꽤 괜찮다고 생각하고 다시 한번 최고가 될 준비가 되어 있는 것 같습니다.
I feel like our performance is pretty good. We are ready to become the best of the world one more time.
Now, when it came to your run also last year, a lot was about dictating the meta, especially from the bot lane. Do you feel like you have the same possibilities now, and are you ready to surprise some people?
또 작년 우승할 때를 돌아보면 T1은 정말 메타를 개척해 나갔고 지배해 나갔고 특히나 바텀 메타를 언제나 좀 창의적으로 지배해 나갔습니다. 올해도 이런 가능성이 있다고 보시는지 올해 또 깜짝 놀랄 만한 그런 전략들 준비되었을까요?
올해도 약간 바텀이 좀 가능성이 무궁무진한 메타인 것 같아서 저희 바텀이 워낙 챔프 폭이 넓기 때문에 또 여러분들이 좋아할 만한 재밌는 카드들 많이 준비할 수 있을 것 같습니다.
This year's Worlds meta opens up so much space for the bot lane champion pool, and us, our bottom duo, has a champion ocean. So please stay tuned for our creativity.
We will. Now, when it comes to T1 as a whole, you are coming in as the 4th seed, and I know maybe this season wasn't exactly the way you would have imagined it. What are the things you feel as a team you should improve on top of the things you've already shown that you know very well, in order to make sure that you make it to the playoff round, the knockout round, sorry?
T1 사실은 이번 월즈는 4번 시드로 오기도 했고 서머 시즌 순탄하지는 않았습니다. 어느 점을 조금 더 개선해야 이번에도 노크아웃 스테이지까지 순탄하게 갈 수 있다고 보시나요?
일단은 썸머 끝나고 선발전 끝나고 저희끼리 좀 이야기하고 문제점 많이 개선해서 지금 월즈 Y는 상태는 좀 좋은 것 같고요. 그냥 집중력 잃지 않고 방심하지 않고 이대로 쭉 가면은 노크아웃 스테이지는 갈 수 있다고 생각합니다.
After the summer season, after the regionals, we had a lot of communications and we talked about our issues. So I think we're right now on a very good stage. So I'm pretty confident as long as we can keep our focus and go with our role, I think we'll be able to easily make it to the knockout stage for sure.
Okay, wonderful. Interview 감사합니다. Thank you so much, Kumayushi and Jisun. And that is T1 with another victory on the board.
Wants to chase, Way ready to go over the wall. T1 zoning him off. Faker goes in again anyway. Flash away from the charm. It's perfect to pop on the Q2 coming through. Been feeling more confident in the 1v1. Zayas has flash, likely to be forced here. Flash out from Zayas. How long in the leap strike should be able to finish the job? Goes golden. Curtain call now coming out in the extended fight. The Nor is there, and T1 will not be denied. T1 1-2-1 on can knock them away, but he cannot knock them out of this game. T1 take down BLG.
And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good, good, good. I just feel so good, good. I just feel so good.
Red Bull gives you wings.
crown them on gold. Run on air when I flow. You would swear that I flowed. I just hand in my zone. I'm going hard for my city, yeah. I put that thing on my back. Get it and gun it. I'm back on 100. I'm ready. I'm coming in for the attack. I'm on beast mode, God level, cheat code, new age, hero, good verse, Evo. I'm on the move. I'm on the move. I'm putting in work. I go berserk, got something to prove. Cause I got power. I got the energy for all of my enemies. I'm on the way, saving the day. Ain't no one ahead of me. I'm on the right here, right now. This is the moment we running it. This is the moment we running it. We doing this for the love of it. Give me your fire lives in my soul. It drives me to my goal. There's no distance I won't go. Cause the climb's all that I know. And I face it all on my own. So my name will be known. Yeah, my name will be known. Right here, right now. This is the moment we running it. This is the moment we running it. We doing this for the love of it. Give me your
Yukduk, it's great to see you again in EU, I have to say, and congratulations on how Worlds has been going so far. It was a bit of a mixed bag, I guess, but you're in the 1-1 pool, so you have a lot of matches ahead of you, possibly. And I want to ask, from your coach's perspective, what do you feel like are the things that went well and that didn't go as well in those 2 games?
Yeah, so against DK, we got a little too excited, I think, on stage, and I also think they're a bit of a tougher opponent to like draft against. They have more depth, so they picked Sylas later on as not something we're used to, and like Showmaker, he has like an X factor with Sylas in a good game. But I still thought we had like a pretty good situation early on, but we kind of just, I don't know, we kind of just dropped the ball. It was too much happening and we couldn't really keep up, so they were just better, yeah.
Okay, Bwipo was commenting that he thought in-game he didn't think the synergy was completely on point or the communication. Is that in line with what you think as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold for me. I think we made some mistakes. We could have helped each other more in the game and like communicated more clearly. So either way could have probably fixed our problems if we were a bit more aware or if we communicated a bit more together, yeah.
Okay, talk to me about this matchup versus PSG, which is, obviously a revenge matchup, one thing that you absolutely want to win for that side of things, but PSG really has been ramping up. They look different than they did in the play-ins. Can you talk to me about this matchup and how are you going to make sure that it goes different than the last time?
Yeah, so it's obviously a super important match for us because we got a kind of a good draw in the PSG, and if we want to make it out, we should really win this game. From where we stand, like they're pretty good. They're a pretty standard team, and yeah, we obviously lost to them at MSI, but we're also a lot stronger now. So Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a little bit nervous about match. This is like super important game, and you know we have some like strategies we're gonna use, and yeah, just hoping it's gonna work. So yeah.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Nukeduck has a plan. Great also to hear him back in Europe.
True.
And I love that he says that it's a good draw versus PSG because looking at the graphic that we have just here.
It's a tight one.
The West has something to settle against PSG.
He may say 7-7, but like even if you're saying round 1, this is the round that kicked us out. So like, this one's a little bit sadder.
Yeah.
And then of course this one's more recent, so this one burns more. We can probably cover for this one.
True, and they knocked Mad down in the bracket. But to me, like, there's one clear memory that needs to be different for FlyQuest in this PSG game, and it happened a little bit yesterday as well against a different team. I want to pull this up right now, and it's when Bwipo and Inspired get a little too carried away trying to make their own play. So this was an MSI memory. This was the second game as they're getting eliminated. Bwipo and Inspired on Renekton Viego just lose their minds chasing this Rumble for like 15 seconds. It leads to a Maple double kill, and then Maple ended up being a little bit too fed on the Asol. And then in terms of over-forcing, this was their game against DK when Showmaker got fed on the Sylas. They just, again, really hard forced this dive onto Sylas. He makes them dizzy, and this guy, this is not necessarily to flame Bwipo, he always goes for it, right? But when he's able to play with the right amount of patience, and as he talked about when they won the LCS championship, be confident that like he's enough, that just playing normally is enough, that's when I think they're at their best.
Exactly. We've seen it in the LCS. When they're on the same page, they are the best team fighting team when they can make it happen. So they're going to go up against PSG. This is the revenge tour. Way back from MSI, they want to get it done.
And they're going to have a lot of things to prove, and they want to go and get that revenge against PSG here. Let's see what FlyQuest can do. Housecasters, back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Lore. I feel big stakes not just for FlyQuest, but I guess for all of the West, given that it's 7-7, as was so wonderfully highlighted.
So
PSG
the West
are
ain't
scary.
doing too hot right
the West
now.
PSG are scary. Yeah, it's like LCK, LPL, and then PSG, LEC, and LCS. PCS as a whole maybe needs a bit more time, but this PSG lineup can never be underestimated. Something, obviously, the FlyQuest are very keenly aware of. And we'll have to see what their strategy is, what their approach is. PSG notoriously more by-the-book meta team. FlyQuest a team that's not afraid to flex some of their champ pools to try and find an advantage.
The crucial thing is, as Nukeduck mentioned in the interview, is that FlyQuest is a different team to what they were at MSI, and the introduction of Quad has significantly changed the approach of the team, the flexibility that they have in the mid lane as well, and ultimately the draft will always begin with a single question: are you going to ban Yone, PSG? Because we know you play it.
I lived in a brief existence in that previous game. It was 30 minutes of bliss as that champion disappeared.
And it's crazy because, as we said, we love watching the champ, right? Super entertaining champion to watch.
It just kind of invalidates the laning phase sometimes when it's always able to come
To a
back.
degree. But anyway, we're going to be jumping into the draft. So, what will the priorities be? So far on the red side, we've seen Aurora be a consistent ban. Wouldn't be surprised to see Aja get that Rumble ban. We know how confident he is on the champion in particular. And what about the Sejuanis? Will they raise in priority at all?
Well, as we enter Champion Select powered by Omen and HyperX, Vedi, you hit the nail on the head. Not going to give Aja those comfort picks. Obviously, PSG, sometimes this is a portion of their gameplay that people criticize. They play a lot towards topside. Maybe it doesn't always make sense, but the Rumble certainly has been terrifying in the hands of Aja, a guy who insisted on playing in plans. We were initially skeptical, but it has been proven correct. He had the right read on the meta. This champion looking incredibly powerful overall, as the Aurora is also going to hit the bench. Orianna,
that's telling.
Taken away.
The fact that FlyQuest ban Aurora on the blue side, because the fact that PSG ban Ori, it's like, we don't want you to have that power pick. There's the Yone alongside of it, which I'm imagining as Worlds continues, this is the trend that we'll continue to see on red side. But the Aurora should usually be the third ban on the red side, but FlyQuest saying we don't want to pick it, or we don't play it. Maybe they don't have the flexibility of being able to play at both top and
it's
in the
interesting
mid lane.
because it puts them in a difficult position where very often we see champions like Ashe or Sejuani, either a jungler or a prime AD, taken off the board, and they really can't do that. Instead, we're really seeing triple bans essentially for top lane.
Yeah, they really targeted Aja in this draft, and they want to set up Bwipo for success. Of course, he is going to have to blind pick something. You imagine Cassante immediately rises in priority as that blind pickable top laner, but perhaps Renekton, something that he dominated domestically on and was something that that in the LCS you had to respect or fear suffering on the top side of the map. Kalista going to be the final ban directed towards Marsu, who's honestly had a pretty solid tournament so far. His positioning in the fights has been pretty good. We'll see if he can maintain that performance today with so many first picks. Will it be something like the Vi? And Inspired has showcased a wealth of different champions throughout his career, both in EU and NA.
So it looks like, as Renekton is locked, okay, ban set up to try to ensure that Bwipo is in a position where he can safely blind pick top. Kind of willing to more or less fall on the sword for the team there, give a bit more time, give a bit more information, as they didn't have another high priority blind pick. What will PSG reveal? Because the thing you highlighted, obviously Inspired, incredibly deep champion pool, but a lot of times it's going to be kind of contingent on what the enemy is going to pick. See if he has any options of the Vi that feel good, or if we'll end up in kind of a more conventional jungle matchup with something like the Sejuani.
Ooh, a bit of a throwback there.
I mean, Maple Azir, iconic for a long time in the context of PSG.
Yeah, we have seen mids be very high priority in the draft. We already saw the lock-in from Knight earlier, and we're going to see it from Maple as well. Okay, so that Vi Ahri mid-jungle combo is a tried and true one. We've seen it for many years, just because they both set up each other. Land a charm, you get the Q connect or whatever. Usually it's the Vi to initiate, which then allows the Ahri to follow up. And because of the mobility of the two champions, they just synergize very effectively.
They do. And additionally, we saw in the previous game, right, Ahri very good on her own, but when she has that additional follow, it makes it so much easier if you do want to play more for picks in the mid game. But Inspired going to opt for the Ivern. What we're missing here, you have the melee bruiser, one of the two kinds of champions that really loves to have the Ivern. Now, the scaling hyper carry is usually the other missing component to make sure the Ivern can be effective.
Typically, I would expect a Syndra, but I don't like Syndra here.
Cassio instead.
Ah, yes, the other kind of go-to for quad.
And that is a scaling carry. I was expecting something more in the AD department, but certainly can bring a lot to bear.
They wanted AP, right? And you also need something that can kind of work with an Ivern, but at the same time, you're playing into a Vi Ahri, so you need something relatively safe. Miasma, great against dashes. Of course, its placement is crucial in that setup. But yeah, it's a champion that Quad is very comfortable on, something that he is well known for domestically, and I think just provides that scaling late game avenue. And very good in the front to back, especially.
Definitely, and you're in a situation now where Fly, if you can weather the storm of a combo like a Gnar, the Ahri, and the Vi, your turn is so good. The Ivern shielding, if it can keep people healthy, Cassio immediately turns, she has so much sustain, the potential to run targets down. Of course, absorbing that initial gauge is always tricky, and PSG going to do what they can to take away any more kind of safe backline options. Ashe and Cassio together would make it essentially unplayable for any melee champion that finds themselves dashless.
The AD carry band's coming through with the Ashe.
And those are the two champions that Masu's played so far, the Kalista and the Ashe. So we'll need to show us something new. Of course, for Betty in the bottom lane, the Kai'Sa has been the go-to, and it does work very well with what PSG have put together thus far.
Excuse me. I was thinking whether Varus is kind of where my gut is going.
Yeah.
But it depends, like, I like Ezreal into Vi Ahri just because you have that extra bit of mobility. Don't think Ezreal plus Ivern is a great combo.
No. I mean, it is a little bit awkward. Obviously, we saw a little bit of lethality, Varus.
Zaya's a good ban. I like Zaya a lot. I think Zaya would have been actually a great pick for FlyQuest, so I like that ban coming through for PSG. When you have this much dive and backline threat, the ability to self-peel that Zaya's ultimate brings.
Kai'Sa ban for Betty. Obviously doesn't leave you with the strongest 2v2, depending on the Bontus box line. Instead, they're going to take away the Rakan. So seeing the potential of more or less the Wombo comp or the picks that PSG can bring to bear and saying, we don't want to give you any more reliable kind of instant engage tools. And this is the other option, right? When you have a comp that wants picks and dive, you can do the Kai'Sa and she'll follow him in, or the Jhin who will stay an arm's length away. Jhin has not been a very successful champion in the context of Worlds. Pretty low win rate overall, but has had one or two incredibly standout games. In the hands of JackeyLove, of course, against T1. That was how they found their first win.
Kai'Sa's going to be locked in. Okay. My only concern with Kai'Sa is that I don't think you have like the best dive buddies to work with.
No.
Right now, I feel like FlyQuest has drafted a little bit more of a front to back with.
Yeah, the Kai'Sa was really good with the Ahri and the Vi.
It's
less appealing with the Ivern Renekton, although it can still work, of course.
Leona, I think, is fine. Rel can be a little trickier when there's so much mobility on the other side to set up that kind of wombo combo, especially if like you do connect the Rel ultimate and then Ahri can just kind of dash out of it. It, you know, can be a little bit awkward. So having that hard CC makes sense, provides a little bit more, especially follow-up when paired up with the Ivern too. The Rel, though, on the side of PSG makes a lot of sense, just really facilitating the dive. My expectations were that the AD carries were going to be swapped
Certainly.
in this draft, but either way, going to go with the Jhin, having a little bit more range on the side of PSG. The pick potential definitely can follow up pretty effectively, but a lot of PSG's draft is going to be revolved around their mid-jungle duo. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a swap come out from FlyQuest to not only get the Renekton out of the Gnar matchup, but also to then help the Kai'Sa weather the storm of the first few early levels. Ultimately, though, decent amount of scaling on the side of the FlyQuest, a lot off the back off of this Cassio, who I think is going to be one of the main damage threats, obviously. The one thing that's really interesting, Baron, Sneaks, Ivern, Cassio. Something you have to be really cautious about in the mid to late game just because of how quickly she can take that objective. She does need the blue, but once she's got it, that objective is easy pickings.
It's a good call because Kai'Sa, also 2 items, right, is going to shred through the objective. And it's something that we don't see a lot in the context of compositions at Worlds. There are very few champions that give you that Baron shred capability. So haven't seen a lot of the cheeky 20-minute Baron steals thus far. Perhaps this game will be a little bit different as we get ready. Fly versus PSG.
That Yuumi with a gun.
That's a Yuumi with a gun.
Was quite surprised.
That was my favorite piece of art I've seen on broadcast so far. Well done, whoever you are in the audience. So, who wins?
It's Yuumi on Jhin. That's the idea,
No.
right?
Who wins? Yone or Yuumi with a gun? That's the question on my mind. Just saying.
I don't want to ask.
We could fix the balance team. Give her a gun. We might have solved the Yone problem. That's all I'm saying. Regardless, we get in the game now. Of course, remember that while this is 1-1, this is not an elimination game for either team. There's still a lot on the line in terms of pride. Fly were crushed when they had to leave MSI early as PSG kind of dismantled them. And for those of you at home, well, I'm going to wax on about narrative. Remember to log into your Riot account on LawEsports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules.
Get that stuff.
Get the stuff. You're here anyway. Just get the stuff.
Also, you can check in on how your pick'ems are doing.
Yeah. Mine are not good.
If you're a Hextech enthusiast, you'll be happy.
If you're a Yone enthusiast in terms of highest presence, you will be happy.
Yeah, true. I think I picked Nocturne as my highest win rate, which, to be honest, was going pretty well.
That was
until Yone started winning it.
That sounds like a meme, but it has worked out.
Yeah, it's 80%, or 75% win rate. It's like 3-1 right now, so it needs one more game, and if it wins it, then Nocturne's in a pretty
No one's
good
ever
spot.
getting Yone again, so you have a chance. You just need really good Nocturnes to play Nocturne.
Yeah, but I honestly need really bad Yones to play Yone. That's also...
All I'll say is like we might have had a few of those moments, and it might not have mattered. Regardless, keeping track of how the lane assignments are shaping up, you've got the duo on the top side of the map, so FlyQuest will be initiating the lane swap. Of course, with the Ivern in the jungle, a lot of free time for Inspired once he finishes that initial clear, the first clear through. See if he wants to leverage that to go for a dive here. But Masu, not too concerned about how much damage Betty's going to do to the tower, so they shouldn't drop too much.
Typically, we see a split map here, Dracos, but Inspired has started on his red, and I think he's relying on the fact that his clear speed will be fast enough that he should be able to secure this. So the lane swap is already in an interesting spot, because normally the split map means that the jungler is in a position to threaten the dive on bot lane. I mean, Ginger can still be there, but he's not going to have any camps to take, which means that as he's threatening that potential dive, well, he's going to be losing his whole top side. Which means that Budbo actually feels safe enough to come bot already because the risk of the dive is lower. And look at the positioning of Inspired. He is only level 2, but he's been able to clear out his bot side camps, and he's in a position to potentially defend in the event of a dive.
Giving a little bit more support to Bwipo. Obviously, yesterday was a bit of a disaster. While Bwipo fell behind even really before the lane started, received no support, and I think it did really hurt when you have this TP-less Darius. So a bit more support coming from Inspired this time, and still can just move up to the top side. And the beauty of the Ivern, of course, just instantly delete those camps and be on even pace with Junja, despite the fact that he spent a bit of time on the bottom side just in case to cover.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of Ivern, right? Like, you spend so much time after your full clear just kind of wandering around anyway, that committing some time on the bot side is not that big of a deal. Just seeing some of the challenges that Ahri can run into whenever she wants to approach the wave, Cassio can just kind of harass her.
Yeah.
And there's very little that the Ahri can do to trade back. Meanwhile, Bwipo hitting level 4 on the bot side of the map. Definitely a unique iteration to the lane swap, because so far we've kind of seen this solved approach where the people get level 2 and then the potential dive, and it's like this sequence of events that happens. But just the introduction of Ivern to the situation really changes things up.
Also, one trend we've seen with Kai'Sa specifically is people are really comfortable leaving Kai'Sa in the 1v1 versus the majority of top laners in the meta. Although I'll hold that thought as Bwipo caught up in a bit of CC here. No ignite for Woody as it's burning down on Bwipo, excuse me. He's gonna die, first blood.
I mean, he just misplays. I see the idea that he's trying to go for there. He ease in, cues the melee minions, ease back out again. But he gets chain CC'd. I wasn't sure if he got stunned first or if the Jin W hit him, but there are 3 pieces of CC in this lane. There's the Rel dismount, there's the Rel Q, and there's the Jin W. And all 3 of them hit him, which meant that he was CC'd long enough to allow them to get the kill. He even expends the flash.
The flash, I think, is ultimately the awkward portion. Of course, playing pretty aggressive to make sure that he can get the XP. Again, in the context of a lane swap, if you get minions, if you get money, that's okay. But as long as you're getting XP, you're generally in a fine state. Giving more money over to Betty is going to hurt, though. Early Swifties, faster on the rotation, getting to top faster now. And it looks like it's going to be the matched 2v2 here, where Betty arguably stronger in terms of itemization. Yes, less combat stats, but Swifties are so nice for Jin in terms of trading.
What I will say is, even though Bwipo died, when you look at the actual top lane circumstances, Aja lost a lot of XP because he was being zoned away by the wave, whereas PSG's bot lane continued to push in, allowing Bwipo to soak up a lot of XP. On top of that, the top wave was pushing, meaning that Marcio and Busio can catch that wave, and Bwipo was able to TP in on the stacked wave bot. So in terms of XP, like, look at how far ahead Bwipo is right now. 2 full levels. Aja is about to tick over to level 4, but Bwipo is going to be level 6.
And that's terrifying for the Gnar. Cans continue to harass in mini Gnar form. Once 6 comes through, dives get very easy, even without, honestly, Inspired in the area. Aja going to have to play very conservatively, very respectfully for the next few levels, as Betty caught out a bit there, but will sidestep the Void Seeker, crucially. Stop that Plasma proc. Right now, very good pace early on for FlyQuest. The gold is close, but you can obviously see that some of the lead that FlyQuest do have in individual lanes is coming from Quad, keeping that pressure up in the mid lane. Does recall and get a tier. So good pace thus far, despite the kind of questionable early death from Bwipo.
I guess the other good news you could argue is that the first blood went over to Rel, which is pretty much where the gold lead is sitting right now. Inspired with his bot lane. Gonna start this objective. Cassio's underneath the tower for the time being. Nice setup of the brush wall to create this fog of war.
Good use of the Ivern utility. Mid lane was in an even state. Top lane now even, but they'll just be a little bit too late to the objective. Response coming in from Junja now, but he's a little bit late on starting the objective here, so Fly will have a bit of an advantage in terms of map pressure.
Apologies for talking over you there, Drake. I just noticed that Cassio actually has half a level on Maple as well. We didn't get to see what happened in the mid lane matchup, but Quad must have had like a nice trade or done something to force Maple back, so they actually lost a wave. And now look, he's actually 2 waves up in terms of CS, and he's half a level. So Quad playing the 1v1 very well in the early laning phase.
And kind of as expected for Cassio, right? Notorious for, especially level 2 onward. She hits you with a Q, she's willing to burn through her entire mana pool, and if you stick around for that, you're gonna die. So Maple, while he has really good setup when Woody is here, when Junja is here, and the isolated 1v1, it is a tricky matchup to play out.
Yeah, I mean, Cassio is that champion that only Cassio players can really play well. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Busio going in, but he's under the tower. It's a little bit awkward here. Charm now going in. Woody immediately going to follow up. Ignite ticking on Maple. It does not do too much. Twin Fang there. Whew. Quad threatening enough to stop them from killing his support at the very least.
Busio was so close to being underneath the tower from that charm. If he had been, and then the CC had come through from Woody, that likely would have killed him. 2 tower shots definitely would have connected.
Junja on the way and Inspired in the area as well. Maple immediately going to kick this fight off. Can they take the Cassio out of the equation? Petrifying Gaze is clean from Quad, but it's not enough. Maple quick to move back in with the dash. Finds the reset as well, and now Busio's in trouble. Shield coming in. Denting blows from Junja. Buys enough time to find the second kill.
It's a double kill for Maple, but FlyQuest are able to respond. A crazy collapse from Junja. Q's in, connects the ultimate as well. But Quad was able to find a magnificent ulti, just didn't quite have the damage needed to turn the kills in his favor. Overall, a 2 for 2.
Credit to Quad for getting the ulti off. I don't think that is quite as favorable, but you can see the aggressive look here from Junja. And this is a team that's played together for so long, excellently coordinated.
Keep track as well of Busio. Flashes onto Maple, locks him down as much as he can, but the Q has already come through, so the damage is there. Chains CC onto Quad, flashes out, gets a nice ulti off, but then Maple has extra charges of his ultimate to be able to finish that one off. Busio secures a kill, and crucially in this 2v2, Maple got 2, Quad got 0, right? Making the lane matchup that much easier. Merc Treads alongside the Lost Chapter secured for Maple makes the matchup so much easier.
And this is every single champion except for Kai'Sa is giving you Merc Treads value in terms of that tenacity right now. This is a fantastic early purchase to have. Getting that extra gold is going to make this matchup so much easier. On top of the additional Boots 2 movement speed, Cassie obviously going to be lagging behind for the vast majority in terms of that MS overall. But well played, well punished. Ultimately, just the distribution of gold that really makes it so favorable, as you highlighted. And now, when it comes to the overall gold, it's within touching distance. It's not that significant. But the 3 grubs for FlyQuest does mean we need to keep our eye on this grub spawn, where both teams are kind of going to open up onto the map. Where are these laners going to go? How are they going to assign?
Crucially, Bwipo still holds pretty much a full level over his lane counterpart. Junglers are even. Thanks to the double kill, Maple has been able to close the XP gap. Still finds himself a little bit down in farm, but the ultimate goal is in his favor. Dragon is still available. PSG weren't able to find that cross map when the grubs are dropping. Now with the grubs respawning soon, Whipple will have his TP available. We're cresting the 10-minute mark as well, which is happening right now, which will unleash those TPs and mean that Whipple will be poised and ready to fight in the event that grubs start, and Aja won't have that same response.
And this is going to be a really tough fight if PSG do want to contest second grubs. But with bot lane already going in, with Whippo getting aggressive here, looks like the Dragon might be the play instead. Aja now backing up, Junja on the way in. Whippo baiting where he wants to go. Masu ulti ready. Can get involved in this fight if he needs to. Wall up is good. Some initial damage. Void Seeker there. Flash out from Junja. Solid start to the play from the side of FlyQuest. Really taking control of the bottom side of the map.
I'm kind of surprised to see the FlyQuest bottom lane rotate here with the grub spawning, but they've set their sights on the Dragon. It looks like Charm connects.
Charm. Excellent route from Betty. Curtain call there now too. Redemption there. Is it enough? Quad now healing up. Nice sidestep. Blinking health bar. Nowhere left to go. Petrifying Gaze does nothing. Good patience from the side of PSG.
I mean, they really used their range to perfection right there. Nicely done from Maple and Betty. Quad couldn't hit anyone.
Yeah, and this is the problem, right? It's like Cassio is one of these more close-range mages. If you can keep her at arm's reach, very hard for her to get involved. But she doesn't have the Noxious Blast. She doesn't have that movement speed.
And it opens up the grubs as well for PSG.
Bit disastrous because if you looked at the item spike, Static was completed for Masu. You had Redemption coming in for Inspired. He's forced to use that mid, and now a lot of the strength that they should have had in this fight no longer there. Didn't get the Dragon either. Didn't really get much bot. So played for the kill, played for that gold. But luckily for them, powerful enough. Prio on their even lanes in top and mid means that they can just walk in and take this, get the 4-grub spike. That could have been much worse. Credit to Fly for getting back out on the map fast enough to stop the 3-for-3 grub trade.
Yeah, because after Quad died, Fly no longer felt confident enough to be able to contest the Dragon. On top of that, there was a huge wave in mid that Quad ended up losing off the back of that, extending the gold lead even more in favor of Maple. And yeah, I mean, PSG, the idea was good to start off the grubs. The problem is you've just used 2 ultis in your mid and AD carry. And on top of that, Whippo's just TP top lane and Aja doesn't have TP available. So it's a difficult objective for you to continue to fight for, which means that FlyQuest find themselves with 5 grubs, which is a great place to be in as Whippo gets himself another plate.
Gonna get 2 here. Aja has no support. So Whippo, I'm not sure how much information he has, but isn't gonna risk overcommitting or taking too bad of a trade. Of course, when the Cole completes, Aja will get a bit of a gold injection, will even up this lane to a certain degree. But now that both teams have their 1 item spikes, this would have been a time where PSG maybe could have found a fight on better terms, but the grubs sadly are already gone. Drake is still on the table, but we're a minute and a half away from Herald spawning.
Looks like PSG are going to start this one off, and FlyQuest are happy to concede it. Busio continues to hover around bot lane. Maybe they can catch Maple off guard. He's very respectful though. Pings are coming down from both sides.
And this is where the Merc Tread value is insane, right? Leona goes from feeling unstoppable to manageable when you have that. So it's all about this miasma. If they can layer the CC, if they can find the setup. Unbeknownst to them, you've got 2 members waiting in the brush, ready to make the play happen. Whippo and Aja trading on the top side. Whippo still sustaining that lane prio as Inspired Likely to lose the red buff here. Collapse coming in. FlyQuest, I don't think you want this fight. They don't really have good information. Ward over the wall will show them how many members of PSG are in the area. PSG not going to stick around. They don't want to take the risk. Waves aren't really in a good spot. If they die here, could lose a turret. Masu forced to cleanse. Jinx. Look at us, we're perfect singles. Of course, the cleanse isn't because of Betty. The cleanse is because he has no idea where the rest of PSG.
I mean, it's one of those things where in solo queue, maybe you don't cleanse that, right? Because you're just like, there's
Do
no...
it, you won't.
Yeah.
In pro, you're like...
Pro, you're like, I'm cleansing that.
I can either not have cleanse, or I can be dead and embarrassed for not having cleansed, right? So
exactly.
Makes sense.
Yep. I mean, it's just, in all honesty, it's a good perspective to have, you know? Just burn the flash, better to live and not have the flash than to die and have it up, as you already said.
Good
Same
movement
principle.
for Quad. So
Either way.
awkward.
Either way, we kind of take stock of the situation. The gold advantages that PSG find themselves with are on mid and AD carry. Betty has been picking up plates, finds himself a kill. Maple also securing that double early on means that they put themselves in a very good position. And as MasterCard Lane Economy Snapshot is highlighting for us, the advantages for FlyQuest are sitting on the top side. So right now, I think PSG is happier because the gold is in the right places. And so as we enter the mid game with these items completed, you have to give that advantage initially over to PSG.
A lot of it is going to come down to that execution. We talked about it. So many good pick tools on the side of PSG. But when you're facing a Casio alongside that Ivern, 5v5s can be really tricky if you don't have the proper setup. Tower for tower trade. But Fly with position on the top side of the map are going to be able to grab the Herald as well. So again, a situation where Fly are able to find the greater trade. Got the grubs earlier, now grabbing the Herald, in a position to start to really blow this gold lead open. We'll see where they want to use the Herald. Obviously, bot and mid tier 1 are both still up. But I think against a pick composition, just opening up mid lane gives you so much more access to the map.
In terms of itemization, it's pretty even across the board. Stridebreaker, though, finished with Bwipo after securing that first Tower Bloods. He was injected with a lot of gold. Now they can use this Herald to unlock mid. Masu has to showcase respect once again.
Bwipo waiting over the wall. Daisy fading away, gives us a little wave goodbye. Masu has to be very careful, though. As long as he's the follow-up, he'll be fine, but if he gets caught out, get deleted very quickly. Maple level 11, really trying to use his power. Forces the Dominus out from Bwipo, doesn't use the ult himself, so again, these small cooldown advantages don't look to be too important initially, but if they can follow up on them, may be able to build a greater advantage.
You are seeing, I would say subtly, one of the problems of FlyQuest composition being range, right? We saw it earlier with Quad in the mid lane where Quad just couldn't hit the Ahri or the Jhin.
Yeah.
And in that situation there, Bwipo, he wanted to ult, build Fury, then get a longer stun off. But again, he just wasn't quite in range. Now, this may not matter depending on the outcome of the team fight, but it is something to keep track of that, like, Ahri and Jhin, these champions that just get bonus movement speed from things in their kits, as well as the things like the fleet footwork, like, it can be really annoying for champions like Renekton, for champions like Cassia, for Kai'Sa, who really wants to be within range of you, right? And so we'll see if it ends up being a problem. But yeah, again, it's very subtle because like outside of that one kill that we saw in mid, it's not really resulting in a huge amount of advantages for PSG so far.
But you can also see why this game has been a lot more about moving around the map than it has been about these big full-on 5v5s. It's tough for FlyQuest to really press their advantage.
I mean, I'll also say it's nice to see, you know, a Western team recognizing that they've got good scaling and just being patient in the early game, not trying to overforce fights.
No, I don't know. I really love the fact that every game either starts with Western teams doing good and then immediately throwing or finding a way back in the mid game. As Bwipo's now in trouble. Good healing coming in. The Ignite already there. That means he's likely to fall. Flashback to safety is clutch. Masu free hitting on Woody. Taking a decent amount of damage for stepping forward. Daisy's first knockup looking good. Second knockup coming in. How many can they hit? Go, Daisy, go. Not able to get anything else. Walking away now as Maple gets a bit of a chunk there.
So Bwipo ambitiously tries to contest the Scuttle Crab in the mid lane. And you could argue that it was a success because his team did secure the objective and it ends up being a trade of flashes. But Quad investing the TP, ready for a fight. Which
Drake
one
in 3
doesn't
seconds.
manifest?
Maple no ult, Junja no ult. So if we look at the 5v5, Fly feel good about the trade. Yes, they're down Bwipo's flash, but they have all their team fight tools.
We find ourselves in another situation similar to the previous game where Maple wants to back. I think he has enough gold to complete his item, but I think it's going to be too late. which means that second Dragon of the game will go over to FlyQuest. Interrupt's going to come through from Bwipo as well, and I mean, there's no rush to go back to base at this point, given that the objective has already fallen.
Mountain Soul, not the best roll, not too bad either. Of course, Jin notoriously bad at killing some of these beefier health bars, and when you have the shielding on top from Inspired, always going to feel good to get more out of those shields. See if there's any sort of, I don't think anyone builds Serpent's Fang anymore, I feel like, but you never know.
True. We find ourselves in a more measured game than I was expecting.
Yes, sir. Well, I think it's important to note that, like, when PSG, you know, when they're not forced to play crazy, they're often they're slow, objective fight, pick kind of team. And that's part of the reason I think that they're so respected and they have found so much success internationally, is why they were able to take, like, BLG, for example, to 5 games, is they can play a really controlled mid to late game.
I will say, I feel like this is projection, right?
Yep. Okay.
But it feels like that FlyQuest is, like, very aware of what happens at MSI, based on what I'm watching, you know? Like, again, it's purely speculation, because I don't know what the comms are like, but it does feel like that they're constantly reminding each other, be mindful, be careful, this jungler could be here, respect this play. It does feel like they're super respectful of their opposition.
Well, you can't afford to lose. They certainly do not want to. Nice poke onto Bwipo. Maple did, unfortunately, charm a minion earlier. Bwipo would have sidestepped the charm, but now he's getting aggressive, trying to delete the wave, knowing his team is getting something else on the map. E going to be immediately interrupted. So PSG find a quick kill topside, but the wave getting deleted by Aja is crucial. Now in the mid lane, they're already using their Herald, but Maple is here to defend.
That was a crazy good play from PSG.
Charm is clutch. Rue coming in from Betty as well. The Redemption now coming in, Inspired, in trouble. Masu needs to get out. PSG, fantastic play topside. They stopped the counter punch coming in for Fly. Well done.
Everything about that was incredible. Busio now goes for the stun.
Quad has to be the difference maker. He and Masu. Masu only on a single item. He's behind. This is so hard for them to play out. Quad locked up. Unstoppable Vi goes in. Junja going back. Quad wants to get a bit more space, flashing out to safety. Busio going to be the sacrifice, so the rest of the team can escape, but now Masu's in trouble. Ignite ticking just so they keep the vision, just so they can follow where he goes. In trouble now. Knockback is there. Masu ulting out, but it will not be to safety. Just delaying the death. PSG, what a beautiful sequence.
It really was, Dracos. I mean, Aja ults bot to deny the cross map from happening. Bwipo wisely realizes, I'm dead, there's nothing I can do in this situation. He even tried to disengage from the tower, knowing that the dive was coming, but they cut off his escape route, so he just cuts off the wave so they can't get the tower. However, PSG, they TP into mid lane here from Maple, and then he connects the charm onto Inspired, catching him off guard, setting up for the pick follow-up from Betty, and then the TP flank to come in from Aja, who'd been zoned away from the bot tower. But FlyQuest can't play for the bot tower because now they have to defend for this fight. And honestly, Busio, he overstays here. I think that they should have used Busio, sacrificed him to help Quad and Masu get away. The ultimate doesn't connect with a nice flash from Junja. And then they turn it into a 5 versus 3 where they end up picking up 4 kills in total. Just a great sequence where they protect their mid, protect their bot, find 4 kills, and FlyQuest get nothing.
Incredible. And I think this highlights so well the strengths of PSG, how composed they can be as a team, as a unit overall. And we go back to the interview Nukeduck had at the start of the day. Hey, some of the comms, some of those moments were a bit too chaotic. Clearly losing track of the play, losing track of the greater context of the game, because PSG initially just managed to stall the play, but then when Maple was able to go forward, leverage the range of the Jin coming in from Betty as well, it went from bad to worse so damn fast.
And I mean, PSG is a team that I think many see as an easy draw, you know, especially for the West, especially given the options available, but they continue to usurp those expectations, getting their revenge against MDK now in a very comfortable position against FlyQuest. The game is definitely not over just yet. With the itemization that they have and the positions that they're in, I mean, I guess the good news for FlyQuest is when you look at the scoreboard, you're not that concerned. No, you know, you see, oh, well, my mid laner's got 2 items, your mid laner's got 2 items. Jungler is pretty even in terms of itemization, especially Ivern, gonna primarily building supportive itemization. AD carries, okay, sure, we're down a bit of anti-healing and the crit cloak, but still, it's not the end of the world. So FlyQuest shouldn't be all doom and gloom just yet, especially given that they've only lost 1 tower and they were able to secure that bot 1 as well. So at the end of the day, with Dragon spawning in about 20 seconds, FlyQuest could choose to concede this. Maybe it's even smarter to just play for the mid-tier 1 instead.
Might be. Bwipo, I think, is going to be the player that really needs to find a way to leverage his advantage. He's the top laner with the item completion. He's the one with the individual gold lead. Level 14. if he can get onto the backline, if he can ever find Betty, you talked about it earlier, right? The range is so difficult. May have to come down to a flank. Use of their lane pressure to set up vision for a future play. But now the threat around Baron, something we talked about earlier. Cassio, Kai'Sa together. They can obliterate the objective if they're given time. The Fly a bit split. They're going to lose out on the Drake here. Won't get much in return. Bwipo really needs to be close to mid just in case the dive play comes through.
There's also nothing Bwipo can do. Like, that wave bot lane, he can't go and get it. Yeah. So he's just like, I guess I'll just hover around mid lane. Now he's moving up top side.
Masu, stun. No additional follow-up.
Every time someone gets CC'd, he's hitting you with the Deadly Flourish.
Yeah, this is... I feel like it's a clear indicator when people have played with the Jhin comps and with the same players for a really long time. Because we saw even earlier today, like, little miscommunications from Fnatic on where exactly the Jhin CC needed to go. But no matter where that champion goes, he always hits that W.
Quad reaching nice spot now in the game.
I feel like we're running into one of the League of Legends classic, ladies and gentlemen, which is the team who's winning but not super crazy far ahead versus the team who has better scaling but like there's some context.
Yeah.
But the simplification is they're going to do more sustained damage if we go late. The more complex version is it's still really hard for them to get in a position to do that damage.
Yeah, I mean, execution is kind of what it's going to come down to, and that's really been the biggest concern for the Western teams so far at this World Championship. Opportunities have been presented to a bunch of different Western teams, and they haven't been able to capitalize on them. So we'll see if they can find those opportunities in this game. The mid towers are kind of the easy objectives to look at. I would say one of the areas where PSG could probably be indexing more is that top tower is an easy one to take. If they overstack, invest their vision, get the prio in mid, which they're pretty consistent at doing, and then play towards that top, they could probably easily secure it. And you can start to see that happening now. They've been able to push in that top wave now. They move into the river, they get the mid push, and then they turn their attention towards the top tower. So I think they could have made this play earlier. Ultimately, though, they still get the objective. And there's not really much to cross-map on the side of FlyQuest. This tower was kind of destined to fall eventually.
Certainly. Dawn Core now completed for Inspired, so a lot of additional healing and shielding power might be enough to block that initial burst of damage that comes in from the PSG composition. Masu going for the AP itemization, I think makes a lot of sense. The range disadvantage you highlighted earlier, somewhat mitigated when you have Kai'Sa who could just unleash that poke.
Let's see how the goal differences continually grown in the favor of PSG. A large portion of it off the back of those 4 kills they were able to find around mid. Betty's sitting on a 400 gold bounty right now. Target that FlyQuest would love to secure. PSG overstacking in mid, but we're looking for a potential flank, not going to overstack it. Look at all these Jhin traps though hovering around the mid lane, making things a little bit more awkward.
A little bit of disruption, especially when you don't have that much range. It can be so frustrating. Quad finishing Rylai's. So really, between Inspired and Quad, if they ever get on top of anyone, they will die. There is no getting away from this composition. But it is very easy to just keep them at arm's reach. If they ever get in arm's reach, you're not escaping.
This tower is just being slowly chipped away at. I mean, PSG, they're not overcomplicating the game. It's nice to see.
I mean, you can see bot wave going to demand a response, but top wave in an even spot, you can really take your time. You can spend as much time mid as you want as long as the enemy doesn't send anyone up there. And PSG taking advantage of that fact to break this tower, and when you're the person playing the Ahri Vi composition, every bit of space you get is so incredibly valuable.
My question is that, like, what is the moment that FlyQuest is kind of waiting for? Because PSG, you know, like, all of their moves have kind of been predictable, right? Oh, we're going to play for top tower, and then we're going to play for mid tower. And a lot of that is Betty is able to guarantee mid prio because Masu's largely left isolated in the mid lane, right? FlyQuest, on the meanwhile, are just kind of farming. They just keep catching waves. They're not really playing for anything. And you can make the argument, well, it doesn't really make sense for them to try and force it.
We say as they TP in to force it.
Wow, they are forcing it. So, okay, so Maple completes his item, and they sit there and go, Jhin as well, and they're saying, we're strong enough, let's fight.
Yep. Starting this one off, Fly want to get in the area. Quad has to be careful. He cannot be the one to face check that. Luckily, the brush vision coming in from Inspired does allow them to step forward. They don't get a lot out of FlyQuest to start that objective. It costs them the TP. If they can't find the fight here, it's a bit difficult. Bwipo looking to get a little bit more on the Stride Breaker. Nice initial damage, but he gets knocked back to the wall. Pretty easy initial kill pickup. Nice counter engage coming in. Redemption. Bwipo still standing. That's going to be big. FlyQuest finding the initial angle. Junja running out to safety. Curtain call coming across the backside, but there's no blinking health bars yet. Maple trying to make the difference, but Busio is there with the CC to lock him down. Charm goes the wrong way. Maple ticking down. Poison in his veins. He's going to drop. Shutdown coming through for quad. FlyQuest beautifully played.
I was worried about that engage from Bwipo because it felt like that he'd overextended. He was going to get turned on, but the support from the Ivern at this point in the game, FlyQuest finally found the confidence to make the play that they needed. Betty chipping away at Bwipo.
He doesn't do enough damage to finish that kill. And again, they obliterate this objective. Do they turn for Aja? Rage stacking, 7 seconds on the Mega Narcs, not enough. FlyQuest getting the objective. They were getting bled out across the map, but PSG overcommit on that Baron, and Fly are quick to punish.
Yeah, it was, I understand the idea. Like, we've just gone back to base, we've hit our power spikes, let's force before FlyQuest can spend gold of their own. But then it ends up in this situation. This is what concerned me for Bwipo. It felt like that he was the one overforcing at this point, but the amount of utility that he gets in combination with the Sterak's and the Ivern, look at this massive shield. He's able to soak up so much. Quad's ultimate comes through, they take out Woody, they turn their attention onto Junja as Aja is forced to back away, and Maple just can't really lock a target down. So he's the one that then gets locked down. And basically, Bwipo just acts as a tank. He is the one soaking up all the damage. He's the one drawing all that pressure. And PSG crumble under that pressure. They can't find the targets that they're looking for, and FlyQuest get the front to back that they're looking for.
And kind of the success I feel like they had in previous plays, making them forget how powerful FlyQuest are from a compositional perspective. The item advantage is not enough to balance out when Cassio is able to get into range so easily. Bwipo really the bait, and this is something Inspired talked about in his interview with Travis Gafford. Hey, there are so many teams when we're winning, when we're finding wins domestically, where we just offer them a little crumb, they come in and we take everything for them, and that's exactly what happened with Bwipo. Stun coming in, not going to burn anything else. Baron there, and this is where the Ivern gets so frustrating. No real long-range siege potential, but a lot of tools to make PSG's life difficult.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the other problem with FlyQuest comp is hitting the towers can be a little bit stressful, but if they keep leveraging the Baron empowered minions, Bwipo
going in again. Sterak's is a very good item, and Ivern backing him up means he's gonna live. He should be dead.
I can't believe that he lived that, but you're really seeing the value of this Ivern. The utility, the redemption, the shielding, they get the tower. I mean, it's like the perfect combo. Bwipo can be unleashed as he wants, and Inspired will always be there to protect him.
It's like they baby-proofed the Renekton. It's like they covered him in like styrofoam so he can't hurt himself. Like Inspired's like a mom coming in like, oh, nope, not there. Yeah. Here's a redemption. Here's a shield. Let's back that one up. And to be fair to Bwipo, like some of these plays look very aggressive, but the reality is the second he goes in there and he lives, they have enough space to take that tier 2. So while it's volatile and under certain circumstances, you'll look at that as crazy. In the context of this game, it generates enough space for Fly to actually get some money value out of the Baron.
FlyQuest haven't been able to build a huge lead, but remember that they were at a 3K gold deficit.
Yep. And so now you have Seekers coming in for Masu. He's got enough AP to empower the Void Seeker. So you've kind of weathered the storm of what was a pretty commanding lead for PSG in terms of power in the game.
For sure. And the Serpent's Fang gonna offer a lot of value.
I didn't think we'd see it, but there it is. Healing, I mean, you feel for Betty though. He's the carry and he has to buy the shield reduction item and the heal reduction item.
Jhin not having Infinity Edge does feel bad.
Yeah, I'll say Mortal Reminder is very comparable to Lord Dominik's these days because they obviously nerfed the armor pen on it. So that heal cut doesn't feel bad.
Yes.
Serpent's Fang obviously will feel good if you're getting value out of the shielding cut. In any other situation, it's gonna feel quite bad.
Gale's Crucible now finished for Inspired as well. That is like a mega fed Ivern.
Hey, bubble wrap this Renekton, man. He is not gonna die. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
They put the baby in Kevlar, Betty. He is safe.
Yep. I mean, I just think that it enables his aggression perfectly. Now, PSG have set their sights on the tier 2 in bot lane. They've got a nice push in mid. They're looking for picks. They won't find one. Busio here to defend for now, but Quad is on his way. They've got to be careful of a potential dive. They don't really have the members here. The cross map coming through from Bwipo on the top lane.
It's taking a bit of time.
Yeah, the TP response can happen as well.
There's no real other play to go for here. They get the TP, obviously long cooldown before Baron and another Drake will be up. So TP advantage to the side of Fly. That's kind of what they get from the pressure. FlyQuest in a pretty damn good spot, all things considered, right?
Yeah,
we talked about their comp outscaling. They are now in a strong enough position that they can fight for lane prio, that they can set up on these objectives. And again, really that one play bringing them back in this game is Bwipo getting a little aggressive here, but he's safe. He has the shields, he's charmed, but he's still alive. Curtain call coming out. Follow from Maple, not enough. Oh, and this is and this is the problem we've seen with some of these Ahri Jhin compositions. If you don't have the damage to finish that first kill, it feels so hard to follow up anymore in the fight.
So that was what I was going to say. I feel like PSG are running into a bit of a damage problem now, because it's not just that you have to get through this Renekton, it's that you've also got to get through that repeated support provided by Inspired. So with Jhin and Ahri, with this much utility, like...
And the thing is, if you burn your cooldowns on the Renekton, you do not kill him, and you overstep even 1 second, it's Masu flying in on top of you.
It's the war of attrition.
Yeah,
I just feel like you lose.
You can't win the war of attrition. So you have.
And you've got to reload. Like,
it was cool when he was ahead. When he's even or behind, it feels really bad.
Masu. Let's.
Okay, it doesn't feel that bad. Nice sidestep for Masu. That saves his life. Does have the cleanse, but lucky he doesn't have to use it. TP now being used mid. That was the advantage they had from earlier. But Aj is off to the side. They have to keep their eyes on this Narc. Instantly Inspired now zoning him off, using Daisy to get him away. 13 seconds on Baron. They can't use their mid prio to go up. PSG already have setup on the Drake, and it looks like Fly feel more confident in the 5v5. They don't want to give them access into the river. Daisy going in, a bit more poke. Betty and Maple isolated.
Bwipo leveraging the Fog of War, going to get spotted out by the trap though.
Good patience from PSG though. They wait until Daisy
not
dies.
being started off. All of the vision is just like, look, they're out of wards. The only thing they get to see, oh, Busio.
Quick stun. What are you out for now?
It's the ulti again. Busio needs to be a little bit more patient, I feel. A few times now.
Asma down. Bwipo going forward. Stun not quite hitting. The charm was perfect. Masu backs up, but Betty just flashes into his team. Redemption doing so much work, but Betty goes down. Void Seeker from Masu. He's ready to take over in this fight. Flash forward. The double. Redemption. Lethality bars was not enough at MSI, but the Kai'Sa is killing everybody in this game. Masu going for more. Can he get 4? Quadra for Masu. Maple running. They won't give him the Penta, but that's a redemption story if I've ever seen one.
In the war of attrition, it is FlyQuest that stands strong. Quad's HP didn't even see a semblance of damage. And you can see how hard it is for PSG, even in a situation where the start of the fight looks promising. It's just not enough. Bwipo, his engaged fumbles. It doesn't work out, but the amount that he is able to tank up is crazy. A nice snipe comes through from Masu onto Betty. He flashes over the wall to secure that kill, and then it just becomes a chase down. FlyQuest, they use their comp to perfection, and they basically say, we're gonna run at you. If you can't kill us, we're gonna kill you.
And I gotta say, credit to FlyQuest. Weathered the storm mentally when they were falling behind, when they were making 1 or 2 missteps against a team that had embarrassed them on the international stage, but kept strong, kept playing to their win conditions, and now they've set their sights on Baron. Hex flash over the wall coming from Busio, trying to zone the way.
Don't 50-50 this FlyQuest.
Quad can miasma. Is that going to be the follow-up? Do they burn the objective for a split? It's a bit of a split focus, and Quad can flash over the wall, but it's awkward, but they will secure the Baron. Bwipo not too scared. Well played by FlyQuest.
Yeah, they played that really well. Not only does Bwipo go over, but the moment he gets CC'd, Quad even throws down the miasma. The flash did come through. I say the flash. The Q came through from Ginger to be able to create space, but that was enough to help them secure the Baron. And FlyQuest with another objective could look to try and finally break the base. Again, the reason why it's been so difficult for them to leverage the advantage that they had earlier, even though they'd already kind of outscaled at that point, was just because of the range. It's very difficult for them to siege, so they kind of rely on the Baron, but now that they've got it, they can play through 2 waves and they can start to chip away at those towers.
And also, just Bwipo is so damn tanky, right? Maple still hasn't completed really a major magic penetration item. He has some flat pen, but obviously Merc Treads as well. Really good in the context of playing against his comp. It does mitigate some of the damage he can put out. And now PSG really holding on. This position, earlier if Bwipo stepped too far forward, it was hard for him to survive, but at this stage, he can eat a bunch of cooldowns. And the rest of his team will be there to punish if PSG overcommit or cannot finish that kill.
I don't like the fact that FlyQuest is basically just playing through one. Oh, okay, never mind. They're just going to brute force it.
They have the Daisy and they know they're tankier. They know they win the 5v5. And this is the other awkward thing too, right? Is that there's just not, outside of Aja's ulti, there's not really a lot of reliable AoE. I mean, so you can't really punish them either when they group up unless Mega Gnar's ready to go.
Truthfully, PSG just don't have enough damage. And by that I mean, like, it's very single target focused. You've got Ahri, you've got Jhin, and you've got the Vi, who all like lock down a target, and then once that target is dead, you can convert the rest of the fight. But like, you can't even kill that one target. So if you can't get rid of one, what are you gonna do about the other 4?
And credit to Inspired, being willing to pull this jungler out, right? Ivern is a champion that people kind of love or hate depending on what your champion pool looks like, but against the Vi Ahri, if you can weather the storm, Ivern's one of the perfect answers, right? Because it disrupts so much, the shielding stops the pick potential.
It was one of his domestic comforts, right? That alongside the Amumu, and like he's proven why teams have chosen to ban it away from it multiple times.
Woody over the wall though, not spotted. Quad, we'll see him. TP now coming in, Bwipo joining the squad. They just want to keep bullying with this 5-man unit. Bwipo going in, looking for the stun, trying to lock up Maple, trying to lock up Betty, trying to lock up anybody, and again, the redemption comes in, the shielding comes in this time around. The Serpent's Fang was there, mitigated some of that value. Bwipo will be forced to run away.
They still can't kill him,
retreating.
Maybe they overstepped their boundaries there. FlyQuest, their siege is going to be slowed down a lot. They did have a nice wave on the bot side of the map that they could have played with.
Already top, just continuing to pressure.
Not sure what they can do with that, though. They need a wave in mid.
Stalling to play for the wave in mid, it looks like. A window of opportunity where Betty doesn't have ult, Maple doesn't have ult, Junja no ult. Perhaps Fly just want to hard force here in mid lane.
Healing from Bwipo coming through thanks to the red buff.
I mean, they're very powerful in the 5v5. Can they just dive this tower?
Vial was used, but the Baron buff is worn off now. So now it goes back to the Dragon, securing the soul. But maybe they can look for a pick here.
Junja locked up. He's happy to poke. And again, this is a team you can tell. I've seen a lot of FlyQuest games where they would have gone over that wall, is all I'm going to say.
Well, they've talked about how important this game really is. It'll put them at 2-1. The opposition in the 2-1 bracket is not easy, but you know what? It's the World Championship. No matchup is going to be easy.
PSG, a reminder that, as you highlighted, a team so many Western teams would be happy to draw. Very quickly reminded Mad Lions they are no easy opposition, and in the early game certainly did the same to Fly.
I mean, PSG had a composition that with the early lead, they needed to snowball
100%,
faster.
100%.
They needed to play faster, and we talked about how like their objectives they could have been playing for a little bit earlier, and unfortunately they just waited a little too long. They tried to force that Baron on those 3-item power spikes, and that was the window that FlyQuest needed to turn the game around. Ultimately, FlyQuest did play the patient game. It ended up working out. They didn't overforce, and now they find themselves in this position. Soul point, Dragon spawning, 2 seconds. PSG
don't really have a lane to play through. They're completely split. It's an easy collapse. Masu could have got the first kill onto Junja. There's no fight here for PSG. Redemption goes down. Bwipo going to take the additional healing. 500 health. Masu now unstoppable. Takes a bit more time than expected to kill Junja. But he's dead all the same.
I mean, honestly, this game is just done.
Over. Yeah,
like, it's taking them a while to end, again, because of the range. It's hard for them to siege, but like, PSG just don't... I think I can say with confidence, objectively, they don't have enough damage. They do not do enough to kill all of FlyQuest.
True. And I think we've learned, because we talked about Grasp versus Electrocute earlier, that Electrocute is not enough to make Maple a one-shot late game assassin in the context of this game.
I mean, if he could land a full combo onto Masu before the Mountain Soul, maybe. Maybe.
If he can land a full combo onto Masu when he doesn't have Cleanse and forgets to push Zanya's or Flash.
Correct. If he stood there.
And if maybe if he doesn't have Mountain Soul.
And that doesn't account for Locket. Anything that Ivern does at all.
Just anything. Literally. He can just, like, at this point, his voice line gives shielding. He just goes, oh, when you get 300.
Yeah, so, yeah. Let's not forget, okay, one of the, I guess you could say stupidest things, right? It's like, Inspired's ulti can not only block Charm, but if you're not even in range, you could just... Inspired's ulti can tank the W from Ahri as well.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate set of interactions for Maple. And obviously for both these teams, right, you don't want to fall down to 1-2, but this is the last set of best of ones today. So from here on, you get the best of 3 chance. If this had been in the lower bracket, PSG would have the chance to adapt, to change their strategy, maybe to play more aggressive early. But at this stage, it's really going to take a miracle for them to come back.
I mean, this is kind of
Daisy's soloing the Baron.
Yeah, just keeping it aggroed for now. I think that FlyQuest, they could just have quad. Yeah, Masu can also just do it with Daisy. That's also
greatest rivalries, LCK versus LPL, Daisy versus the Baron. Specifically Cupcake Daisy for some reason. Well, they one-shot it.
Yep.
And again, no discredit to PSG. They are an incredible team, but at this point from this position, just don't want to oversell, but also don't want to make it feel like we're underselling PSG. It's just impossible. The math just does not match.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, yeah.
They lose the Excel spreadsheet version of League of Legends as Bwipo goes in. Some initial damage. Ulti in the back is good. Maple trying to make the difference, but the charm does not hit. Crucially, Junja now running. Aja has the AoE, but he gets one popped. Masu doing so much damage.
Ends up being a 1-for-1, the trade of top laners, but as the wave comes through,
Maple can't play. You highlighted it. Daisy just blocks all the relevant cooldowns. Only the Orb of Deception will go through. Charm again, hitting a might. This man cannot catch a break. FlyQuest pushing in. This is a moment where they can overstep. One of the few left to them. Can they play it out clean?
Masu just melts these towers. He's
Masu
going to
does
keep
so much
chipping
work.
away with the W.
W cooldown is non-existent. Masu going back. Woody doesn't hit, and that should do it. Masu free to do all the damage he wants, going godlike in this matchup. Benny, a dead man walking. Junja running for the hills. Masu going golden, baby. Yet another quadra to come in as they close this one out in style. FlyQuest moving on to 2-1.
A shaky early game for FlyQuest, but they don't overforce, they don't over-aggress, they wait for their composition to scale up, to come online, and they're able to dominate. Masu gonna be the highlight player, of course, but Inspired, 1-1-14, 100% KP on the Ivern.
I mean, good stuff, and I think I can just hear all of North America collectively breathing a sigh of relief, and at least some of North America's on our desk, so we'll find out what they have to say.
I mean, yeah, I feel so much better now.
You're not a part of the team. Calm down.
What?
Calm down, all right? Relax.
The difference that 20 minutes of time makes, because I'd say before they had the comeback fight, I was so nervous. It felt like they were too hyphy, that they were just making too many mistakes, that it was going to be another one of those games. Whew,
yeah,
finally.
I was like, look, you have Ari, Vi, Jen. I was worried for the Casio because it never really felt like we were going to have Prio in a fight, and then it just clicked.
Yeah, it's all about recovery and how the champions are supposed to work together, and I feel like FlyQuest did a spot-on job on this account, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, they were able to pull off a crucial fight that saved the game completely.
Oh my gosh, they absolutely were. Like, let's take another look at this one. This is when they were down in gold, I believe, and the game had gotten sneaky late. Like, Bwipo is level 16, but I'd said 10 seconds before this, Bwipo's gonna flash forward and die, and that's what everybody thought was gonna happen until Sterix, Ivern, Redemption come in, and he actually doesn't even get close to dying. Meanwhile, FlyQuest clean the fight.
It's ridiculous because this is just one of many moments, and I think you said Hilly on Twitter talked about basically creating space. Bwipo created a lot of space. The one that reminded me, there he is!
Oh my God,
that's him!
Oh. That is so cursed.
It is super,
okay, there you go.
cursed. And that's the game, actually. It's Bwipo's Renekton turning into it. But look at Masu. This was the result of the very long game. The Casio, I'm still not completely sold on, because especially when we see the damage graph, it's not like they dove into Casio and he repelled them.
Yeah.
It was Masu just doing 50,000 damage in that game.
The freedom to walk up, because it was really difficult for PSG to do anything about it, especially that bot lane play where I would love to see the specific HP, but Renekton was like in the single digits, it looked like.
Yeah.
But there was no shot from PSG side to get a kill. And so Masu recognized it, that blue side jungle fight where he hopped in freely and chased them down. Beautiful to see.
He did an amazing job. They all did an amazing job, I feel, collectively.
2-1.
And we actually have Masu standing by with Shox for the Verizon post-game interview.
Masu, congratulations. What a hard-fought win. First question has to be, how does it feel to finally get revenge for MSI on PSG?
It feels good. I never really had a grudge against PSG or anything, but I did really respect them, especially like they're a very good team. So it feels good beating them.
Yeah, they showed that again in this game. I want to say, talk to me about kind of the approach and the difficulties early on and even to mid in that game and what you had to change in order to get that turnaround.
Well, the changes between MSI and here, or
no,
just
no,
between
this game,
right now?
this
This game.
Yeah.
Well, in the early game, we kind of made too many mistakes. We gave them a lot of gold, so we were on the back foot quite a bit. And we were fine because we scaled way harder than them. So we understood that if we just didn't give them too much gold, or we didn't let them stack Drakes or get Baron, that we can outscale them and win eventually. But yeah, that was kind of the mindset we had. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out exactly as you had planned it, but of course that comes with the stress of, okay, now the fights come that we absolutely have to win. And you're on Kai'Sa, and you don't have any kills yet, and I guess in every fight you're like, okay, is this going to be my moment? Is that a stressful situation? And did they take 2 pentas from you, or was it only 1?
I think I got 2 quarters, I'm not sure. But for the fights, I think the tension, of course, builds up between each item. Like, you're getting your items, and you know there's going to be one big fight, and you either win or lose, and it might decide the whole game. So it's definitely a bit nerve-wracking. But you don't really think of that in the game. You just think of your comp, the enemy comp, and how you want to fight, and then you kind of go from there.
Yeah, and you now move on to 2-1. You are in a great position. How do you feel about the steps you're taking, not just for yourself, but also as FlyQuest, with the lessons from the entire year, knowing that a lot of the eyes of NA, all of them actually, are on you to give them some hope?
For sure, I think throughout the year, especially in summer, we grew a lot as a team. We became a lot closer, and we played more coherently together. But I do think we have a long way to go, and I think we can definitely make it. So, yeah, I think our team can definitely be pretty good.
Awesome. Final question. How many times have you watched the music video and your part?
I can't count that many times.
I understand. Thank you so much, and congratulations, Masu. Fantastic game out of FlyQuest as they move on to 2-1.
In the meta. Although I'll hold that thought as Bwipo caught up in a bit of CC here. No Ignite for Woody as it's burning down on Bwipo, excuse me. He's gonna die. First blood.
My bad, my bad.
I'm flashed out. I'm working by. Bye. Gå ned, ja. Ari, skewed. I have nothing. Nice. Should be nice.
Woody doesn't hit, and that should do it. Masu free to do all the damage he wants, going godlike in this matchup. Benny, a dead man walking, Junja running for the hills. Masu going golden, baby. Yet another quadra to come in.
Red Bull gives you wings.
And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good. I just feel so good. I just feel so good.
I've been living behind all the scenes, 'cause it's easier when they don't believe. Keep it quiet, keep it hush, keep denying, but the fire that's inside is igniting. Keep control, I'm like a bomb, it's ticking. Hit, explode, I won't be so Rosy cheeks on a pretty face. Promise I'm nice, but that goes two ways. I can scream, I can howl, it's performing. Don't wanna let it out, just take this as you're running. Me and my sharp tooth digging in, honey. I'm all self-made, not just lucky. Cool girl with a temper. Hits you from your blind spot, hits you where it's gonna hurt most. This has been a long time coming, building up my courage slowly. Ready if I have to fight, got no doubt. Don't crack under pressure, I'm built like a rough machine. And if you don't know what I mean, I can strike like a viper. Feel it coming, always up to something. Give me that power. Watch it get louder. Feel it rumbling better. Start here running. Go by like a spider. And I'll strike like a viper, like a viper. Hiding in plain sight, there's never time to run away. Slide like a tiger, baby, I'm not here to play.
I'm here with Mickey, and this is recorded after the HLE game, so we don't know the next opponent yet, but I think it's good to get some perspective right after this game specifically. What went wrong?
Well, I guess early game didn't go quite as planned. I think we were a little bit, looks like we were a bit sleepy in the early game. We were not really talking much, so we just got caught a lot of times. And then we weren't really paying attention to where they are. But then we got some good fights, some good momentum, we got some Barons. And I think we could have closed it when Caps was fighting mid 2v1 against Ashe Jax. And if I Hector over that wall, I think I just get a double stun because Ashe had no flash. And I think we just win the game there. But I messed it up. And then the game took a bit longer, and then we couldn't fight anymore because Smolder was too strong.
Yeah.
We tried to do some side lane plays. But yeah, it didn't really work out. But I'm confident that next time we can take it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the game, you said you had a bad early game, but the resiliency and the way in which you fought yourself back in the game, and you say it yourself, there was a couple of like mechanic misplays that in the end did us in. You know, how much courage does that give you that, hey, the game plan and the prep and our abilities is actually where it should be despite the loss?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It could be a lot worse, right? We could just gotten stumped, and then it was like, oh well, I guess we're just too bad. But it didn't feel like we were too bad. We were still worse. But at least for myself, at least, if I feel like if I don't int as much as I did this game, we're probably just gonna win. So that's nice for me.
Okay, I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed for you for the next game. Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you.
It's great to have some context around this game here, and this was the game.
It was close. I mean, Smolder did 58,000 damage, had 600 stacks, and had 10 kills. But the fact that this game was actually this close is a testament to how creative G2 actually was in finding plays.
Yeah, and I mean, that's been the most fun thing about G2 so far in this tournament. Like, both games they've had, double Yone games. The first one is a Yone Yasuo game, so that's already a fun composition to run with. And just being able to find plays and then just abuse Caps on side has been the thing that I've been enjoying the most, especially when they went up against Pain. Pain were just in a tough position because they wanted to play towards Baron or at least try and contest it, but they ended up being like, well, if we just send one person, Yone is going to be able to deal with them, so we need to send two. Then that means we're just completely conceding Baron. So it's like they were just in a tough position in that entire game.
And I'm just wondering, what could G2 do better today? Because they were able to put Caps on sideline and try and buy time and save the situation, but the early game didn't go quite the way they expected to. So I appreciate the fact that they trust their approach, they trust what they've been working on so far, but game-wise, and especially setting up the pace in the early stages of the game, I feel like G2 could do more.
Yeah, because at least this one was the PNG game where it felt like nothing could be done. But in the HLE game, it felt like it was a necessity because they were going to lose fights.
I think it's going to be tricky. I do wonder if they have anything cooked for non-meta picks that maybe Broken Blade could play, just because this is an updated bracket of what we have. Weibo has had an extremely difficult road here. They actually were very close to Gen G in that first game, and then they found their way into this game based off their second loss. But the importance of this is you can see the 2-1 pool and the 1-2 pool already being populated.
Yeah.
You really, 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 really want to be in that 2-1 pool because you'll have a second chance, especially now that BLG is already in that 1-2 pool. But specifically to your point, Laura, as we get to the MasterCard fan prediction, I do think the laning phase is going to be extremely hard in this game because Weibo, even against Gen G, we had an amazing stat. They were the first team all year to be ahead of Gen G top, mid, and bot at CS at 20. And they still lost the game to Gen G. That was a credit to Gen G. But that just shows how well Weibo Gaming's laners can play. So I think G2 will have an advantage if they get out of the early game with an even map state.
Well, let's get to game then. Casters, over to you for the last game of the day, Weibo versus G2.
I like the confidence in G2, Jet. I wish I wasn't a pessimist. I could revel there with you, but obviously going to be a thrilling game no matter what, especially when you think about the history of these two teams, and also when you think about the history of the mid laners, right? Caps and Xiao, who have been playing against each other since 2017 Worlds. Back when it was RNG versus Fnatic. Now a new era, a very different story.
7 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like when we started casting.
Yeah. The thing is, right, I think you could make the argument that on paper, G2 could be considered favorites in this matchup. However, Weibo are the most unpredictable team on the planet.
Yes, they are.
Domestically, they were a team that should not have made it to the LPL finals.
And yet
they did.
And last year, internationally, they were not a team that should have made it to the World Finals. And yet, they did.
Yeah, and they had a very good start in their game versus Gen G, and then they ended up getting outplayed. And then they had a bad start versus TL, where they were able to come back. And it's like, I can't figure this team out. And you know, I was speaking to Munch the other day, and I was like, am I mean for calling Weibo weird? And he's like, no, they're really weird. And I was like, okay, cool. Glad we're on the same page. They are a difficult team to predict, so I don't know what Weibo we're gonna get today. What I do know is that Tarzan is an incredible jungler, and if you give him the tools to carry, he will carry. So let's see what's on the ban table. Weibo targeting out Yike, similar to what HLE did. Yeah. They banned away the Brand, they banned away the Zyra. That meant that if G2 wanted to go for the Yone, he would be forced onto the Lilia. And I think that G2 should branch out. Regardless, the Yone is going to be banned away. So the Aurora is available right now. You imagine that's going to be the final pick, ban, I should say, on the side of Weibo. And then it becomes a question of what does the first pick priority become for G2?
Damn good question. A lot of high prio picks still available. Aurora, the one you highlighted first, and I think probably the most important, but Nidalee.
I like that a lot. We were just talking about Tarzan. I think this is one of his best champions. There is a difference. You'll notice Tarzan's early game impact when he's on a carry versus when he's on when he's not. That's not to say that he's bad when he's off carries.
No, sure.
But you really feel it in the early game when he's on something like a Nidalee.
Also, just LPL Nidalees can be terrifying, right? And the sheer amount of CC and setup champs that are present in the meta right now that AD carries are mostly gone from mid lane, means she's kind of better than ever in a lot of situations.
Kalista priority for G2. That explains the Poppy ban right from the start. Yep. Ashe removed as well. G2's coming with a clear game plan that they want to play towards the bot side of the map.
Do they also want to try something like the Nico, potentially? Obviously a champion, or do they want to just set up counterpick for Mikyx, I guess is the broader question, regardless of what it is.
You already talked about the LPL's priority around Jhin.
I don't like it. I think in the right circumstances, Jhin can be one of the best AD carries in the game, but it's so much more about the other stuff you put around him. I don't think he is the safe kind of early pick that most teams are using him as.
I was about to say the Rumble.
This is one of the picks that he needs to be the best AD in the meta.
When you pair that up with the Rumble, we haven't seen it from Breathe so far at this tournament, but they are going to lock it in for him. I think that it's such a great flexible pick, and I think that many teams have been finding success with it, in particular around the team fights.
And this is
Orianna's still up, by the way.
And this is something that Xiaohu's already played. This is something that was banned against G2 for most of MSI, if I remember correctly.
But the thing is now, if you're G2, do you really want to play Orianna into this?
Immobile carries against Jhin Rumble feels terrible. So now we have Galio. Remember that this is entirely a flex. Top Galio was kind of the big rumored priority pick. We've seen it a little bit. Hasn't looked too great. Yeah, we didn't look too great there. We also saw it mid in the hands of Scout yesterday in our series between LNG and DK. So still some room for interpretation in terms of where this is actually going to go, but definitely can mitigate some of the upfront damage of the Rumble, paired with
Well,
Rel.
it's not support anymore.
Well, nice. So right now, really great engage tools. Some good tools to mitigate any potential dive threat as well. Galio Taunt is so good, or has been so good historically against any kind of dive threat.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't convinced by the Galio top. We'll see if things are different this time round. Assuming that it is for Broken Blade, he was in Europe the big innovator for new top lane picks. He was the early adopter of the Rek'Sai top. He grabbed the Zac top as well. He's always been someone to try new stuff on the top side of the map. And we'll see if he does bring out this Galio. The Leona coming out for Crisp. I think this is definitely one of his preferred champions when you look across his career. Jhin Leona also just has great setup, and already Weibo have this fantastic siege composition. It's a bit old school, but like Rumble ultimate into Jhin ultimate is just, it's an easy way to force you off a tower, right? And if you throw in a Maokai as well, perhaps, easy Merc Tread setup there.
Sure.
But it just provides so much utility and zone control around these neutral objectives.
One, I think this is the kind of the context that's important for both these picks. With Rumble nerfed, not as powerful early on, obviously ult is still really good, but I think it's these two champions together that kind of amplifies both their powers so much. And if you're playing something as short range as Kalista, you really need to be able to pull the trigger and engage aggressively. But if you make a mistake against a duo like Rumble and Jhin, games fall apart very quickly. Now, seeing the Skarner taken away, obviously Tarzan thus far has been more about supporting the rest of the team, hasn't been on carry junglers. I imagine with so much damage in top lane, we will see the same be true. Sejuani, another kind of long range option to potentially, you can just keep G2 at arm's length.
But Weibo's thinking about mid bans right now, I think, anyway. Yeah, there's the Vi. I thought G2 may consider the Vi. Now they have to raise questions around, do they want to get rid of maybe Sejuani? What jungler are they even considering right now? Jungle pool is getting pinched a decent amount.
With Kalista Galio, you really want some damage coming out of top and jungle. Galio can do a decent amount, but usually, opting for
yeah, I see what you're saying. You're
defensive items early.
Something like a Viego, maybe.
I mean,
Jarvan, maybe.
Viego, big comfort pick for Yike. Obviously feels good when you can.
I mean, you can see the G2. I think G2 was thinking about the Vi ban themselves, but once Weibo decided to do it, they've removed one of the comfort picks for Xiaohu in mid lane. You imagine mid lane's going to be safe for last, so we should see a jungler come through now. Sejuani is a possibility. Maybe even the Ivern. Perhaps it's a little bit too much on the... we talked about the Maokai earlier. There's going to be the lock-in. You are now kind of looking at maybe an AD mid laner. If they go for AP, it's a lot of magic damage on the side of Weibo. Into Galio, that's not ideal. But, like, I guess it's going to be a Tristana.
I think it has to be a Galio top at this point.
Yep.
This would be bold.
That would be interesting. Drawing some inspiration from
the VCS,
perhaps.
This is a champion that can be disrupted. Orianna instead going to be the option here. So likely we need AD in the jungle pool, and this is quite a combo in terms of disrupting the long-range threat that Weibo have brought to the table.
Now, we've been seeing at the World Championship teams utilize Nocturne's ultimate very effectively to create surprise engages so that champions can find good flanks even in warded up areas. And when you pair that with a Rel and a Galio, you can see how powerful the engage tools really are. Meanwhile, so for those that don't understand, G2 have this great kind of wombo combo set up with the team fight. The Orianna Nocturne is a very lethal combo that has easy access onto the backline. Meanwhile, Weibo, they have similar team fighting strengths. We already talked about the zone control that Rumble and Jhin together provide, but when you throw in a Maokai to boot, like around objectives, it becomes very difficult to approach or even start one just because of how much space Weibo can occupy. Tristana and Jhin going to be offering a lot of consistent DPS in the later game fights, and even after the nerfs, I think that Tristana is still a fine champion. But yeah, there's a lot of damage on the side of Weibo, that's for sure. We'll see if G2 can weather the storm and how this early game is going to play out, because we've had mixed performances from Weibo, one really good early game, one not so good one against Team Liquid, whereas for G2, the criticism around their early game pretty much all year, as they focused on improving the mid game, which we see. They find good fights, they play the map well, but their early game has still been a point of discussion.
And it can be very difficult to come back against a composition like Weibo's when they have an advantage, when they can leverage that to get set up first. The sheer range, even if Nocturne can turn out the lights, it doesn't always mean that you'll be able to stop the kills from coming through. obviously a lot of G2 fans in the house. Weibo fans as well. Love to see it. I'm starting to feel the tension build. Wonder if this is how Jat and Raz felt in our previous game. Because as you said, Weibo can be a bit of an unknown quantity, but frankly, I really like what they put together in terms of the draft. Jin, a champion that I think in the right circumstances can really take over games, really be such a fantastic powerhouse of a pick. We saw it in the Jackie Love game when he could get all those static shift procs, and Weibo have the recipe here to make that happen again.
But I also think the reason why this matchup is tense for EU fans specifically is that as the first seed from the LEC, as someone who internationally is expected to make it far, against the 4th seed from the LPL, on paper, this should be a favored matchup for G2.
Yeah.
If they want to stick by their convictions that they are able to contest the World Championship, right? Like, this is a matchup that they should be winning, which is why I think there's a lot on the line for the side of G2. For Weibo, of course, a roster where their expectations have been very low. Yeah. From the outside in, it's difficult to gauge how strong this Weibo is, and the fact that they've continued to surprise. Last year's World Championship, this year in terms of their LPL playoff run, they're a team that's able to find that magic, and I think a lot of it comes off the back of Tarzan's consistency in terms of his early game impact, and then Light. This man is incredibly consistent in terms of his damage output, his laning phase, and G2 are putting a lot of emphasis in the early game on their bot lane 2 versus 2.
Definitely are. I want to draw attention briefly to the mid lane just because there is so much history here. And of course, favoring Xiaohu. It's important to note a lot of these games happened in the Fnatic era when LEC as a whole, or EU LCS at the time, weren't able to compete. When Xiaohu was really dominating with RNG across the board, it was Perkz really who had the better record against Xiaohu. Now we'll have to see if this is a new chapter for this particular rivalry. But as you said, bot lane early at least. Maybe a big center of attention. That's on Mickey. Nice exchange there. Ignite for Ignite overall.
Both AD carries relatively healthy. Level 2 going to be coming through soon. Oh, Xiaohu gets a nice trade onto Caps there. Orianna does have the ability to consistently hit her opponent thanks to her Clockwork Wind-Up passive. Yep. But Tristana's still Tristana. So as long as she keeps hitting you in the face, she's going to do a lot of damage. On the top side of the map, we can see the Galio getting a bit of push in the 1v1 matchup. Broken Blades going for the Aftershock, providing him those extra bit of resistances. There's that magic shield from his W. Not going to be at a very high level early on. It is going to help him get some very nice trades, maybe even
really
a kill.
Good trades.
Oh
nice.
My!
On the E!
Broken Blade just finds it. So this is what the Galio does in the matchup. You get the early push, you get the level advantage, finds a solo kill onto Breathe. Broken Blade holding on to the moniker of best top laner in Europe.
And this is so crucial. Because it's not just about the laning phase, but Rumble has so much impact on what this composition of Weibo can do, putting him down early, delaying a level 6, getting a lead for this Galio. It's big for the side of G2 Esports. A misstep from Breathe, obviously a bit of an unconventional matchup. We don't see it that much outside of solo.
I mean, who would expect that to just get...
I just always love the E backwards. Because you can obviously, you can hit it on the wind-up if you go backwards.
But also, there was this change when Galio got this like mini rework where the passive just comes up a lot more often now. And I think that Breathe just wasn't kind of expecting that to come out so quickly because the damage from Broken Blade really caught him unawares. No flash, ended up being bird. And yeah, small lead. Merc Treads. Magic resistance already being bought by Broken Blade.
Definitely. The early itemization going to favor him a lot. Hansama forced to cleanse here as Tarzan's on the way in. Bit of an overstep. Might be some bad information where the enemy jungler was, but an easy and fast kill pick up for the side of Weibo. Tarzan taking the kill. Maybe not ideal, but didn't want to wait for Light to reload.
A crucial mistake from Hans as he overstays for the wave, making sure that it gets underneath the tower. Mickey thinks that he's safe to allow him to push that in, but Tarzan's in a position to collapse, doing a full clear from his top side towards bot, and just like that, Weibo have equalized the kill score.
Good opportunity recognition from the side of Weibo, and for G2, reminds me of yesterday, right? Broken Blade was doing fine in the top lane 1v1 for the early game, and G2's bot lane was winning initially, but they overstayed a little bit, and it cost them. Part of the reason why that early game was so rough against Hanwha Life. This mid lane match, however, much more even than yesterday's was.
Crucially, both of Hansama's summoners are now gone. Light expended his flash as well, but still has the cleanse available. So while the top side of the map going favorably for G2, the bot side of the map, small advantage gained for Weibo.
I will say that Slowing Broken Blade down is a tall task for Weibo. They have exclusively magic damage on jungle top. Broken Blade's naturally going to build magic resist. Hollow Radiance likely to be the first item.
I mean, Merc Treads gets a lot of value.
Merc Treads, Hollow Radiance, you're gonna have wave clear, and he might, I don't know if he can win the 2v1, but he can certainly live for quite a long time.
Sure. Naturally, Galio doesn't have a huge amount of damage if you're not building for it, especially.
No.
But yeah, we kind of take stock of the map. I wonder if we'll see some resets come through soon. The Grubs are going to be up in 30 seconds. TP's committed from
Double
both solo
TPs.
laners.
At the same time,
No rotation just yet from Hans Sama.
keep in mind, Broken Blade could have probably walked back to top. You can see the wave's in a position where he didn't necessarily need to immediately TP, but wants to have that prio. Wants to be able to open up Grubs as a potential option, or at least very least reset the wave. Now the TP from Xiaohu. Early itemization, just some mercs to make it through the laning phase. Again, pretty high value. Yike gonna be first on the Grubs, but Weibo gonna be playing around the bottom side instead. Have a lot of really good scaling tools, so setting themselves up for a potential Drake win condition does make sense. Conceding Grubs early is always a bit of a risk. Likely means they will have to contest the second spawn, but for now, just the trade of objectives.
Wisely done by Weibo. I think they recognize that trying to fight on the top side probably isn't the smartest choice for them. Instead, they'll just play around the fact that there's a wave pushing on the bot side of the map. Easy trade of objectives. The Rumble can just drop the ulti into the top lane, which is exactly what Breathe is going to do. You can see that skill on cooldown. Catch that top wave, go back to base. Not much the Broken Blade can do about it. Meanwhile, G2's bot lane has to play on the weak side. They'll catch the wave being pushed in. And ultimately, just a trade of objectives. So relatively slow early game. Impressive stuff from Broken Blades. And a nice punish from Weibo to catch out Hans Sama. Summoners slowly coming off cooldown. And we're kind of setting our sights on the next Grub spawn in about 3.5 minutes as Nocturne now ticking over to 6. Tarzan looking to do the same in the near future.
Should be a big fight. We'll see who can get favorable setup. Both supports also racing to get level 6 as quickly as they can. Obviously last year when Herald spawned at 8 minutes, so much of the discussion was that arms race for support level 6 this year. Can't contest it on first Grubs, but second Grubs should be able to have it reliably. And honestly, just a very, very tense game. And this is interesting because I think we expected kind of today to be this all-out bloodbath, but a lot of our games have been very reserved for both teams.
Except game 1.
Except for game 1. Game 1 not reserved. Game 1 needed to be reserved.
Yes. But it was not.
It was not.
Cap's looking for a bit of a trade onto Xiaohu. Crisp there to cover. Similar position for Mickey. I think both supports are a little outside of XP range. Mickey going to clear out that ward.
A lot of emphasis on topside control here. Waves crashing in. I guess just looking to set up some control wards for future plays, future objectives. Keep eyes on Yike, obviously post level 6. Paranoia can't always just be such a powerful tool to punish side laners, to punish anyone for overstepping on waves.
Mickey in a good position, but going to be spotted out by Crisp. Both supports should aim to try and get their level 6 ASAP. The next Grub spawn is in 2 minutes' time. Yike continues to power farm through his jungle. Tarzan a little bit behind on the clears, you'd kind of expect. Yike hasn't really looked for any ganks as of yet. He does have some setup on the bot side of the map, but with all their summoners available, it may be a little bit tricky. I think his first use of the ultimate is largely going to come off the back of Caps trying to find that wombo combo.
We're really gearing up for a big fist fight around the next objective. All of these summoner spells coming back up, neither side. Going for too many aggressive moves. You can see G2 kind of forced to retreat here, not having an early support itemization, not having any wards in inventory does mean they don't have tri-brush control, and it's the looming threat of Tarzan appearing in their lane for the side of G2 is just always there without that information.
It's going to come through from Mickey, who is now finally level 6. Crisp actually still short on that experience. Merc Tread's now secured for Mickey, along with the control ward. Tiamat picked up as well. Perhaps the Phage, I missed which one came first. But Stridebreaker on its way for Yike, regardless. Here are the Grubs now, 55 seconds. We've been talking a lot about them because I'm curious as to whether or not you imagine that G2's going to have a priority on them, and the question is Weibo going to look to try and fight, given that there's still a minute discrepancy between the Dragon and the Grubs, or instead will they concede it, perhaps look for some pressure on the bot side of the map?
Mickey trying to create some pressure. think maybe hoping to contest Xiao at least a little bit on his mid push here to ensure that they do have first access to the grubs. And when we talk about this G2 composition, it's not that they necessarily have the strongest side laners in the world, but whenever you build a composition with Nocturne, your side lanes just naturally get that much better, and you can really leverage this grub buff.
Certainly can. Notice that the bot lane of Weibo has made their way up, so it looks like they're eager to contest. Hans Sama making a beeline towards there now. Cleared
Look at
out
this
that
from
wave.
Caps. He's prioritized first item completion. He has no boots. He just rushed that Ludens, wanting to be more powerful for the fight.
Nice spike to have for sure.
Downside of double 80 carries, you have no item spikes.
Remember, Broken Blade doesn't actually have to rotate down if he doesn't want to. He can just keep the Rumble pushed and then has the ultimate available. Let's see how G2 can utilize the Nocturne ultimate as Weibo now trying to find space. Remember the amount of zone control they have, though. Maokai ultimate, Rumble ultimate, Jin ulti.
This might be a situation where G2 just take the 4th grub and walk away.
They're looking for more.
Right now, Weibo Gaming are just window shopping. They don't have an angle into
Rumble's
the objective.
too far away, that's why.
Might get the 4th grub buff.
You're completely right. Weibo have just sat and watched.
And this is the problem, is they're waiting for that window of opportunity to leverage their composition, but G2 just don't really give them the angle, and they don't feel confident to just force and start the fight, and as a result, they show up to watch another team get a 6th grub buff.
Now, G2 have said, we're quite happy to concede the next dragon, you can have it, because now we've got 6 grubs, and Kalista can be left alone in top lane. Breathe will have the ultimate available to clear out this wave. I think the idea from G2 is to maybe funnel some plates into Hans Sama, but I don't think this plan is going to pay off just because of the Rumble ulti.
Difficult. Broken Blade, obviously when you're playing out on a side lane.
Oh, the dive. Smart play from G2, but again, here's the Rumble ulti that we were just talking about.
I think it's important to stress, G2 playing incredibly well around the 2nd grub spawn. Caps sacrificing himself in terms of boots, which would have helped the lane a lot to prioritize that first major item completion to make sure they were stronger. It does require them to concede the Drake, but now they're about to knock down the first tower of the game.
They're really committed for this, and I think it's a good gold injection. They're sharing it across 3. I'm a little surprised that they would give some of that gold to Mickey, but that's first tower. That's a lot of gold.
This is a very big gold lead. Weibo are setting themselves up for a Cloud Soul kind of win condition or a way to force a 5v5. But G2 are very rapidly accumulating a pretty significant lead.
Notice that they've put Xiaohu into Broken Blade with the idea being, ha, you've built all this magic resistance and we have an AD mid laner. That means that our Tristana can actually do damage to you. And then Broken Blade has said, okay, I'm happy to play this matchup, but that does mean that your Rumble is now at risk of being dived. And so, what could Breathe do there? He threw the ultimate down, the idea was good, but then the next wave spawned, he's zoned away from the wave. Look, he's cautious to even approach this, because as you highlighted earlier, Nocturne, side lanes, scary, real scary, because if you overstep, the ability to collapse is very quick.
Right now, the good news is it's only rank 1 of ultimate, and mid lane tower is still standing. When that one falls, it's so easy for G2 to get access to Weibo's jungle. But this is a situation where G2 are leveraging the power of their composition in the 6 grubs, but now Weibo want to punish Caps for overstaying, but here comes the Galio to try to disrupt the play. Mickey ready to turn as well. G2 should just be content to retreat. Maokai ultimate hitting 2, 4 shot on the Caps, trying to get him out of the exchange. G2, do they want this fight? They already absorbed the engage, they got what they came for in the bottom lane. No, they're not gonna take the 5v5, they just go right back for the tower, knowing Weibo doesn't have a wave to play around. Caps can recall and TP right back to mid.
He has to be careful about that TP though. The risk of a dive is still very real. Maokai ulti used, but Breathe, his ulti is going to be up available soon. Light and Crisp also used their engages. Smart TP from Caps onto the tier 2.
The plates are still up for a brief moment, so they don't really have a way to threaten the entire tower.
I mean, the criticism coming in was, can G2 play the early game well? I can say with confidence they're playing the early game well. They're leveraging the strength of the early grubs that they set up for cleanly. They're playing around the fact that Hans Sama is as strong as he is, and they secure top tower, funnel that gold into Hans Sama and Yike, then rotate towards bot, leverage the push they have to unlock that tower as well. And on top of that, Caps should have been caught, doesn't burn the flash, TP's back to mid, keeps the tower alive, and now they can have Hans and Mickey come mid with Caps to start sieging onto this final outer tower.
And Xiaohu's still fighting to complete that first item, which means that it's very likely that Weibo cannot contest this Herald, which means that G2 are very likely to break mid, but they don't even need the Herald. They have so much pressure. They see Xiaohu bottom lane, they know he has no TP, they know Breathe has no TP, so they're gonna at least get a massive chunk here. They're gonna stick around.
They're committing to this tower, and they will secure it. 3 towers, back to back to back. 15 minutes in, and the best they can get is a cross map on the bot side. Xiaohu trying to unlock this tower, but the Herald available as well. that top wave in an awkward spot. Someone has to go and catch it.
Caliber of early game we have not seen from G2
in a while.
In quite some time.
They are just playing the map so much better than
We
Weibo
might
is.
even have to go back to one of those the first T1 series at MSI to find something like this. But
I mean,
credit to them,
for
it's not.
international viewers, right, like, Dregs and I have cast G2 all year long.
No, you guys don't understand. They just lose and then come back because their macro's good. They just die randomly early game and then they come back. And they're really good at coming back.
Yeah, their summer was not great. Their summer was not great at all. And like the biggest question coming into this World Championship was, can they clear up their early game? So to see them have an early game like this is a surprise, but a welcome one.
And I mean, Mickey talked about it.
I think his quote was, if I just don't int, we would have won against HLE.
I mean, that could be one of many interviews. But, you know, talked a lot about the team ramping up and feeling like the HLE game was winnable despite a rough early game, and that giving the team confidence and that they're building towards that final form. But of course, pro players are always going to say that.
True.
You know what I mean? They're always going to be like, yeah, we got it. We're one step away. To see it come to fruition, impressive stuff thus far. When we look at Weibo on the opposite side, however, Leandries is completed. Kraken is completed. You've got a Shiv. There are tools now to fight on at least more even footing with G2. As long as they don't finish those second item spikes, you have a reasonable angle to contest them.
And don't forget, Weibo found themselves behind against Team Liquid. Team Liquid made a couple fumbles, and then Weibo were able to fight their way back in.
Speaking of, Mickey in trouble now. The
Crisp
lights
is dead.
turned off. Crisp is dead. G2 quick to turn, and now they're going to try to lock down Xiaohu, isolate him out of the fight. Broken Blade stepping up. Taunt is there. Fear there onto Xiaohu. Nice use of the spell shield to stop the knockback coming in. They're trying to turn it back with a rumble. Light still standing for now. Caps is going to be the one in trouble. Breathe and Light turning the fight for a moment, but Yike able to take down Xiaohu. Broken Blade trying to get involved as well, but Mickey is getting lower and lower. Yike needs to try and clean up. Weibo happy with the fight thus far. One more shot. Will it be enough? Light still standing. Hatsama can't get involved. He needs to finish off this Galio. Broken Blade, can he make the difference? A messy, scrappy fight, but the curtains are called. G2 need to be quick. The footwork needs to be good. One side step. Hans! Taken out. Maybe thought Broken Blade was going to body block, but that is huge for Weibo.
And it's the team fighting capability of Weibo that comes through. Crisp's initiation is a little bit disconnected from the rest of the team, but the overchase from G2 ends up being punished. You'll notice here, as Mickey tries to get vision, the collapse comes in, but Crisp immediately gets collapsed on thanks to all these globals that come through from G2. Then they try to force the fight, but the fight on two fronts, while Yike is turning his attention to Xiaohu with Mickey at his assistance. Look at this Rumble ultimate onto Caps and Hans as we turn our attention back to live.
Just a bit of split attention there. Needed to finish off Xiao, so he couldn't get back into the fight, but Mickey not being there means they lost so much of that CC. G2, though, still priority access on the objective. They've already cleared out tier 1 mid, so they will grab this Drake. They will slow the sole option from the side of Weibo. For now, G2 still hold the lead, but it's a reminder of how good Weibo can be in those fights if G2 falter for even a moment.
Yeah, I mean, the fight was disconnected and Weibo immediately took advantage of that. They realized, hang on, they've split their resources too far and we can punish this. A really nice ulti came through from Breathe. Light's positioning was fantastic. 3-0-2 the scoreline now for him. He's still behind a little bit in terms of gold, but he is a full level up over Hansama. We talked about him coming into this game, how he's been that consistent, reliable carry for Weibo. He's looking to do the same thing here to bring Weibo back into this game.
G2 have to play carefully. Obviously, we've seen Jin games where he's not able to do a whole ton. A lot of people skeptical about how good the Static Shiv can be. But if you're able to find those resets and fights, it can do so much work. Scrappy back and forth fight. G2 trying to assert their dominance on the top side of the map.
Both supports covering for their mid laners. Jungler's not that far behind. Yike looking for an ult angle. As Broken Blade actually takes the mid wave. Hansama moving up towards top. Not sure what the game plan is here for G2 as they overstack on the
But they
top side
see
of the map.
Yike, which is crucial because Breathe can now push as far as he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, all the waves are being caught right now. Nice push in from Breathe. Broken Blade's going to head towards bot. Looks like nothing too dramatic is going to come off the back of that.
I mean, we're 40 seconds away from Baron. G2 can't really threaten at this stage, although Kalista obviously very strong on helping you secure the objective. Either side gets it, honestly. It's pretty difficult for the opposition to slow that push without engaging completely.
2 items now finished for Light. I imagine that he's going to start building the big damage items next.
Hansama really wants to finish this next item.
Still a ways off it though. Finds himself still a full level behind that of Light.
Good discipline from Weibo, waiting to see more members on the map before Chris steps too far forward. Once he sees him on the wave, he knows he can walk in, has the team to back him up.
Patient play overall, as neither team really sees an easy objective to play for. Weibo love to unlock more of these outer towers, but difficult. They can't really find many opportunities on the map. G2, though, conversely, unless they start sieging onto a tier 2, there's not much that they can really do. Herald's actually going to be dropped. They're going to send that towards the bot lane as Caps is there. He has that escape route as he has used a few times throughout the year. Xiaohu chipping away at that tower. Broken Blade TP up going to be soon.
While G2 happy to put Caps on the Orianna, obviously is going to have the same side lane threat they were used to in their previous game with the Yone. So we'll need to be a bit more conservative on when they push out and fight for these tier 2s. Top lane tier 1 dropping down, and Weibo really starting to even out the gold. Again, item completion's the big thing, and with Jin at least slightly ahead of the curve, Xiao can finish his second item as well. We're on pretty good footing to start coming out on top in these 5v5s.
You can see Tarzan giving up some of his farm to help funnel Xiaohu. Won't spot any vision thanks to the Scuttle Crab. Much ready to be found though. Broken Blade, the Riftmaker second, something that we often see on Gallios to give them a bit of consistent damage. Grouping once again from G2 in the mid lane. Hunt now finishing off the Rage Blade, so Caps really the only one that hasn't been able to complete his item ahead of the Dragon fight in about a minute 20. He should still have time and has the TP available, but they're prioritizing getting gold into Hans Sama. They set their sights on the mid tier 2. Not going to overstay their welcome. I think Xiaohu has to be close to his item. He's waiting in base.
Dragon in a minute and 10 seconds.
Waiting.
Timer counting down. Broken Blade set to push the side wave out.
Navori now completed for Xiaohu.
So such a big spike for Tristana too.
And the BF sword picked up for Light as well. So I mean, Weibo's getting into a good spot here, ready for the next fight. The Rumble relatively weaker to Broken Blade, but ultimately still has the Liandry, so that red carpet's going to dish out some serious damage.
And sometimes when you have follow-up like a Jin ultimate, all that really matters is a little bit of damage from the Rumble and the slow it provides to ensure you can just isolate those targets. It's hard for Caps to play this out. He's really the most immobile champion on this team. Luckily has the Galio ult to protect him, but if they're using it too defensively, it's going to cost them in some of the fights.
I mean, it's a tense affair. You can tell that a lot of this game is going to come down to the ensuing fights. G2 turning their attention away.
Tarzan on the side. Initial ulti going wide. Nice sidestep from G2. Deadly Flourish also there. TP from Breathe.
Wow, that was a quick response. Weibo were really poised to fight there. They use Crisp's ulti. Now the Dragon becomes a much easier objective to take without one of the engaged tools available. Breathe forced to catch the bot wave once again.
Top wave's not in a bad spot for G2 either. Weibo behind on the play. They can maybe try to rush Baron, but this would be incredibly greedy. They're going to start it though, realizing they don't really have any recourse to stop G2 from taking the Drake.
But it's too ambitious because G2 can just leave the Kalista to take it alone. She's more than happy to solo this objective, especially with the Rend, and that means that the Orianna can be in a position to zone the enemy away.
G2
Crisp
have to stay composed here. Going in onto Yike. Caps isolated. Tarzan now trying to follow up. Nocturne turns the lights off, and they're managing to burn through G2. Mickey trying to make his way out to safety. Yike already retreating. Weibo, they needed that fight. They find it, and now they can turn to the Baron.
Great target selection from Weibo. They find an angle behind Caps, not giving him an opportunity to flash away. They're not even going to try and steal away the Baron. Objective secured. G2 trying to get what else they can on the map.
It is going to take a bit of time, though. They'll at least knock down a tier 2. They'll keep the gold close. Light stepping far forward. G2 don't have perfect information. They can't afford to approach. Well played by Weibo. They knew they lost the Dragon. They really had to find that pick, or they would have lost out big time on the map.
Just a great collapse, all in all. You'll see the chain CC that comes down onto Caps, and there's so little they can do. That angle from Tarzan on the left. Chris looks like that he's overstaying. He connects onto Yike, but this just gives him the ability to get on top of Caps, and look at that chain CC. Root into connect from the Jin. They followed up with a pick onto Mickey, who doesn't bother flashing away, realizing there's little that he can do to get away. And that converts into a Baron for Weibo. Because of the 2 towers secured by G2, I believe they actually still hold on to the gold lead for now. But this is going to be much easier with 2 outer towers still available. There's a lot of standing gold. Oh, I say that 1 tower did drop in the top lane. Standing gold available for Weibo to grab at least in the mid lane.
Important to even things up. Again, 80 carry, 3rd item spike's going to feel very good for Weibo. For G2, you're in a situation where They really set that play up better around the Drake, but Weibo really recognized that window of opportunity to force G2 to come up to them, to threaten the Baron, and then were able to find that engage. Yike maybe a little bit late on the paranoia, you could say. Didn't really have too much effect on the fight. And now we're in a much more even game state, but with Weibo, the next minute and 40 seconds, they control the map.
I mean, this is the thing. It's a lot harder for G2 to level. Oh,
engage under Breathe. They get the Seekers out. Weibo, are they in a position to follow up? Ulti from Mickey not going to connect, but they get the flash out of Breathe. Meanwhile, Xiaohu in the side lane. Someone's eventually going to need to respond. G2 seems like they want to force the fight. Your eyes on Yike.
To overstay here.
Tarzan sticking around. Xiaohu now trying to get involved. Where's the ulti going to go? They need to isolate a carry. They need to get Yike on top of a key target. Breathe. They know he's got nothing left. They want to finish him off. Good equalizer, but Broken Blade is there to fall off the Rumble out of the equation. A reset now coming in. Broken Blade into 2. Both AD carries taken off the board for a brief moment. Going gold in the meantime. Chris buying a bit more space. Hansama trying to follow, but Xiaohu and Light are still alive. Light still standing. 1 bullet. The first static reset. Light ready to take over a 4-shot. There, Xiaohu trying to get out. It's a close battle. It's a back and forth. Light. Can he get it done? He's getting lower and lower. He needs to reload. He's got 4 shots. There's 3 opponents. If he can find the kill, the math might work in his favor. The spear coming in. Caps finishes it with the wind-up. Xiaohu versus the world now. Desperate to get the rocket jump reset. He's going to get one, but he will go down. It's a close fight, but G2 take it in the end.
It's an ace for G2 off the back of Broken Blade's heroics. He finds a crucial 2-man knockup into Taunt, setting up the whole fight. You'll notice here at the start, G2 turned their attention onto Breathe, isolated as Mickey becomes the target. Xiao, who's not in a good position to follow up, and the near sight from the Nocturne ultimate makes it hard for him to follow. The Galio ultimate coming through, and then Hansama ultimate, and this flash, Taunt into knockup. It's the 2 crucial carries. It buys enough time for G2 to reposition. Xiaohu and Light's forced to retreat, and then the fight gets split up. Broken Blade and Caps turn their attention to the top side. Light almost single-handedly turns the fight around if it weren't for the tower. But then he's forced to retreat as Caps regroups with the team. Xiaohu with the TP tries to turn the play around, but then Light takes too much damage. The Liandry's finishes him off, and while Xiaohu almost cleans up the fight, it's too much damage, and it's G2 that walk away with an ace.
Incredible fight from both sides. Light was 1 auto away from killing 3 members of G2. All it would have taken is 1 more static proc, and he would have been able to clean up the rest. Incredibly close fight. They have to be careful with the Jhin in the future. He's only getting stronger. You see 4K damage. Hansama able to auto attack so consistently, manages to outmatch him. But this is a game of inches. Centimeters, it's so damn close.
I mean, but regardless, like, Broken Blade is the MVP of this game. This man is having
solo kill top.
An incredible performance. Weibo haven't really found a reliable way to deal with him yet. It's so difficult, though, with the Nocturne ultimate, and then the Galio can come, and you just can't see it coming. It's so difficult to navigate your way through those fights. Weibo kind of need to be the ones to initiate.
And crucially, Light is flashless. He's so vulnerable to that combo in the next fight. Breathe flashless as well. Hasn't got enough money to complete the Zhonya's either.
Here we go.
But it's Broken Blade who's potentially been caught out. Initial taunt looks good. He's going to try to ult to his teammates. Forced back. Goes gold and the rest of the team now on the way. Yike does have ultimate. Do they want to go for this one, or they do want to accept the loss? Beautiful pick from the side of Weibo.
I mean, they're doing a good job of keeping Xiaohu on a side lane. Typically a strength that you associate with Caps on the Orianna. He just can't do what Xiaohu's been doing this game. He's been getting so many resources. He got that tier 2 tower in the top lane as well. He has a 2-level advantage over Caps, and he is at 3 fully completed items. They know that he's the one carry that can shut down Broken Blade, and they're able to catch him off on a side lane.
Big for the Baron setup. A minute now. Top wave pushing in will demand a response. Mid lane slightly in favor of G2.
I mean, Xiaohu is really the big I say Xiaohu's the problem. Light's
also a problem.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't going to be an easy road. G2 won the last fight. But you can see how Xiaohu still has the tools to make this game complicated in a way in which G2 often leverage the side lane to convert games in their favor. Xiaohu can do the same thing in this game. Level 16 being ticked over for many members on both sides.
I mean, Tristana's also got a lot of range, the reset potential here, but it looks like G2 want to try and find a fight, want to try and find a pick of their own. They spot out Tarzan. How many resources can they afford to burn to kill this jungle? It looks like they're willing to spend all of them as Tarzan's about to fall. He tries to flash the safety, but the Rend is there. Broken Blade again off to the side. He finds the Jhin. Isolated, but Breathe is there to protect him, to keep him standing. G2 want to keep going. They know they can take the Baron. 8 seconds. Jungler dead. They should just be able to grab it, but Weibo not dropping anybody else, refusing to fall.
They don't have the Rumble ultimate, which is such a valuable tool. Light gets sent back to base. They have a little bit of vision thanks to the Scuttle Crab, but Tarzan's death is likely going to cost the Baron. How are they going to steal this one away with the Rend available too? They're going to try their best to fight their way back in.
Weibo approaching. Light standing back 8 seconds till the curtain call. This should just be G2's Baron. They recognize they have no access, no way to get in. G2, great pick onto Tarzan, recognizing that window of opportunity to take a jungler out.
I like the idea there from Yike as well. Groups up with Broken Blade, immediately turn their attention onto Light, trusting the other members of the team to clean up the pick onto Tarzan. Means that they almost got Light as well. He's only forced to burn the cleanse though. Just like that, Baron secured for G2. They need to reset though, shouldn't overstay their welcome. And you're seeing how difficult this composition is for Weibo to navigate. Functionally, if they're the ones to initiate, the layering of their ultimates can be massive, especially onto a low mobility carry like this Orianna. They can really limit the movement of a Kai'Sa as well. Unfortunately, they haven't really been given many opportunities to set that one up. Outside of the pick that they were able to find on Caps, a lot of the fights have been set on G2's terms. There was a situation in the bot lane where G2 overcommitted and overforced for the fight in which Weibo could turn things around. But whenever it's G2 to initiate with the Nocturne ultimate, Weibo just, it's so difficult for them to fight their way back.
And with G2 having the Baron empowering their push, allowing them to set up this vision first, the opportunity for Weibo to start those long-range engages just really isn't there right now. Minute 45.
Look at Tristana once
left
again
on the
though,
Baron.
in the mid lane.
Xiaohu sees that he has an angle. Hard for anyone really to match him. Broken Blade a threat. Ulti there. Tarzan trying to kick things off. Breathe an ultimate as well. A lot of resources burned to try and stop the push here, but there's another Baron wave coming in. They're going to have to concede this inhibitor.
Rumble ulti?
They have to be ready to go straight for the 5v5 if they don't want to lose this. But I think they should just give it up.
They're going to. Look at mid lane as well. Broken Blade keeping the push up, ready with his ultimate to join the fray at any moment.
G2 have to be careful though. Walking through that choke is such a risky proposition. Tarzan not having ult though is big. Weibo, I think conceding their ultimate ability just a little bit too early. Now gonna have to give more. Nice ulti coming in from Breathe. No immediate follow-up. Hansama quick to cleanse here. Flashes on all the carries. Cleanse down for Hans.
The 6 grubs doing so much work as well.
G2 continuing to push forward. Tarzan once again isolated from the rest of the team. Broken Blade going in, taunted up by Chris. Nice stun to stop from pushing forward. Broken Blade getting lower and lower. Dash through. A decent angle. Curtain call there. Xiaohu hoping to find the resets. Ulti coming out from Yike to try to get some more space for his team. Xiaohu now looking to follow. Sterix gauge big there. Xiaohu has to be careful though. It's a greedy move. It's gonna cost him. Burn down. He thought he had the angle, but G2 playing with discipline, just back off.
He was looking for a moment of resets. Get that first kill, reset comes through. Maybe he can clean up the fight. But unfortunately, it doesn't come to fruition. A lot of flashes were burnt on the side of G2, but they get 2 inhibitors. The dragon spawns in 50 seconds, but maybe they don't care about it. With a few, well, with not much time left on the Baron, maybe they're setting their sights on the top lane.
Breathe does now have the Zhonya's, but he has no flash. Xiaohu has no flash, and that is massive for G2. Makes it so much easier for them to play out this fight. Xiaohu, you can understand why he went for it. The rocket jump resets, the static resets, the ability for Jhin to back him up from range. The montage potential was there, but the team was not in position, and it only puts them further behind. 1 inhibitor left. G2 can't afford to take risks, but in their position, set up to close this one out clean.
I mean, Xiaohu's still dead. If nothing else, they'll set up for this last inhibitor tower. The Grubs once again doing work. Tarzan trying to be off on the flank, has the ulti available. They're gonna go.
Spotted. Crisp ulti, the last chance. Redemption there. Crisp into the back line. Tarzan off on the side. Yike doing what he can to body block. Good movement for G2 to get away from the ulti. Broken Blade, decent ulti, but they've already lost Mickey. G2, do they want to keep going forward? Resets now coming in. Light 4 shot. Not doing a lot. Xiaohu off to the side. No flash, but might not need it. Re-engage now coming in. Beautiful combo on the Orianna. Hansama on a rampage. Can they clean the fight? A 3v3 now. No way, but they might not need it. Xiaohu rocket jumping out. G2.
Look at the base, look at the base. It's falling apart for Weibo. It's a 2 for 2, sorry, as 3 members remain alive, but Caps has the TP available to him. He's gonna TP back to top lane.
They want to close it. 36 seconds on Light, 28 on Crisp. Breathe, no ultimate. Xiaohu has his. It would require a miracle. G2 continuing to push. They've got supers. They've got so much in their favor. The 3-man core standing strong. But Xiaohu, Breathe, and Tarzan want to make the difference. Xiaohu going in. Hansama backing away. Broken Blade with an excellent two-man taunt. Caps there to follow up, and now Breathe is going to be in trouble. Knockback from Zhao, who was clutch, buying a bit more space, but Broken Blade just does not take damage. Tarzan in trouble now. Blade of the Rune King procced. Broken Blade single-handedly zoning, but G2 need to get the hell out. They bought enough time. Light is about to respawn. G2 could be in trouble. Yes, they found the kill. And Berlin comes alive. Caps turns it back, but Crisp is now on the hunt. Light has the ulti. Curtains opened. Hans Sama gets out, though, crucially.
Mickey's
the
back in
base
the fight.
following. Broken Blade still standing. Breathe, the blinking health bar. Hans Sama has the damage. The TP coming in. Caps is here. Paranoia is here. G2 want to end it. They've isolated the 80 carry away. Do they just want to focus the Nexus? Caps trying to get a bit more space. Light still standing. 4 bullets. Hans Sama pulling him back. Breathe getting so much damage down. Mickey knows that he keeps Light out. G2 will end the game. Crisp down. Light running. G2 will take down Weibo.
G2 did it! They broke the game!
Clutch fights.
Yes!
Being pulled off by Yike and Caps, Hans Sama doesn't hesitate to flash in and follow up on the damage dealt. G2 needed to make a statement at this World Championship, and they will take down the LPL 4th seed.
An incredibly close game. We've set it up. As the boys take their bow and send it back to the analyst desk.
Perfectly close, but not close enough. I loved it.
What a good day.
Yeah.
They just gave us a good show, too.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Except for the 4 teams that lost, but
everybody wins.
Everyone
somehow.
wins.
I mean, think about it. We got the T1 upset.
Yeah.
Because everyone loves seeing Faker and T1 go as deep as possible. FlyQuest won, NA happy, G2 wins, EU happy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the trifecta.
That's a thumbs up.
And it's the reassuring win, I feel, that G2 was looking for.
Yeah.
Especially against Weibo.
It got close, of course, just to make it entertaining.
Oh.
And they guaranteed an entertaining win. And the team fights, I felt like, were really fun to watch. Weibo put up a fight, of course. The Baron
Guess who
area
wants to be
pick.
on the winner's couch now?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just waiting for this.
You're waiting.
It's fine, but sorry, interrupted you. You had
No,
a
that's
really
good.
interesting
No, that's
point.
a good clapback, actually. But yes, the Baron fight made it a little dicey, but it seemed like they were just caught off by the Galio. The Galio damage when Tristana was jumping in and then
we'll
got
be
hit
back
by
for the draw
Q.
show.
Also the solo kill that went through. And so why not just
Actually,
talk about
I'll just turn the mic off, let you guys watch the rest of the broadcast. Joshua,
Absolutely.
like 5 to 10 minutes.
It's funny because we heard about the Galio into Rumble matchup at MSI. We did not see it at all. And when we think Rumble is not a champion anymore, it comes here. I love this solo kill. This proves I feel like we're going to see Galio a bit more into this matchup.
Yeah. Absolutely. WQE. He did the backwards E to get the surprise damage on the Rumble, and then he was just a force throughout the rest of the game, making it extremely difficult for Weibo to actually commit to any fights.
Yeah, I mean, for a while throughout the day, we were wondering who's going to be the Oppo player of the game. It makes sense that after this game, seeing the solo kill, seeing how he was dictating a lot of the fights. The ulti to guarantee the safety for Nocturne, because he was not just yeeting himself in for the, with the Orianna ball. It was just a full-on committal. So I was like, how effective was the Maokai going to be? Not effective enough.
For me, this is a good win because of the way that G2 won.
Yeah.
It wasn't some, like, throw early game a bunch, other like, even the way G2 beat Weibo last year, where they threw Baron, there was a Dragon Soul, it was a crazy game. They actually had, to me, a lot of control for most of this game.
And cleaner early game, we'll talk about this a bit later, but Shox is standing by on chat with Yike for the Verizon post-game interview.
As the studio erupts for Yike and for G2, our Nocturne in this game. Yike, a fantastic victory, but what I can only imagine from your side must have been a nerve-wracking one because of that mid-game, because of the picks that they were able to get. So talk to me about kind of the shot calling and the planning and the difficulty in driving it home.
Yeah, so I think we picked we had a very good comp this game. I think we had like Nocturne, Orianna, Rel, Galio, we had like a really big wombo combo. And we were trying to do it a lot this game, but they were really respecting it. So it was very hard for us to just find opportunities. And that was like what made it hard for us. But I think we got like a lot. We got all of the objectives after the 2 dragons they got. And then it was just kind of easy because they didn't really contest anything.
Yeah, I wasn't actually sure what was... I wasn't actually sure what was going on because your early game was so clean, you weren't overstepping, you were going for the macro. Talk to me about that kind of specific working point going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, I always want to make sure that we have a good early game plan, and I think this game was pretty good. I think we wanted to play for the grubs. We got a lot of towers as well. They got dragons, but I think that's fine. I think it's a fine trade, and I think we just got so ahead, and then it was just easy for us to play, and I think we just made some mistakes after, but that happens.
Yeah, it happens indeed. It was such an important victory to move on to 2-1. I was speaking to your father yesterday, who's of course here to support you as he has been with the rest of your family. And it was before your first game, and I asked him, "Are you okay? Are you nervous?" And he said, "I'm not nervous, but my son's a little nervous." So tell me about kind of coming into this tournament, a very close game versus HLE, and having to keep your own cool, also specifically in this game.
Yeah, the HLE game was a very crazy game. I think we could have won that game. It was very close, and I think we were in a very hard state. But I think we were very creative. I think Caps was like very smart in the side lane, also BB. I think they made really good plays, and yeah, we did some mistakes. You know, some TPs that just failed, and I think we could have won that, so it's a bit sad, but I'm still happy with how we played. You know, I think we performed well, and we could have won that in a different day.
Okay, so now you're moving on to the best ofs to qualify, hopefully for Europe. So how does the road ahead look? I know that last year was a huge, of course, heartbreak for you when you did get to this point as well. So yeah, talk to the G2 faithful about the work that has been done and the work that lies ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we're 2-1 now, and last time in Worlds, everyone remembers what happened when we were 2-1, so I think we just want to, I don't think we're going to have a lot of like expectations. I think we're just going to play what we do. We're going to play our game, and whoever we play against, I think we're going to do our best to beat them, and I think we're going to win, and then we're going to qualify to Paris.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jaik.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and it's G2 with a victory to close out the day.
Thank you so much, Shox. Welcome to Cooldown and welcome, Caps. Congrats.
Thank you, thank you.
The Shox was just talking about it with Jaik. 2-1 now. Is it panic intensifies or is it the comfort zone you guys were looking for?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely just ready for the FlyQuest draw.
Oh my god. Oh my please, no.
How similar does this year feel to last year, or is it a completely different experience?
I mean, definitely I feel it feels a bit different. I think last year we were going in 2-0.
Yeah.
And it felt like very messy games. I mean, I guess that's kind of similar to this year, but I think it's just happening a bit all over the place, especially with the swaps and stuff. But I do think that we have a bit more strategies prepared this time. And compared to last year, we are a lot more confident in like the very like later parts of the game. I think even if we fall a bit behind or if we don't get the super snowball, we can still close out the games.
And tell me about the mentality, because I feel like when G2 is on an international stage, you guys are cooking. The Galio's one thing, the Yasuo Yone's another, right? Same thing happened in MSI. Like, what happens like for you guys? What's the mentality going into an international event that makes it so different?
I mean, we definitely have like a bit of a longer time on the patch, and we have like a longer boot camp compared to I think most patches. So we get to really experience and figure out like, okay, what is our opponent's gonna pick, and what kind of things can we prepare for those.
That's fun.
When you think about this game compared to the HLE game, what have you guys been working on? Because I ran into Romain, I ran into all of you backstage after the HLE game. Everyone felt happy in the sense that you liked what you've been able to showcase against them. But I do feel like you would have been able to close it out, but you were maybe, I don't know, unsure about either of you guys as teammates or maybe the approach of the meta. What did you guys readjust for this one?
I mean, I definitely think a lot of the HLE also came from like we were falling behind quite far behind early game, and then we managed to like claw our ways back. And I think then we weren't really sure what we were doing. We definitely had a few pivotal moments, like with the Baron, we kind of just wasted it. We didn't really get anything done, and I think we had a few like TPs that got cancelled, and it's like maybe if I get the TP off or BB gets TP off or we cancel that TP, we can just like close out the game, right? So we were just not clutch enough in like the moments, but we will do it next time.
I love the approach that you have this year and what you guys have been working on, especially Shox was mentioning it on stage, I don't want to say trauma, but disappointment of last year with Worlds coming back in Europe, especially when you think of what happened in Korea. How do you manage expectations, but also maybe stress around not having the same history repeating itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think, hard with this Swiss stage. I think even more so than like the previous group system, because it's like you don't know who you're getting, so you can't really like rely on preparation as much as you could maybe in the past group stage. And then it's just like, it's the best of ones, of course. Now we're luckily moving into best of threes, but it definitely feels like even this game, you were very, very scary for sure.
We have the bracket.
Take a look.
So you can see all the teams in 2-1, which is you guys. You're going to want FlyQuest, but how does that grouping feel? Because I think this win for you guys, I think, is really impressive since it is the win against the LPL or the LCK team. You're also experienced of having a 3-0 best of 5 against an Eastern team at MSI. Like, how high is your confidence that you can just, no matter who you get in the next one, draw them and beat them?
I mean, we're definitely feeling confident going into the match. I mean, we were also feeling confident going up against Hanwha Life, and sadly we didn't manage to make that work.
And that's the tweak. You can't play them again this time. So there's actually only 4 different teams that you'd be able to play against.
Which one would you want to play the most?
I mean, T1 would be fun, right? We already played them. We played them so many times this year already, and I mean, they were boot camping actually at our office as well for a few days. So it would be fun to play against them for sure. I think at the end of the day, obviously, I think FlyQuest would probably be on the weaker side, or Damwon, I think would be.
Can you not do what you guys did last year, saying that LCS is going to be the easiest? Because I don't know if that's true.
I mean, I
am. I think both FlyQuest would want G2 and G2 would want FlyQuest.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Exactly. And also, like, you've talked about it just a little bit, but what are your personal goals and expectations? Because I guess we're talking about Worlds a little bit, but also you guys in MSI had a top 4 finish. You guys actually smashed expectations a little bit, right? And it feels like if there was a little bit more that you guys could have done, you could have beaten T1 and gotten farther. So what are your personal goals, like team goals and yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely we want to win Worlds, right? I think that's why we're here, and that's also why the draw is like, sure, some teams might be easier or harder or whatnot, but if we want to actually win Worlds, we will need to be able to beat anyone.
Yeah.
And I think the first step is this best of 3s, which in a way they are less pressure than like the later best of 5s, because even if we lose the next one, we still have one more chance.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, so I wouldn't mind like the strongest opponent we could get, right? Because it's good experience, it's good practice. I think we learned so much from playing against Hanwha Life. And even this game, I think if like we can play this way cleaner than we did, so.
Yeah, I like that attitude, because even LNG Scout interview was like, I actually kind of wish we would have not gone 3-0 because we wanted more practice. And it's fine if you don't want to answer this, but I'm actually curious from your perspective, like, what the biggest strength of G2 is against the Eastern teams. Because I think in the past years, there was always this thought of like, oh, it might be close early game, but then once like the game actually starts, the LPL or LCK is going to dominate. But I feel like you guys are almost reverse. Like, I feel like once it gets to the mid game, you're extending your gold leads against everybody you play against because your macro is so good. But I'm just curious what your assessment is, because that's my read.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely always hard to compare like against other regions because there's like different teams and stuff like that. I think definitely we have a lot of innovation in draft. I feel like even these games,
Galio,
the Galio or the Yasuo and all these kind of picks coming up can definitely be clutch for us. I definitely think something we were practicing a lot was like the later parts of the game, just because, you know, when we found success in the past years with like past G2, past Fnatic, it was a lot of the later parts of the game. We were struggling quite hard in the early game, and it was kind of funny that last year was like the opposite, where we were doing very well early, but then every mid-late game we just started throwing. So now I hope we can reach a point where we're not like 10k down in the early game, but we're also like contesting them and doing well in the later parts.
Never want to make it easy for yourself.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Russ.
And also just like, I feel like this world has been a little bit different than the others, because you can see a stark difference in people's meta reads this late in the tournament, it feels like. Some of the conversation has been like the Korean LPL teams coming in late, and because they had their own scrim bubble. Have you felt that? Have you felt like there's still an adjusting on people's reads on the meta and patch right now?
I mean, definitely. I think there was a huge patch, right, to change things up, and especially from us going from like the 14-15 with like basically only 80 carries, right?
Yeah.
And I think everyone has like a bit of their own picks going on. I think we're seeing a lot more 80 carries. Like with the Smolder, the Tristana. Actually, I only played against 80 carries so far. So we're seeing a lot more 80 carries like from the LPL LCK teams than we maybe did in the EU-NA bubbles.
Yeah.
So definitely have to figure out like the balance of like when they can still be strong and when there might be alternative options.
Yeah, it's crazy because the expectation coming into this world was that Yone is going to stay, but all the AD mids are going to disappear because things are going to be switching in the jungle. For you, everything is still viable in a way, but you have more picks, I guess.
I mean, it's hard to say what is like like more or less viable, right? I think it's probably just still not like figured out that well. There's definitely still a lot of ways to optimize, and I think at least for us, we can say we haven't like gotten to experience all the different picks in the different situations. And I think once we go later in the tournament, I'm sure there's going to be like some quite clear priorities.
What is more annoying for you, Smolder being that dominant or Yone being that dominant? I know they're intertwined here.
I mean, honestly, I don't mind either. I think it's always fun when there's like these like strong mid picks. And sadly, I didn't get to play Smolder yet. Maybe it's something
It's
we
more
can play.
fun to play, though. You know, we have the Chovy quote saying just like, I don't enjoy playing Smolder, but I do
I'll
want
do
to
it if I
win.
have to.
I mean, I think Yone, you can definitely do some cool things.
Yeah.
So that's like very fun. Like whenever you pull it off, that's for sure like the peak fun, right? Whenever you do like something crazy. But at the same time, Smolder, if you go late game and you're just like the raid boss, you know, you just one shot everyone. That is also very, very fun. And you know, everyone enemy team is like, oh, we have to kill the Smolder, and that can be quite enjoyable. So I think those two champs are actually both like very, very enjoyable. But probably I would give it to Yone.
All right. We respect that. I don't want to take too much of your time, Caps. You had a really long week. Quick take on tomorrow's games: MDK versus GAM, Pain Gaming versus Team Liquid. Who makes it out?
I mean, I will have to go with Matt, right? I think otherwise it would be a bit sad. I think they definitely still have some things to show. I think I don't know if I watched like every part of their game, but I feel like they didn't really go with so many crazy things compared to in Europe. So
They played super scaling against PSG and just
so it didn't really feel like Matt necessarily. And I think if they want to have success, they probably need to use some of the things that actually brought them here, right? So I'm hoping they'll pull it out. We'll see.
And TL?
I mean, I think TL will probably win as well.
Probably.
There you go. We take it.
I'll take anything at this point.
I think they were looking very strong against us in scrims.
That's a curse almost.
Oh, I don't like hearing that.
That's tough.
They were kind of like the kings of the swap for sure.
Yeah.
But it seems like, I don't know, the swaps haven't been too successful, I would say, so far the tournament. So we'll see.
We'll take that for
I'll take
now.
that.
That's the rest is the story for tomorrow, of course. Caps, thank you so much. Congrats again
Thank you
on
for having
defeating Wavo, Jat, Raz. It's been a pleasure as usual.
Hell yeah.
And for you guys as well. I hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you're enjoying the games. We'll be back for more tomorrow. Losing side, best of threes again. We'll be back 2 p.m.
Looks like we're done for today. Sorry that we had a sleepy cast. I needed to restore my energy. My mental health is important, and these Worlds days are grueling. It's like dozens of hours every day. Like a dozen hours every day. Like prep and stuff, and sometimes it's hard to find food and other stuff. But yeah, let's get to it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.